Deep inside the Woldberry forest, a heavily injured warrior fights for his life in a brutal game. Things look bleak. He is totally trapped, surrounded by the bodies of his defeated crew. Nearby, an enemy lackey whispers to his boss, pointing out that their main target still hasn't shown his face. He asks what their next move should be. Flashing a wicked smirk, she coldly commands her men to wipe them all out. Hearing the order, a hulking executioner rushes forward to finish the job without hesitation. The wounded warrior braces for the end, but suddenly, a blur of motion bursts from the shadows. With insane speed and raw power, the mysterious figure blocks the deadly strike. The battered warriors immediately cheer up, recognizing their savior Harkon. Panic spreads through the enemy ranks as an Imperial soldier spots him, yelling for everyone to take him down. But Harkon does not even flinch. Surging with energy, he dashes forward and instantly slices down the screaming soldier, dropping everyone else who dares to step up. Dripping with blood, he throws them a cocky grin, asking if they seriously thought grouping up would actually make a difference against him. He knows they are totally out of his league. This absolute beast is Harkon. In the real world, he is An Jae-hun from the Haho Mask Guild, better known as the Hero Slayer. Trembling, his guildmates start saying sorry, crying that it is all their fault for walking right into an ambush without knowing they were being hunted. Harkon just sheathes his sword, telling them to drop the apologies. With a warm smile, he reaches out his hand to pull them up, brushing it off and making sure they know he has their back. His friends look at him with pure admiration, deeply touched by his rescue. He pats the dust off, reminding them that getting jumped is not their fault at all. Shifting his deadly gaze to the woman lounging in her chair, he calls her crew, a bunch of pathetic losers who are too scared to fight a fair one-on-one. Glaring right into her soul, he asks if he hit a nerve. She just lets out a quiet, creepy smirk, slowly getting up from her seat. Clapping her hands, she calls his little hero act cute, but wonders out loud what the whole power of friendship is actually worth. Stepping closer to Harkon with her two bodyguards, she coldly states that piling up garbage just makes a bigger pile of garbage. This arrogant player is Choi Sulian of the Stormhunter Guild, widely feared as the Thunder Queen. Harkon just bursts out laughing, mocking her twisted logic. He reminds her that her elite squad is the one currently getting crushed by this so-called garbage. Her smile drops. She warns him to watch his mouth, threatening to make him cry and regret every word he just said. Unfazed, Harkon taps his menu, daring her to try and make him feel anything. The inventory flashes open, as he slaps on his signature mask, draws his main blade, and locks into his heavy armor, looking like an absolute demon. He points his sword right at her face, declaring that regret is a feeling meant only for weaklings like her. Completely losing her cool, she screams at the cocky punk, ordering every single minion to take his head. Harkon chuckles, thinking these fools just never learn a lesson, completely unaware of the cold steel suddenly piercing right through his chest. Eyes wide with shock, he looks down only to see the blades of his own friends. The very guys he just risked his life for. Red alert screens flash around him, warning that his health points are draining like crazy, locking his body down with heavy movement penalties. Crumpling to the dirt, his mind races, trying to process this insane nightmare. One of his supposed bros looks away, muttering a painful sorry. He claims they all have bills to pay and families to feed. In the real world, begging him not to take it personally. Harkon is totally crushed, unable to grasp why his closest allies would backstab him. Right on cue, the Thunder Queen bursts into hysterical laughter. Pointing at his broken body, she ruthlessly roasts him for being so incredibly naive. She ridicules him for buying into that fake brotherhood, reminding him that loyalty means nothing when hard cash enters the chat. Slowly pacing toward his dying avatar, she looks down at him like a bug. She spells out her plan. She is going to make sure he gets erased from this game forever. She promises to hunt him down and camp his spawn every single time he logs on, forcing him to quit Warlord for good. Boiling with pure rage on the ground, he listens to her dig the knife deeper. She mentions knowing Warlord is his full-time job, meaning that once he loses his account, he will just be a broke, useless loser in reality, flashing a deeply toxic smile. She taunts him, asking how it feels to be right back at the bottom of the food chain, triggered beyond belief. Harkon digs his nails into the dirt and launches himself at her, roaring for her to shut her mouth. But before he can even connect, fresh blood sprays across the screen, stopping him dead in his tracks. Even Sulian blinks in surprise as Harkon's former friends step in, burying multiple swords deep into his back to protect her. She claps her hands, thanking the traitors for their service. Barely hanging on to a pixel of life, Harkon shakes uncontrollably, forcing out one last question. He desperately asks why they threw it all away when their guild meant the world to him. Refusing to meet his eyes, his buddy coldly tells him to just drop dead already. He mutters that the guild paid them a massive bounty of a few billion just to take him out. The ultimate betrayal breaks Harkon's spirit. After shedding blood, sweat, and tears for these guys, he recalls the times they swore to be loyal brothers forever. But staring up at their greedy, cowardly faces, he finally understands that their so-called family was just a pathetic lie. A swarm of system alerts floods his vision. The message is brutal. He's dead and he's just been slapped with a 48-hour login ban. Jae-hyun jolts awake in the real world, gasping for air. He screams out in pure panic, convinced everything he worked for is just gone. The game that broke him is Warlord. It's an absolute global phenomenon, a massive AI-driven VR universe where people make serious cash. For Jae-hyun, Warlord was his only escape from being a total loser. His mind drifts back to the very moment he met the so-called friend who stabbed him in the back. Back then, the guy played the role of a solid bro, even asking him to team up and build a guild. But now, just thinking about that memory, it makes his blood boil. What they did to him crossed every line. Consumed by rage, he throws on a shirt, shoves his feet into some slippers, and sprints out into the city streets. All he wants is to hunt down every single person who set him up. He yanks out his phone, dialing Dong-su, desperate to know if he was in on this massive betrayal. Did they really think they could just toss him aside like trash? Blinded by fury, he sprints down the sidewalk, completely missing the blaring red crosswalk light. Out of nowhere, a massive truck comes hurtling right at him, entirely out of control. In that split second, regret washes over him. If he knew this was how his life would end, he never would have opened up to anyone. But it's too late to dodge. The grill of the truck slams into him, sending his body crashing brutally onto the freezing asphalt. As he hits the ground, a robotic voice from his shattered phone tells him the number is unavailable. As his vision fades, he can't help but laugh at the irony of getting taken out by the classic truck accident. Clinging to life, he refuses to let this be his end. The smug face of his backstabbing friend flashes through his mind, along with Sil, the very person who orchestrated his ultimate downfall in the game. With the absolute last shred of his willpower, he swears he will get his revenge no matter what it takes. Suddenly, the darkness shatters. A glowing system prompt appears, announcing a server connection. It scans his identity. Then a familiar welcome message pops up. Jae-hyun snaps his eyes open, totally disoriented, and his jaw drops. Looming right in front of him is a colossal monster, surrounded by a mountain of butchered players. A giant quest window hovers in the air, ordering him to clear the tutorial. His objective: survive an encounter with the Minotaur, the absolute terror of the labyrinth. Jae-hyun looks around in shock, wondering what kind of twisted, impossible tutorial this is. Suddenly, someone yells out, calling him a total noob. He spots two guys frantically screaming at him to snap out of it and focus, demanding to know if he's blind to the danger. They have to take down this Minotaur right now, but the massive beast isn't waiting around, and unleashes an earth-shattering roar. One of the panicking players shouts that holding the front line alone is pure suicide. At a glance, they'd need at least 13 geared players just to survive this thing. But Hyrcan holds up a hand, telling them to chill for a second. He asks if this Minotaur is actually the tutorial boss. Why? Because he clearly remembers the devs deleting this specific monster from the game 5 years ago, for being way too overpowered. The other guy just stares at him like he's insane. What is he talking about? Warlord only launched 10 months ago. That hits Hyrcan like a ton of bricks. His mind races as he mentally checks the game's official release timeline. And suddenly, all the pieces fall into place. He gets it now. Without a word, Hyrcan scoops up a basic sword and calmly steps right toward the towering Minotaur. The other guys freak out, asking if he has a death wish. Hyrcan completely tunes them out. Gripping his blade, he kicks off the ground and launches himself straight into the danger zone. The guys watch in pure horror, convinced he's lost his mind. The Minotaur locks eyes with its tiny challenger and winds up for a devastating smash. But Hyrcan casually sidesteps the attack at the very last millisecond. Pushing his speed to the max, he delivers a brutal lightning-fast slash, dicing the massive boss into pieces. As chunks of the giant beast rain down around them, the other players just freeze. Their jaws hit the floor, completely paralyzed by the impossible feat they just watched. But their shock quickly turns into greedy, scheming smirks. One of them walks up, hyping Hyrcan up about his insane skills, and instantly drops the golden question, asking if he wants to join their guild. For Hyrcan, those exact words trigger a horrible flashback. It's an exact echo of the fake friend who completely ruined his life. The dark, bitter rage instantly boils over. With dead eyes, Hyrcan announces he just made a promise to himself. The guys just chuckle, asking what the promise is. In a flash of pure, unchecked fury, Hyrcan slaughters them on the spot, standing there soaking in their digital blood. He vows that if he ever trusts another human being in this second life, he might as well be a pathetic stray dog. Snapping back to the real world, he gasps, looking wildly around the crowded room. He's standing right in the middle of a massive VR tech shop. Then the memory hits him 5 years ago. He was too broke to afford a headset, so he was playing on a free demo unit. The reality of his situation sends a shiver down his spine, because it confirms he actually just traveled back in time. He rips the demo headset off and throws it on the counter. If this is a reset, he cannot afford to waste a single second. He dashes for the exit, his heart pounding. With 5 years of future game knowledge and max-level combat instincts hardwired into his brain, He knows exactly how to dominate the server and get his bloody revenge. Without skipping a beat, he whips out his credit card and loudly demands the best VR headset they have. The cashier jumps a little at his intense energy but quickly forces a retail smile and starts ringing up the massive purchase. Jae-hyun smirks, already plotting his grand master plan and figuring out which quests to farm first. "Sir," the voice snaps him out of his power fantasy. The cashier looks at him with second-hand embarrassment, politely explaining his card just declined due to insufficient funds. He just freezes. Staring down at his totally empty wallet, reality smacks him right in the face. Obviously, he's broke. That's exactly why he was using the store's free demo in the first place. Panic sets in. What's his next move? Does he need to hustle for some quick cash first? No, that's a trap. Time is a luxury he doesn't have right now. Suddenly, a familiar voice cuts through his thoughts, asking why he's holding back. He looks up at a massive digital billboard. It's Sheer staring down at the crowd, declaring that true power never fears a challenge. To her, hesitation is just a quick way to die on the battlefield. She rallies the crowd, pushing everyone to step up and become a warlord. That's Cher, the Thunder Queen, the undisputed face of the game and its highest-ranked player. Jae-hyun just stands there staring at the mega screen, completely frozen. He's looking right at the woman who destroyed his life and took absolutely everything from him. Her cruel words echo in his mind, calling him the same pathetic trash he always was. Boiling with rage, he turns away. This isn't the time to be picky, he has to make a move. Fast forward to later that afternoon, a crew is busy installing a brand new V-Gear rig right in his living room. The tech gives him the green light, saying the system is fully locked and loaded. Jae-hyun just nods, muttering a quick thanks while staring intently at something in his palm. He grips it tight, knowing this was his only shot to get his hands on the gear. He had to go into serious debt for this. His mind flashes back to the sketchy loan office. The guy across the desk asked for his number and Jae-hyun didn't flinch. 10 million won. The loan shark didn't even blink, ready to hand over the cash. But as Jae-hyun rested his hand on the desk, the man casually reached inside his jacket and slammed a massive blade right between Jae-hyun's fingers. With a dark, twisted grin, the guy laid out the terms if the money wasn't paid back. Things were going to get very, very bloody. Jae-hyun swallowed hard, fighting back the nerves, but promised he'd get the cash back no matter what. Snapping back to reality, he brushes off the memory and prepares to boot up the system. He doesn't care if he has to crawl barehanded through hell. As long as he gets to crush the people who stabbed him in the back, it's all worth it. He takes a deep breath and yells, "Link start." Digital screens instantly light up his vision. The system runs a quick scan, locking in his biosignature. A mechanical voice echoes, "Welcome back to Warlord Hyrcan." He smirks, feeling the rush of being back in the game after so long. He knows the starting guide is about to pop up, though her name completely escapes him. Right on cue, a glowing figure materializes, clapping her hands to celebrate his tutorial clear. She smiles, introducing herself as Ariadne, his personal guide, here to help him pick his starting path. Magic flares around her as she pulls up a menu explaining that he needs to select a base class, and there are only 3 options on the table right now. Whatever path he picks today will completely lock in his future upgrades. First up, the Warrior. She describes it as a brutal, in-your-face brawler class, perfect for players who want to dive headfirst into the action. Hyrcan rubs his chin, definitely tempted. He mained a warrior in his past life, and knows it's an absolute beast for speed running the early levels. But the memory of hitting that brutal late-game wall as a solo player stops him cold. He shakes his head. Hard pass. Ariad moves on to the Priest, a classic backline support build, focused on dropping heals and massive buffs for the team. Hyrcan waves her off immediately, making it crystal clear he isn't wasting his second chance playing nurse for randoms. Ariadne sighs, bringing up the final option, hoping he's ready to sling some spells as a magician. She unleashes a wave of pure magic that spirals around Hyrcan, completely catching him off guard with how intense the energy feels. Within seconds, the system locks in his choice. A flash of light hits, and he's instantly warped straight into the magician's tower. As his vision clears, he spots a bizarre old man literally floating on a massive spellbook. The geezer greets him warmly, calling him a fresh seeker of truth. He calls himself Golgo, the master who will show him the ropes of wizardry. Leaning in, Golgo asks the golden question, what kind of magical arts does the kid actually want to master? Hyrcan doesn't even blink. He looks the old man dead in the eye and demands dark magic. The entire room drops into dead silence. Golgo blinks, tilting his head, asking if the boy just said ancestral magic. He taps his ear, laughing it off and blaming his old age for mishearing things. But Hyrcan shuts that down instantly. No. He repeats himself loud and clear, dark magic. Golgo's jaw practically hits the floor. He demands to know where Hyrcan even heard that name, warning him that the dark arts will literally eat his soul alive. Hyrcan just smirks. He knows the risks, he knows exactly what it does, and he's ready to put his entire life on the line for it. Golgo starts shaking uncontrollably as a terrifying pitch-black aura explodes around him. His friendly grandpa vibe vanishes, replaced by a wicked grin as he says it's time to get down to business. He cackles like a maniac, thrilled to finally see a crazy kid pick the forbidden route. With a wave of his hand, a cursed, shadowy tome materializes, hovering right in front of Harkin's face. Golgo tells him to slap his hand on the cover if he's actually got the guts for it. He gives one final chilling warning: this road will crush a weak mind. But before the old man can even finish his sentence, Harkin slams his palm right onto the cursed book. Staring Golgo down, he tells the old man to cut the chatter and just give him the power. He makes it very clear there's nothing weak about his heart anymore. A wild, almost crazy laugh escapes his lips as thick black smoke starts wrapping around his body. Watching the shadows swallow the kid whole, Golgo just smiles. It looks like a real monster has finally entered the game. As the power surges, Harkin thinks back to an epic viral clip from his past life, a single necromancer utterly destroying a massive raid boss all alone. That level of absolute solo destruction is exactly what he needs to get his revenge. A system bell chimes officially. Locking in his new fate, he is now a necromancer. Now holding the title Airhead, he unlocked a new skill called Bone Shard. Thrilled by this discovery, Harkin decides to try it out right away. He tosses a skull onto the dirt and the system pops up, announcing that a skeleton warrior, fueled by his magic, is starting to take shape. Harkin watches in awe as his power flows. And the moment the undead soldier stands in front of him, he decides he is fully committing to the necromancer path this time. He turns around, declaring it is time to level up, guessing the training dungeon is just up ahead. But then he glances back at his summoned soldier only to see its head just plop right off. The two of them stand there, staring at each other in pure silence. Soon after, a portal flashes open and he steps right through. The system chimes in, welcoming him to the beginner training dungeon. He is actually pretty annoyed right now. Seeing his undead minion lose its head so easily makes him remember the summons from his past life, and they were never this weak. Nothing makes sense to him. So he pulls up the stats for his minion. It shows his Bone Shard skill is at rank F, and his summoned warrior is just level 1. The description says it creates a bone piece. To use it, you just pump it with mana to summon the skeleton. Harkin wonders if he pushed his luck too far. Because of this, he knows he needs to grind levels fast. Suddenly, a rustling noise catches his attention, and he whips around. A pack of charcoal wolves is closing in. Harkin grins, pumped that he finally gets to test his skill. People say these wolves are not very strong, but they are super fast, making them the perfect practice targets. He activates Bone Shard and orders his minion to attack. The moment his magic hits the floor, the skeleton soldier rises up. The system alerts him that the skeleton warrior spotted the enemy and shifted into a fighting stance. The wolves look a bit scared of the creepy monster, but Harkin just tells his minion to wipe them out fast. The bony soldier rushes at the beasts. Harkin watches with excitement, thinking this is way better than he hoped, and he will hit max level in no time. But with just one swipe from a wolf, his skeleton soldier is instantly smashed to pieces. He stands there, totally crushed by what just happened. The skeleton's skull rolls right to his feet, leaving him boiling with anger and completely confused. He pulls up the system menu, begging it to hold on because this just has to be a glitch, and he needs to check his skills again. Tapping for details, he figures he might have forgotten to set the combat mode, so he swaps it to defense mode 1. But the exact same thing happens. Only this time, the wolves are literally chewing on his minion's bones. Desperate, he switches to mode 3 special action. But instead of fighting, the warrior just starts doing an energetic dance. Harkin bursts into tears, realizing he is totally doomed. He drops to the ground, feeling like he's trapped in a bad dream. He tries to just delete his character and start over, but the system blocks him, stating character selection is locked. It turns out, new accounts cannot delete a character for 3 whole months. Harkin groans, realizing he cannot delete his account or change his class and to make it a total disaster. His loan bills are due next month. He starts stressing out, trying to figure out a way to fix this mess. He wonders why his luck is so terrible right when he thought things were looking up. Glancing at his minion, he knows this bonehead is useless, so he begs the skeleton to just stay put. He cannot stop thinking about how that necromancer from his past life survived so many crazy fights. Then a thought hits him. He checks the status window again and notices a detail about improving in combat. He remembers that when he fought the charcoal wolves earlier, his summon was watching his every move, almost like it was learning from him. A smirk creeps onto his face. He tosses his club to the skeleton, telling it how lucky it is to serve him, because despite how things look, people used to call him a total genius. He spent a lifetime training others and turning them into top-tier players. And there's just one rule his minion needs to know. He shouts this as he lunges forward to strike, warning the skeleton that if it does not dodge, it will die. He lands a solid punch, sending the skeleton flying away, then yells at it to get right back up. He does this over and over, pounding his summon with heavy hits, throwing it against the wall until he screams at it, telling the minion to stop standing there like a dummy. When an attack comes, you dodge first, then hit back when you see an opening. The skeleton soldier wipes its bony face and gets into a fighting stance once again, but this time, It is facing off against the charcoal wolves. Only now, when the wolf lunges, the skeleton smoothly dodges the attack, delivers a brutal counterpunch straight to the jaw and finishes it off with a wild spinning kick. Just like that, it takes down the whole pack. The skeleton turns back to its master, giving him a look full of pure gratitude. But Harkin snaps, asking what it is staring at. He told it before, no getting distracted during a fight. Even so, he cannot hide his smile, admitting that the final hit was actually pretty awesome. Then the system pops up, showing his bone shard. His skill levels shoot up in rapid succession. Harkin shoots a grin at his skeletal summon, hyping it up for a job well done. Right as they hit the next level. A little while later, back in the beginner town of Castle Fegus, our guy strolls through the busy streets. He overhears players chatting about the local guild taking in newbies, while others are hyping up a forest raid. He reflects on how crazy fast his little bone is picking things up, knowing that with just a few more days of grinding, it will totally be able to solo dungeons. This is the make or break moment. Step 1, he has to hit level 10. Out of nowhere, a voice snaps at him. A stocky dude with a goofy look on his face steps up, barking about whether our hero knows. He is supposed to say sorry after bumping shoulders. Harkin just rolls his eyes, wondering who these low-level punks even are. The dude keeps running his mouth, but Harkin could not care less, figuring he is way too busy for this nonsense. He seriously debates just wiping them out and moving along. The stocky guy winds up a punch, yelling that he is being ignored. But in a flash, a massive guy steps in and catches the fist midair. He coolly tells the bully that throwing punches around town is a no-go. The punk instantly breaks a sweat, demanding to know who just dared to block his hit. Harkin, on the other hand, gets a cold chill down his spine as he recognizes the newcomer. Taking in the dude's insane muscles and unique gear, he knows for a fact that this is Shev the Slayer, an absolute legend from his past life. Panicking about the bloodbath the bully might cause, Harkin instinctively yells at him to stop. But the idiot does not listen, and actually spits on the dirt right next to the legendary warrior. He cracks his knuckles and warns Shev to back off, if he does not know the full story, whining that Harkin bumped into him and did not apologize. He smugly asks if Shev has ever heard of the phrase an eye for an eye. Shev just chuckles, but then he unleashes a pure, monstrous aura that practically makes the bully wet himself. Harkin is totally blown away by the sheer pressure radiating off the guy. Shev flashes a smile, but it is deeply unsettling, and points out that by his logic, since the punk's fist hit his palm, he probably deserves some payback, right? The bully's buddy shrieks, screaming that the dude standing right in front of them is Shev, the Slayer. He stammers out that Shev runs the Red Bulls, one of the top 30 guilds in the entire game, an absolute battle-crazed maniac. The stocky guy whips around to his buddy, completely baffled as to why a big shot like that is in a starter town. But Shev just grips his shoulder tightly, waiting for an answer. The punk looks back with pure terror in his eyes, and before you know it, both losers are running for their lives, shouting their apologies. Shev bursts into laughter, saying he loves it when things end peacefully. He gives Harkin a friendly pat on the shoulder, checking if he is doing all right, and telling him to brush off low-lifes like that. But Harkin quickly turns his back, slapping Shev's hand right off his shoulder, making it super clear that he does not want or need his help next time. The Slayer just blinks in confusion, totally clueless about what just went down. Smirking, he thinks the new kid is pretty icy and quickly heads out. Meanwhile, Harkin realizes that for a split second, he was completely suffocated by Shev's insane strength. He balls up his fists, furiously swearing to himself that the next time their paths cross, he will not be the weakling he is today. A bit later, inside a dark dungeon, our hero is still hung up on that encounter, completely annoyed by the massive gap in their power levels. But he knows Sheer and Shev are in the same league, meaning he has to reach that exact same tier to finally get his payback. While he is deep in thought, a gigantic black tiger suddenly lunges right at him. But Harkin does not even flinch. His skeleton soldier effortlessly blocks the beast's attack, brutally ripping the monster apart without a second thought. The system rings out, announcing that the skeleton warrior took down the black tiger and leveled up, while his undead buddy looks super proud of itself. Harkin lets out a heavy sigh, annoyed that it actually took him 3 whole days to hit level 10. His frustration over the slow progress kinda hurts his summon's feelings, but thankfully, just moments later, the system finally hits him with the level 10 congratulations screen. It drops a notification that the training dungeon is officially cleared of monsters. His newbie status is wiped clean and his rewards are rolling in. Harkin pumps his fist, he is finally out of the tutorial. Now the player watch is an absolute game changer, packed with stats, quests, maps, inventory, and even a messaging system. Our hero smirks, realizing it has been ages since he actually used one of these. He quickly pulls up his stats screen, confirming his level 10 status. He is officially a Necromancer, rocking 3 strength points, 3 stamina, 5 intelligence, and 5 magic. He grimaces a bit at those starting numbers, but then the screen flashes asking him to assign his leftover stat points. He stares at the glowing panel, figuring out the perfect build to match his endgame goals. He knows this is only his very first stat drop, so he has to play it smart. For any normal necromancer, dumping everything into intelligence would be an absolute no-brainer. Instead of relying on magic again, he shakes things up and dumps every single point straight into strength. Boom! His strength stat jumps by 50, hitting a solid 53. Meanwhile, his skeleton buddy stares at him looking totally let down. Noticing the pout, Harkin asks what's wrong. He playfully taps its bony head, reassuring the little guy that he definitely hasn't abandoned necromancy. It's all about the training. He breaks it down, pumping up intelligence or magic at this stage wouldn't really change a thing, but stacking strength that lets him personally teach the skeleton every crazy combat move he mastered in his prime. He's flat out gambling his life on his summon's progress. Hearing this, the bony soldier actually gets a little teary-eyed, but that just annoys Harkin. He snaps at it to just focus on the heavy lifting while he handles the big picture. Besides, he's got a secret trick to balance out his other stats. Cut to the next day, he rolls into the Monster Hunting Association at the Castle Figus branch. The guy at the desk holds up a glowing item and yells to the packed room that a fresh batch of quests just dropped. The whole place turns into a mosh pit as players scramble for the best gigs, but our guy just strolls right through the chaos. He knows quests around this time are usually complete garbage. Seeing everyone go totally crazy over them just confirms they're a bunch of newbies. Reaching the front counter, he asks the old man in charge for a job and requests the leftover list. The veteran hands it over but gives him a heads up only the bottom of the barrel stuff is left. We're talking brutal difficulty or just total trash payouts. Harkin skims the board. Most of it is total snoozefest material, but then one specific quest catches his eye. He snatches it up smirking like he just found a cheat code. The target, the Bima Mountain Cave. A super basic run filled with weak monsters. The old man gives him a weird look, asking if he's seriously taking that one, considering the payout is a measly 10 gold coins. Harkin nods. A system chime pops up confirming the quest is locked in. He smirks to himself. To anyone else, it looks like a junk mission. But if you clear it before hitting level 15, it drops a stupidly rare title, Rising Star. Most players laugh off basic titles, thinking they're just useless name tags. But Harkin knows the truth titles secretly buff your raw stats. Imagine a clumsy mage getting bullied by a wild dog. That guy might just be a weak alchemist with terrible base stats. But the second he slaps on that Rising Star title, everything scales up by a massive percentage. Honestly, this is his very first step to building a completely broken, overpowered character. He spins around and struts out of the guild hall. Next stop, time to buy some gear. Fast forward to Mount Bima. Harkin is standing there, looking absolutely miserable. He looks down at his ridiculous mismatched outfit. He starts groaning, wondering what the heck he was thinking. Because he blew all his cash blinging out his skeleton, he only had pocket change left for the absolute cheapest armor. Now he looks like a total clown. Still, he tells himself to just speedrun this quest and buy some decent drip later. He shakes it off and sprints into the woods. Cut to another part of the forest, a bloody hand shoots up from the dirt. A bruised guy is crawling through the bushes, screaming for help right before something violently yanks him backward into the shadows. Not long after, a fresh warrior struts onto Mount Bima. He beats his chest, declaring that the epic saga of the Great Multi has officially begun. The guy is insanely cocky, just for hitting level 11. He's already daydreaming about becoming a top-tier player. Suddenly, he hears desperate screaming. Someone is begging for help to save their friend. Multi sprints over asking what went down. A terrified priest stammers that a freak monster ambushed them, and he barely made it out alive. To make things worse, they're completely out of health potions. Our hero quickly checks his inventory, saying he can spare a few. He tells the guy to hold on tight. The priest bursts into tears of gratitude. But man, it was a massive trap. Boom. An assassin drops from the blind spot and backstabs the warrior hard. Blood splatters and Multi hits the dirt. Gasping for air, he wonders what just hit him. The crying priest wipes his fake tears, smirks, and coldly tells the dying player that they are really going to enjoy his loot. Multi is absolutely crushed, realizing he just got played by the lowest kind of scum. The priest brutally drives his sword through the warrior's back, laughing that it's his own fault for falling for such a trashy trick. A cold system voice rings out, player Multi is dead and wiped from the game. His player watch drops straight to the ground. Free loot for the killers. A heavy-set bandit bursts into laughter, bragging that hunting newbies is the absolute best feeling. Sporting a whole collection of stolen watches on his arm, the priest flashes a twisted grin and orders his crew to hunt down their next victim. These guys are the Ralph family, a notorious pack of player killers. Meanwhile, deep in another part of the woods, our boy's skeleton is squaring up against a pack of vicious beasts charging right at it. Harkin snaps his fingers. Click. The skeleton shifts into pure attack mode and lunges straight into the horde with zero fear. In seconds, it absolutely shreds them to pieces without even breaking a sweat. The system pings, Skeleton Warrior has slaughtered an ancient wolf. 375 XP pops up after one kill. Boom, 366 more. And then another sweet 379. Hirkin chills on the sidelines watching his summon absolutely shred through the monsters. Giving that bonehead a sword was a game changer. Now it can solo a whole pack of ancient wolves without breaking a sweat. He pats himself on the back. Funneling all his gold into the skeleton's gear was definitely the right play. Watching his bony boy get shredded, Hirkin smirks. Pro gamers know the truth, stats always beat aesthetics. The skeleton glances back, catching its master's weirdly intense, proud stare and tilts its skull in pure confusion. Hirkin just clears his throat and waves it off. Ah, never mind. Since the wolves are history, it's time to move. He seriously needs to grind some levels and ditch this completely embarrassing newbie outfit. Little Bone jogs after him, but suddenly, thwack, an arrow flies out of nowhere and completely nails the skeleton right in the skull. Hirkin jumps, scanning the trees. Who the heck shot that? Right on cue, a group steps out of the bushes, waving their hands in apology. Oh, it's those exact same scammer punks from before. The priest puts on a pathetic face, whining about how sorry he is. He claims they saw the skeleton from a distance, and genuinely thought it was a wild mob. They just keep bowing and spitting out fake apologies. Hirkin is about to let it slide, until his eyes lock onto the priest's wrist. It's loaded with blood-stained player watches. The warrior's blade is dripping too. Yep, these guys are player-killing trash. So Hirkin flips the script. He puts on a clueless, friendly smile. Oh, no worries at all, man. Hey, do you guys happen to have a spare mana potion? The priest rubs the back of his neck, faking a guilty look. Ah, fresh out, sorry bro, but hey, how about we help you farm some XP to make up for it? Since leveling up naturally refills his mana anyway, Hirkin decides to play along. He keeps up the innocent act like he doesn't suspect a thing. Oh really, that'd be awesome, he says. The priest grins, insisting it's the least they can do after shooting his summon. Pointing at the mob camp ahead, the priest rallies his squad. He tells Hirkin they'll do the heavy lifting and whittle the monster's health down. Then Hirkin can just swoop in for the easy kill and soak up the XP. But as they charge forward, the priest drops his smile and whispers to his team. You guys remember the plan, right? They all nod. The warrior mutters that he'll pull the aggro first. The mage chimes in saying he'll drop an attack buff on the beasts right after. And the grand finale, they'll accidentally lose control of the buffed-up monster, sending it straight toward the clueless noob. They figure the poor sucker will freeze in terror and get wiped out instantly. They sit back waiting for the bloodbath, but a second later, their jaws literally drop. They can't process what they're looking at. Hirkin's bony little pet is just absolutely tearing the buff monster to shreds like it's nothing. Hirkin stretches and casually yells over. Hey guys, I'm good here, keep pulling them. The scammers start sweating. What kind of insane summon is that? They realize this guy might be way higher level than he looks. Time for plan B. They decide to pull massive, chaotic waves of monsters to overwhelm him. And while he's busy fighting for his life, the warrior slips into his blind spot. Creeping up behind Hirkin, he raises his blade, thinking it's an easy win. Take out the summoner and the summon disappears. He swings hard, but whoosh, Hirkin sidesteps it without even looking. The warrior's eyes bulge out of his head. How the hell did he dodge a sneak attack from a total blind spot? Before the warrior can even blink, Hirkin spins around and delivers a bone-crushing counterattack. Seeing his tank get dropped, the priest completely loses his mind. What the hell is happening? Snap. Hirkin just snaps his fingers. Little Bone instantly abandons the monsters, leaping to its master's side. Together, man and skeleton charge straight at the scammers. The thugs scream, throwing their hands up and begging for mercy. But Hirkin isn't listening. With deadly perfect teamwork, master and summon completely obliterate the helpless scammers. As their broken avatars hit the dirt, Hirkin looks down at them in disgust. He's dealt with trash like this a million times before. Stepping over the bodies, he mocks them. They're the classic parasites, acting all friendly and helpful, just waiting for the perfect moment to stab you in the back and steal your drops. He chuckles, admitting that the old him might have actually fallen for that cheap trick. The priest, now crawling in a pool of his own blood, screeches in pure panic. Wait please man, just wait, take all my gear, take everything, just let me live. Hirkin just stares at him with cold, dead eyes. Too late man, I don't trust anybody anymore. And with one brutal strike he ends the priest's misery. A crisp system alert pops up. Player Ralph has been eliminated. And oh baby, he just dropped 8 player watches onto the ground. Seeing that massive pile of watches, Hirkin's blood boils for a second. This guy wasn't just a scammer, he was a serial player killer. Absolute human garbage. But then a greedy little smile spreads across his face. Their blood money is about to fund his comeback. Step 1. Finally buying some clothes that don't look like garbage. He turns around and catches Little Bone repeatedly kicking the dead warrior's corpse. Hirkin laughs. Hey bonehead, you want any of this loot too? Walking over to his faithful pet, Hirkin holds out his hand. A soft glow surrounds the skeleton, slowly repairing the crack in its skull from that cheap arrow shot. Within seconds, Little Bone is looking brand new. Feeling energized, the little guy raises his rusty sword into the air, striking a ridiculously heroic anime-style pose. Harkin watches his goofy sidekick and can't help but grin. "You look pretty fired up, huh?" he sighs, reminding himself that looking cool isn't what wins games. But as he strikes his own ridiculously edgy pose right next to his skeleton, he jokes, "It's all about inner beauty anyway, right?" Little Bone just lowers its sword, staring at its master in absolute cringe. Unfazed, Harkin cracks a huge grin. Those watches the priest dropped, absolute gold mine. In this game, there is less than a 1% chance that cashing in a stolen player watch will drop a piece of their random inventory, like super rare gear with crazy stat boosts. Just like these sweet new Goblin's black pants he just equipped, which instantly give him a massive 5 extra points in mana, plus 5 points in intelligence and the Sword of Ancient Essence, which bumps his mana up by 10. On top of that, he scored some skill books, grabbing the Demonic Curse book, and most importantly, a mountain of gold. Harkin picks up a mask from the loot pile, smirking that those idiots made this farming trip way faster than expected. He figures it is almost time to start streaming his gameplay, and he definitely needs a killer look for the camera. But the thought hits a nerve. A dark memory from his past life suddenly flashes through his mind. He remembers excitedly asking the very friend who backstabbed him to picture their whole crew wearing traditional Haho masks. Back then, he was so hyped, planning to rename their guild to Haho Mask the very next day. The memory just leaves a bitter taste in his mouth. For a second, he thinks about ditching the look entirely. Instead, his hands start twisting and molding the mask completely, transforming its shape. Gripping it tight, he swears nobody will ever steal what belongs to him again. Boiling with rage, he vows to prove he was right all along. And this is just step one. Slapping on the newly twisted mask, he dashes off, ordering his summon to keep up. Sometime later, Harkin and Little Bone step through a glowing portal into a brand new dungeon. The system chimes in welcoming him to the Bema Mountain Cave dungeon. Harkin squats down, checking out some claw marks on the rocks. He clearly remembers this place is crawling with blue werewolves. They hit hard and do not go down easily. But with his shiny new gear, he is feeling confident. He bets he can wipe out this dungeon in 10 minutes flat, calling his summon forward, ready to go all out. A few hours pass and Harkin is losing his mind, screaming into the empty cave, wondering where the heck all the monsters went. It does not make any sense. If another player had already cleared this place out, the system would have flashed a warning. Just then, he catches Little Bone poking at the cave wall out of the corner of his eye. Something weird catches his attention. He walks over to check it out and spots a strange glowing symbol on the rock. Out of nowhere, a massive surge of dark energy erupts. The system pings. He just stumbled into a hidden instance dungeon, and it asks if he wants to jump in. He drops to his knees in shock, realizing this hidden area is exactly why the main cave was completely empty. Instance dungeons are rare pop-ups that spawn inside regular ones. When they show up, they suck all the monsters away until the hidden boss is beaten. They are way more dangerous, but the loot is doubled. Still, he cannot help but wonder if walking into this is a death trap. Once you step foot inside an instance dungeon, the doors lock. You either clear it or you die trying. Standing back up, he mutters to Little Bone that the smart move is to walk away. Dying means getting locked out of the game for 2 whole days. Playing it safe and farming easy quests makes total sense, but right now playing it safe is the last thing on his mind. The system locks in his choice. Stepping through the dark portal, he tells himself that as long as he stays alive, everything will be fine. Suddenly, a blinding light hits his eyes. Squinting through the glare, he tries to figure out where the heck he just landed. It looks like some kind of ancient gladiator arena, and the air feels incredibly heavy. Before he can process it, a massive earthquake shakes the ground. Standing right in front of him is an absolutely massive, terrifying werewolf. It is a corrupted beast, and its level is completely hidden. Without a second of hesitation, the monster lunges straight at him while he is still trying to wrap his head around the situation. Caught off guard, Harkin takes a brutal hit, flying through the air and slamming hard into the arena wall. Little Bone sees his master take the hit. The skeleton instantly flares up with rage, dropping into a combat stance. But Harkin just starts bursting out into laughter, shouting that this is perfect. Wiping the dirt off, he grins at his crazy luck. A corrupted monster showing up means this has got to be part of a super rare main quest. He calls out to Little Bone, joking that if they do not take this giant dog down, they are going to bed hungry tonight. With that, he sprints straight at the beast. Little Bone gets into position, slamming his own sword flat like a stepping stone for his master. Harkin steps on the blade and launches himself high into the air toward the corrupted beast. The werewolf lets out a deafening roar. Mid-air, Harkin triggers his curse release skill. Dark crackling demonic energy instantly wraps around his sword. The beast has zero clue what this tiny human is about to do. In a flash of steel, the monster takes a massive hit, losing its entire arm. The werewolf screeches in sheer agony as a system prompt flashes confirming Harkin's skill effect is active. The monster's overall stats just took a 10% nosedive. Listening to the beast howl, Harkin admires his glowing blade. He smirks, thinking the demonic curse really packs a punch for a first test drive. But the werewolf is not done, suddenly exploding with a thick blood-red aura. Completely blinded by rage, the giant beast charges right at him. A red warning message flashes across his screen. The corrupted werewolf has entered a frenzied state, wiping out all negative status effects. Herkin braces himself for a brutal fight. He figures a dungeon boss was bound to have a nasty trick like this up its sleeve. Flashing an excited grin, he mutters that he was saving this trick for later. But this feels like the perfect moment to unleash it. He cracks open his inventory and an intense, heavy dark energy starts to pour out. The energy completely swallows him up until a massive blast goes off. As the smoke clears, Hirkin steps out, wearing a menacing set of battle armor. He chuckles, asking the monster where they left off. You see, the slot system is a totally unique mechanic in Warlord. Once activated, it pulls raw power straight from the game world, instantly boosting stats and completely transforming the user's body. The final look is completely random and unique to every single player, which is exactly why the community just calls it Supreme Mode. Hirkin taunts the corrupted werewolf, daring it to give him everything it has. The monster loses its mind, unleashing a deafening roar. It rushes straight at our guy, swinging wildly, but Hirkin effortlessly dodges the attack. He casually weaves through a flurry of deadly claws. He leaps backward to catch his breath, but the beast is relentless. It lunges forward with another heavy swipe. As he barely dodges, the hit Hirkin realizes this thing is 100% a boss monster. Its speed and raw strength are insane. He quickly thinks about how many hits he can actually take before going down. The beast charges in for another strike, but this time its guard is wide open, spotting the perfect gap. Hirkin swings his glowing blade, delivering a massive slash that makes the monster howl in agony. A huge grin spreads across his face. He laughs, saying this rush is exactly why he loves this game. But suddenly the ground shakes. The werewolf isn't dead yet. It snaps back, ready to kill. Hirkin takes a sharp breath, realizing the boss is in full rage mode. This is no time to relax. Mid-air, with deadly claws just inches from ripping him apart, our hero shoots a quick glance to the side. He wonders if his summon is just holding back. Right on cue, Little Bone leaps onto the beast and actually slices off its remaining arm. Hirkin yells at his summon, calling for the combo attack they practiced. The monster is left totally confused and defenseless, as the duo unleashes absolute hell. They move like lightning, landing several perfectly timed hits at the exact same time, slicing the boss to pieces. A system prompt flashes confirming the corrupted werewolf has been slain. Hirkin turns off his supreme mode, brushing it off as a pretty easy fight. Suddenly, his chosen mission card starts spinning, glowing with an intense light. The screen reveals that the Mount Bema Cave quest is officially cleared, dropping a solid 10 gold coins right into his inventory. The system then alerts him that his skeleton warrior took down a high-level threat, upgrading its bone shard skill straight to rank E. On top of that, he scores a werewolf skull and pelt, while Little Bone does a happy little victory dance. Hirkin smirks, realizing that instant dungeons really do hand out the best loot in the game. The pop-ups just keep coming. The system announces he just got a corrupted tracker's necklace, a super rare chronicle tier item. It buffs every single class stat, plus a massive 18 points to all overall stats. It is account bound and cannot be traded with just one rule. You have to unlock the corrupted tracker title to equip it. Hirkin is amazed by this drop. Sure, he cannot sell it for cash, but its stats are way higher than any standard gear. His jaw drops even further when 3 brand new titles pop up. First is Rising Star, giving a flat 3% boost to intelligence and mana. Honestly, he totally expected that one. Next up is Hero Challenger, which gives him 3 free stamina points. He laughs, realizing he scored a party-based title, even though he totally soloed the entire dungeon. And finally, he gets the Corrupted Tracker title. He freezes in shock, wondering if this is actually the entry ticket for Chapter 1 of the game's massive main storyline, the Corrupted Count. He knows that the main quest is the absolute foundation of Warlord. It is the most important story in the game, and since the rewards are completely overpowered, literally everyone wants to join in. It is the ultimate endgame content. Shaking with pure excitement over this insane loot, he remembers that in his past life he barely scraped by to reach Chapter 4. His heart pounds. This is not just random luck, this is the ultimate jackpot. He instantly shouts to log out. Back in the real world, a breaking news stream catches his eye. A top-tier player is live on screen announcing that his guild Hydra just entered the final stage of the Corrupted Count storyline. He confidently claims they will finish the whole thing in under 3 months. Jae-hyun hits pause, feeling his stomach instantly drop. That game-changing jackpot he just found. It turns out to be completely worthless now. Rage takes over and he literally starts slamming his head against his desk. Those top players are already finishing the storyline he just started. For a second, he feels totally defeated, thinking he has to sit this out and just patiently wait for the next major update. But suddenly, an idea hits him. He rushes back to his monitor, realizing that this might actually be a perfect chance, since the entire gaming community is currently obsessed with the corrupted count event, and the very first main story of Warlord is trending everywhere. He starts wondering what would happen if he uploaded his own crazy gameplay footage of the corrupted count right now, thinking it is guaranteed to go totally viral. He praises himself for recording the whole boss fight. Now he knows he needs to edit the video and blast it onto YouTube as fast as possible. But there is a catch. The editing has to be absolute perfection, and he cannot trust just some random guy to do it. That leaves only one person for the job. Ramani, the legendary video editor from his past life, spots our hero's request. She raises an eyebrow, wondering who exactly is this Hurricane guy. Looking over the details, she scoffs. What could a level 15 player actually pull off? Probably just the tutorial cave. She figures it is just some spoiled rookie trying to buy a flashy clip for clout. But suddenly, something on the screen grabs her attention. Her jaw drops. A memory flashes in her mind, and as she connects the dots, a huge grin spreads across her face. She knows exactly who this is. Meet Ramani, a freelance editor better known in the game as Hell's Mouth. Cut to a completely different location. A sharp-looking woman swipes through a tablet. An assistant hurries into the room, asking if she needed him. Without looking up, she mentions a brand new video about the corrupted count just dropped. She tosses the tablet over to him, eyes gleaming. She finds it pretty fascinating that a mere level 15 player took down a corrupted werewolf entirely alone. The guy in glasses chuckles. He points out that their team spotted him too, but quickly brushes it off, noting that corrupted werewolves are bottom-tier enemies. They didn't even think he was worth keeping an eye on. A sly smile creeps onto her face as she replies, "Well, I actually liked it." She leans back and orders her assistant to track down the guy in the video and bring him in. This powerhouse is Choi Seo-leon, the heir to Thunder Corporation. It is the most massive business empire out there. And in the virtual world of Warlord, she goes by the legendary name Thunder Queen Sheer. Fast forward to the next morning. Our boy is staring at his phone, completely stunned. He clicks on the video he uploaded yesterday. The view count is already blowing up, sitting at over 6,000 views. He scratches his head, feeling a little overwhelmed. Back in his previous life, it took him solid months to pull in those kinds of numbers. Then a message pops up from Ramani asking if he checked the stats. That hits him hard. Something major has changed. She actually messaged him first. He knows her well, and she never ever makes the first move. She usually plays the mysterious, unreachable editor type. The message asks when the next drop is coming. Jaehyun slumps back into his gaming pod. He lets out a heavy sigh. Honestly, he is asking himself the exact same thing. He is completely clueless about his next move, knowing there is zero chance he will stumble across another rare werewolf like that anytime soon. He rubs his temples, figuring it might be smartest to hold off on content creation until he grinds his way up to level 50. But giving up isn't his style. He powers up the VR headset, dives back into the game, and decides he absolutely has to ride this wave of hype while it lasts. Jump cut to Shev the Slayer, who is glued to his screen watching our hero's footage. He shakes his head, muttering that no matter how often he replays the clip, the guy's combat flow is just mind-blowing. But as he watches closer, a spark of curiosity hits him. He tilts his head, wondering if they have crossed paths before. The fighting style just feels way too familiar. Right then, a stunning woman walks into the room. Meet Yell, a key player for the Red Bulls Guild. Shev points at the screen, telling her he is obsessing over Hyrcan, the wild dude rocking the Haho mask. He notes that this guy is literally breaking the internet right now. She rolls her eyes, asking if he is seriously watching that clip again. She teases that, of course, he looks familiar, since Shev has it on repeat, 24/7. The blonde gamer takes a sharp breath, eyes wide with hype. He practically yells about how this game perfectly mimics real-life physics. Because of that, rookies usually move like rusty robots when they first log in. But this masked guy, he moves like an absolute predator. Shev points out how perfectly the guy controls his skeleton summon. He tells her it is completely built different compared to your average clunky Necromancer. Yell's patience instantly runs out. Annoyed by his fanboy rant, she snaps and tells him to zip it. She shoves him toward the door, warning him that if he keeps running his mouth about this random player, he needs to get his head in the game. They are dropping into a live broadcast in exactly 5 minutes. Shev just flashes a cocky grin, shoots her a wink, and tells her he really loves her attitude. She folds her arms, blows out a breath, and shoots back that if he actually likes her, he better not mess up this upcoming raid. She reminds him that over 200,000 fans paid good money for tickets just to watch him, the mighty boss of the Red Bulls. They are tuning in for the number 9 player in all of Warlord, Shev the Slayer. The countdown hits 0. The stream goes live. A massive glowing dungeon portal tears open in front of them. The guild members grip their weapons, stepping up to the edge. Shev smirks, aims his sword forward, and roars at his crew to get ready for war. Cut back to our hero. Inside the dusty halls of the Castle Figus Raiders Association, Hyrcan is looking visibly annoyed. He slams his fist down on the wooden desk, staring at a completely empty quest board. He mutters under his breath, wondering how a place like this has absolutely zero decent jobs up for grabs. With nothing to hunt, he seriously debates just pausing his whole video career for a bit. Suddenly, the grumpy old quest giver shuffles over. He smirks, saying he had a feeling our guy was the exact same rookie who swept through the Mount Bima cave. Harkin squints, instantly recognizing the old-timer. The NPC introduces himself as Hoten. He leans in close, asking if they can talk in private. Once they slip into a quiet corner, the old man whispers that he caught wind of what happened. He knows all about the freakish mutant that popped up down in that cave. Harkin raises an eyebrow, looking totally lost. He digs through his memory but cannot recall any quest mentioning a mutant. He shrugs it off, saying he only fought a basic werewolf that had some weird-looking eyes. Hotan nods, slowly confirming his suspicions. The old man looks dead serious. He explains there is a massive chance that specific beast was tainted by the dark power of the corrupted. Harkin stares at him, crossing his arms. He honestly thinks this NPC might have some buggy coding or has just gone totally crazy. But Hoden grabs his shoulder, lowering his voice. He admits he does not know exactly who is behind it, but he is absolutely certain that our hero's own power is the exact thing driving these monsters totally insane. Players are dropping like flies out there, which is exactly why the Raiders Association slapped a massive bounty on this guy. The old man can't even finish his sentence before Harkan snatches his arm. With a crazy glint in his eye, our boy volunteers to hunt down this total creep. In Harkan's mind, alarm bells are ringing. This reeks of a rare hidden quest and he needs to lock it in right now. The NPC tries to warn him off, saying he's way too low level to take on a suicide mission like this, but Harkan just brushes it off. He confidently promises he can handle it. Looking a bit flustered by his intense energy, Hotan finally caves and agrees to give him a shot. But it's just a test run. Hotan then drops a massive bombshell. He tells Harkan to go find a guy named Aembry over at Castle Bangsu, just east of Castle Figus. Harkan's jaw practically hits the floor when he hears that name. The old man explains that this mysterious figure will mentor him, and he even drafts up a shiny recommendation letter. Right on cue, a system alert pops up. The quest, Aembry's Teachings, unlocks. The goal is super simple. Track down the guy and hand over Hotan's letter. The prize, a sweet skill book. Harkin bursts out the doors of the Raiders Association, cheering his lungs out. He actually pinches himself. Did he seriously just score a quest to become Aembry's personal student? We are talking about one of the legendary 7 disciples of Grand Mage Bokan. Every mage in the game would sell their soul to meet this guy for his ultra-rare skill books. He is basically VIP royalty in this world. Harkan skips away on Cloud 9, figuring he only unlocked this insane path because he stacked his Rising Star title with the Corrupted Count main quest. He's practically doing the math in his head. If he pulls this off, he'll have enough epic video content for his channel to last for ages. But suddenly he slams on the brakes. He completely forgot. Step 1. He quickly dives into a nearby forest, activates his Bone Fragment skill, and summons his trusty minion. As soon as Little Bone pops into reality, Harkan realizes he never claimed his loot from the last boss fight. He kicks things off by pulling out the werewolf skull he saved from the shop. A system window flashes. Use werewolf skull to upgrade skeleton warrior. Harkan smashes that yes button without hesitation. A magical glow surrounds Little Bone. The system chimes in, confirming the skeleton just absorbed werewolf traits and gained 2 extra points in toughness. Next up on the upgrade menu, the Corrupted Tracker's necklace. Wasting zero time, Harkan eagerly throws the shiny loot around his neck. Boom! The necklace's power surges through him, granting a massive 18 extra points to every single stat on his character sheet. It even supercharges his Necromancer class traits. Harkan cracks a confident smile. His setup is flawless, and he is ready to wreak havoc. Taking things up a notch, he tosses 2 more bone fragments into the dirt. A pair of brand new skeleton warriors rise from the ground. Little Bone just stares at them, totally shook. Harkan pats his original buddy on the skull, explaining they are a trio now. They're an official squad from here on out, so they better learn to play nice and fight as a team. The crew marches out into the wild, hunting for their first target. But in the background, Little Bone is absolutely throwing a tantrum. He thought he was the Master's one and only favorite. It doesn't take long for the action to start. A massive level 25 forest bear crashes through the trees and unleashes a furious combo of swipes. Harkan dances around the deadly claws, barely dodging the attacks. But then the raging beast spots an opening and charges full speed. Harkan freezes, sweating bullets since he can't dodge in time. But instantly, a sly smirk crosses his face. He snaps his fingers and laughs, declaring he perfectly grabbed the bear's aggro. Taking the cue, one of the rookie skeletons heroically dive bombs the angry bear. Sadly, things don't go as planned. The bear smashes the skeleton mid-air, sending it flying backwards into a pile of shattered bones. Harkan loses his temper. Seriously, he yells. Did you really think that weak move was going to cut it? You gotta hit the bear from its blind spot, he barks, ordering the skeleton back into the fight. It lunges at the monster again, only to get instantly swatted down into the dirt. Hyrule absolutely loses his mind, swearing at his minion as he points out his previous instructions. I literally just told you, blind spot, he screams, demanding to know why the second skeleton just copied that exact same epic fail. Suddenly, the third minion steps up and strikes the most goofy, dramatic pose imaginable. Harkin actually cracks a smile. Thinking this time's guy might actually have some skill, he watches his final skeleton leap toward the beast, sword raised high. But the giant bear casually backhands it, sending the skeleton's skull flying. Harkin's blood boils. His frustration hits an all-time high. Fast forward a bit. Harkin ends up having to kill the bear himself. Catching his breath, he seriously wonders if his skeletons even have brains in those hollow skulls. Snap your heads back on and listen up, he orders. While they piece themselves together, he starts a lesson. When you attack a monster, they turn to face you. Duh. He sketches a quick diagram in the dirt. That is exactly why you guys have to sneak up and hit their blind spots. Pointing at his drawing, he quizzes them. So what happens if you charge straight into their line of sight? The skeletons just stare back with completely blank, clueless expressions. Harkin's eye twitches with pure rage. Never mind, he groans. Still looking on the bright side, he is pretty hyped that his skill rank leveled up. Thanks to his corrupted tracker's necklace, he can now bring out 3 skeletons at the exact same time. But there's a catch. The real issue, these guys have zero teamwork. They just copy-paste whatever command the first guy got. They have no clue how to actually fight together. It's a total mess. Harkin is stuck in a tough spot. Summoning them burns through 3 times the mana, yet they perform worse than a solo act. He finally stands up, dusting himself off. Whatever he sighs, he did hit level 20 anyway. Plus, making new combat videos is definitely on hold for now. He turns to his bony crew. Get up, let's go, he commands. We are training the entire way back to Castle Bangsu. Honestly, he imagined kicking back and letting his minions do the dirty work. Chilling out like a true boss-level necromancer. But clearly, staying off the front lines just isn't happening. I am so totally screwed, he mutters. Sometime later, he arrives at the Raiders Association branch in Castle Bangsu. The place is packed with players. Suddenly, a door opens. The crowd instantly goes wild, buzzing with hype as a famous player steps out. Everyone is dying to know what kind of top-tier quest the guy just snagged. Right into this chaos, Harkin walks in. Glaring at the mob like they're a pack of starving hyenas, he pulls his hood down. Leeches are the same everywhere, he thinks to himself. People who never put in the work and just want a free ride. Right on cue, some random guy shouts, "Hey Baldy." The stranger tries to buddy up, asking if Hyrkin scored a sweet quest they could share. Hyrkin is not having it. Get lost, man, he shoots back. Heading up the stairs, his mind races. He absolutely cannot let a single soul find out that he is running a Hembry's exclusive quest. Reaching the top floor, he slides Hayton's recommendation letter across the desk. The guard checks it over, nods, and politely points him toward the second floor. Down below, the mob is still acting like total parasites, literally begging to get past security line that they are in Harkin's party. Walking down the quiet hallway, he daydreams about the loot. It's a hidden quest, so the payout has to be insane. He makes a mental note to butter this NPC up for the long haul. A strong connection here could mean endless rewards. He gently pushes the heavy door open, politely asking if he can step inside, but he freezes. The room is an absolute disaster zone buried under mountains of dusty books. From deep within the trash, a voice grumbles. "Who are you? I didn't schedule any meetings today." It is a Hembry himself. Harkin steps up and respectfully hands over the crumpled letter. "I'm Harkin," he says smoothly. "Old man, Hayton sent me your way." A Hembry snatches the paper and scans it. "A novice dark mage? Huh," the NPC mutters, raising an eyebrow. "You must have some serious skills for your level to make it here." Harkin chuckles, playing the humble card. "Oh, just got lucky, sir," but inside he's just screaming times. "Just hand over the loot, old man." A Hembry nods, buying the act, and starts pulling out the rewards. Harkin's eyes light up like fireworks as he grabs them. The Bone Armor skill book and the Helm of Madness. "Wow, thank you so much for these super rare drops," he beams. "We're done here." "Get out," a Hembry replies, coldly waving him off. Suddenly, the iconic system chime rings in Harkin's ears. A Hembry's teachings quest complete. "Watch your back on the way out," the NPC mutters. Harkin blinks, totally confused. Wait a second. Why did the quest line just die? There has to be more." He didn't drag himself across the map just to grab 2 measly skill books. He practically lunges at a Hembry, shouting, "Please, man, I'll do anything. Give me another quest." A Hembry suddenly grips Harkin's wrist tightly. "Anything you say," he whispers. Harkin squints, extremely suspicious now, but nods. "Yeah. Excellent. Thank you," the old man smiles. Ding times, a new prompt flashes before his eyes. Times, new quest acquired, the nest's egg. which means he has to snatch this egg right out of the monster's nest, and the kicker, there is zero loot. Harkin is totally stunned realizing this NPC just played him. Meanwhile, heavily armored footsteps echo through the city as a knight strolls by making the nearby crowd visibly sweat. People start whispering, staring in awe at the guy's insanely top-tier custom gear. The knight just keeps walking, heading straight for the Raiders Association branch. He is hunting for one specific person, wondering if the player known as Haho Mask is hiding in there. Back to our guy stepping out of a Himbre's room, he is beyond annoyed. He seriously can't believe a game character just scammed him like that. He storms off, grumbling about how he totally thought he unlocked a massive main storyline quest. But instead he is stuck with this useless egg hunt, especially since it pays absolutely nothing. Frustrated and venting to himself, he aggressively debates if he should just trash the mission. Then boom, some random dude jumps right in his face, demanding details about his new quest. Within seconds, a whole mob of desperate players swarms him, all shouting and trying to squeeze information out of him. Panic sets in. He totally forgot these vultures were camping outside and now he is trapped. For a second, he seriously considers just slaughtering the whole crowd. But out of nowhere, a massive shockwave erupts. That heavy knight steps in, blowing the mob away with sheer aura. He turns to Harkin calmly asking if he has a second to chat somewhere private. Harkin instantly goes on high alert, wondering who the hell this powerhouse is. Still on edge, he tells the guy to back off and get lost. But the towering knight leans right into his face and drops a whisper, calling him Haho Mask and asking for his cooperation. Hearing his secret alias drops Harkin's stomach straight to the floor. Spooked, he quietly follows the guy into a dark, empty alley. The knight apologizes for the rough entrance. Tapping his smartwatch, he claims it was just too loud out there for a real talk. The helmet comes off, leaving Harkin completely lost. Scanning the guy's insane loadout, he knows this dude has to be a massive high-ranking player. But the face, total stranger. He racks his brain trying to figure out who this is, and more importantly, how he knows the secret alias. The knight cuts the tension bluntly, asking if he really is the mask. Harkin starts sweating bullets, realizing his best survival tactic right now is to play completely dumb. So he puts on a confused face, asking who this Haho guy even is. The knight pushes back, claiming he just tracked him here to talk, but he desperately needs to find this masked player. Losing patience, the heavy hitter demands to know if Harkin just walked out with a quest from that NPC Alhimbri. Harkin instantly steps into the guy's space. Why should he spill anything to a guy who just dragged him into an alley? Keeping up the tough guy act, he aggressively flips the ranker off, barking at him and asking if he wants to throw hands. Inside, though, he is screaming, having absolutely zero clue who this monster is. All he knows is he has to keep selling this bluff. The knight glares at him in dead silence, then suddenly reaches out his hand, admitting he clearly got the wrong guy and apologizes. Breathing a massive internal sigh of relief, Harkin shakes it, acting like it is no big deal. Turning his back, he warns the guy to watch his step next time and storms off. The player just stands there in silence watching him leave. But the alley wasn't empty. A second player drops his cloaking skill, turning to his heavy-hitting friend. He confirms that yeah, this kid definitely isn't the target they are hunting. The knight agrees, pointing out that the guy is clearly an amateur. A real veteran of Warlord would never be stupid enough to carelessly expose their smartwatch wrist during a handshake. The stealth mage then asks if they seriously need to keep camping outside of Hembri's spot. The Corrupted Count storyline is basically a wrap anyway, so even if someone leaks the intel, now what could they really do? The knight shoots that down fast. This new egg fetch quest, that is the true main storyline, meaning they cannot afford to take any dumb risks. Nodding, the mage cloaks back to his sniper post and the two part ways. Plot twist, Harkin was eavesdropping the whole time. A cold chill hits him as he realizes there were two of them. Since they are running stealth ops together, they have to be part of a shadowy organization. He knows damn well that if this were just a normal guild, they would have flashed their logo and tried to recruit him with a big paycheck. Instead, they ran a psychological test on him, proving these guys are incredibly dangerous and definitely not your average gamers. Hiding in the shadows, he can't stop wondering who the hell he just crossed paths with. By the next morning, Harkin is still racking his brain. There has to be some crazy hidden value to this whole egg mission he stumbled into. He pieces it together. They definitely watched his viral video and guessed the masked player was the one destined to trigger Ambri's next stage. That is why they let him walk away so easily. They don't actually care about the man behind the mask. They just want to control the questline. Now he is stuck in a massive dilemma. He has no idea how deep this rabbit hole goes, but one thing is crystal clear. If he goes after that egg, he is going straight to war with those dark players, and he really wants to avoid that nightmare. He won't even be able to upload videos for a while. He sighs, annoyed about why these absolute crazies just keep ruining his life, especially since dealing with Sulian alone is already a massive headache. Meanwhile, back in the real world, Sulian just logs out of the game, and her secretary Park Suji steps up to praise her hard work. Handing her boss a fresh bottle of water, she asks how the guild entrance exams went. Sulian snatches the bottle coldly, throwing out that every single one of them was pure trash. She honestly cannot understand why everyone is so useless, and presses for updates on that Haho Mask guy. Suji shifts nervously, stuttering that he might have joined a different guild. Considering he still hasn't replied to their messages, Sulian immediately flares up, demanding to know if she is hearing this right. Terrified, Suji quickly shakes her head, promising to dig deeper into the issue. Sulian snaps at her not to show her face again until she is totally sure. Slipping into a new outfit, she asks if the chairman said anything. Suji quietly says he is still staying silent. A cocky smirk stretches across Sulian's face. She explains that if the old man is quiet, it means Warlord is doing amazing. Fully dressed now, she loudly complains about how he actually tried to force her into an arranged marriage, back when she first told him she was playing the game. As Suji stares, totally captivated by her boss's flawless figure, Sulian barks in order to round up a fresh batch of recruits, and to bring her the report by tomorrow morning. Suji jumps, anxiously asking if she really wants that done the very next day, since it is incredibly sudden. But Sulian just brushes past her, walking out without a second glance. Suji sighs, thinking her boss has a wonderfully toxic personality. Later on, deep in a dark dungeon, Hyrule looks around, muttering that it has been a long time, and the murky waters of the lizard swamp feel completely unfamiliar. He figures that since Ahembri is currently camping out at Bang's castle, the quest objective has to be somewhere nearby. And since he needs to hunt down a specific egg, it probably belongs to a giant bird, a scaly reptile, or a nasty bug. Running down the list of spots he can actually survive at his current level, the lizard swamp is literally his only choice. He snaps his fingers to call up a skeleton, warning it that the monsters here are super high level, so he will definitely need that new skill enhancement. Staring at the Helm of Madness, he remembers he needs to draw a magic mark and chant the right spell. The moment he turns the helm on, his undead minion starts to violently morph, its empty eyes suddenly glowing with a dark blood-red energy. A heavy, terrifying aura explodes from the skeleton, leaving Hyrule completely speechless. A massive grin spreads across his face as his minion turns into a total beast. Wanting a quick test drive, he literally orders the skeleton to hit him, but he completely forgets the tiny warning label that says the summon might go totally insane. The skeleton drops low, radiating pure killer instinct, and launches right at his master. Harkin's heart stops. Reflexes kick in. Harkin throws a brutal right hook, popping the skeleton's head clean off and sending it flying into the sky. As the skull smashes down into the dirt, he angrily yells at his own summon, wondering where it got the nerve to attack him. Suspicious, he scrolls through the skill logs, looking for a bug but comes up empty. He scratches his head, guessing the spell just backfired on him somehow. But he completely misses a giant shadow silently rising from the murky swamp right behind his back. A level 30 lizardman bears its fangs ready to strike. Hirkin slowly turns around, flashing a wild smirk as he welcomes his new test subject. Without skipping a beat, he fires up his skill again. A system prompt pops up, confirming that when the Helm of Madness is locked in, it supercharges his summon's stats, currently giving them a 1.2 times multiplier. Hirkin then triggers bone armor, snapping solid bone plating onto his minions. He only has the chest piece unlocked so far, but honestly, it is enough. The Bone Squad is officially battle-ready, making the towering lizardmen visibly step back in panic. Pointing forward, Hyrule commands his undead crew to tear them apart. The skeletons explode into motion, unleashing a ruthless combo that pushes the scaly beasts into a desperate corner. Spotting a wide-open gap, one skeleton slips behind a panicked enemy and delivers a brutal bone-crushing slash right through its back. In no time at all, the sweet sound of the system chimes in. It announces that the skeleton warriors just wiped out 3 lizardmen, pulling in a juicy 864 experience points. Even better, our boy just ranked up 2 whole levels at once. Watching his monsters dominate, Harkin throws his head back and laughs out loud, totally hyped. He cheers on his undead crew, claiming they will spend the next 7 days hunting nonstop to find that egg. If this swamp ends up being a bust, they will just pack up and slaughter their way through the next map. But as he marches his army forward, a pair of eyes stalks him from the shadows. It is a ridiculously overconfident woman. She playfully bites her lip, trying to script the perfect cute introduction. She cannot stop obsessing over her own stunning looks, quickly shaking her head to focus. But hey, she really is gorgeous, and there is nothing she can do to hide it, because literally every guy falls for her. Life on easy mode has been amazing. Whenever she sheds a fake tear, her army of fanboys comes rushing to the rescue. But as soon as she struts forward to make her move, her foot catches some slick mud, and she eats dirt, landing face first in a gross puddle. Spitting out muddy water, she silently screams about how much she despises this garbage swamp. She remembers one of her pathetic followers dragged her all the way out here, promising to power level her. Instead, the loser died instantly, leaving her stranded and forcing her to creep on our boy from the bushes. She knows these swamp beasts will shred her to pieces and the mud is impossible to walk through. Narrowing her eyes, she zeroes in on Harkin. A sneaky idea pops into her head. She might have just scored a brand new pawn. Suddenly, a weird noise catches his attention, and as he glances back, there's Ilya putting on a show as she trips and crashes to the dirt, begging for help. Flashing a super sad face, she whines about her legs getting crushed by monsters, while secretly smirking, totally convinced this clueless guy will easily fall for her little damsel in distress act and rush to save her. Too bad our main guy could not care less. He just turns right back around and keeps on walking, leaving her sitting there in total shock, wondering what is wrong with him. As she keeps screaming for someone to save her, Hyrkin rolls his eyes, figuring another crazy player just showed up. Ilya bites her lip, fuming mad and totally insulted that he would just blow her off like that. Meanwhile, Hyrkin pushes forward, effortlessly taking down a bunch of beasts. As he stands there, yawning, watching his undead minions do all the heavy lifting, he spots a familiar shadow on his tail. That same girl. He had been ignoring her this whole time just to dodge any drama, but she is clinging to him like glue. Memories of those annoying scammers from a few days back suddenly flash in his mind, and his blood starts to boil. If these people want to play the game, they better actually play it right. Realizing he needs to squash this bug right now, he spins around and flat out demands to know what her deal is. She creeps closer, spinning a tale about dropping her blade in a swamp during a hunt, pleading for him to help get it back. Harkin shoots her a cold look, making a firm deal that the second he grabs that weapon, she needs to get out of his face for good. Acting all thrilled, she showers him with endless thank yous, swearing she will never forget his kindness. But deep down, she is laughing at him for being such an easy target. After dragging their feet around the mud, they finally spot the shiny weapon she cried about. Ilya pours on the gratitude again, but he just brushes it off, dropping a heavy reminder about their little promise. Grab the sword and vanish. Taking a heavy breath, he snaps his fingers, ordering his skeleton squad to go fetch the blade. As his minions sprint off, she giggles and thanks him one last time. But here is the catch. A necromancer with no minions nearby is completely defenseless. So she seizes the perfect opening, lunging at his back for a sneak attack, right when she thinks she has him beat. Harkin whips around in a flash, casually telling her that she is way too slow. Before her brain can even process that her sneak attack failed, he grabs her by the collar and launches her straight into the sky, sending her crashing right into the filthy swamp. Popping out of the muck like a swamp monster, she spits out a string of angry curses. Boiling with rage, she screams, asking if he seriously thought he could just toss her away like garbage, threatening that her personal guards are going to hunt him down and tear him apart. Harkin just bursts into laughter, pointing a finger right over her shoulder. Confused, she spins around to see what is so funny, only to freeze at the sight of a whole squad of massive lizardmen. As Ilya scrambles to save her own skin, Harkin coldly states she still has a long way to go before she can fool a pro like him. He practically rubs it in her face, admitting he saw right through her dirty little trap from the very first second. In his mind, he has already been played by too many fakes in this game, and he is done letting that happen again. Giving her the cold shoulder, he complains that she has already wasted enough of his time, and whistles for his crew to pack it up. But he instantly facepalms when he catches his bony minions copying that same flirty damsel in distress pose. They just learned from her. Annoyed, Harkin barks at them to knock off the weird acts right now, or he will send them back to the grave for good. Suddenly, a system alert chimes and player Ilya has officially been taken out of the picture. A huge grin spreads across his face, totally hyped to score free points when he didn't even land the finishing blow. Then her screeching threats echo in his mind, about some big scary bodyguards hunting him down, but he just snorts, guessing they don't even exist. A noob like her probably does not even have a single friend online. Little does he know, a hidden squad is secretly watching his every move through a live feed, and they are absolutely boiling with rage. Fast forward a bit, in that same swampy maze, a battered player is backed into a corner with a blade at his throat. Harkin casually leans on his sword, pinning the guy down, as the trapped guy spits in his face, swearing he will never bow to an enemy of Lady Ilya. Unbothered, Harkin leans in to ask just one simple question. Genuinely curious why this random guy is ruining his game for some girl, especially when he gets literally zero out of it. It honestly blows his mind. So he straight up asks if the guy seriously thinks she will become his real-life girlfriend for getting revenge. Out of nowhere, the bruised player flashes a creepy smile, leaving Harkin totally weirded out. The guy bursts into crazy lovesick laughter, screaming that he is doing it all for love. Rolling his eyes, Harkin swiftly ends the guy's game right then and there, shaking his head at this absolute comedy show. It drags his mind back to that lying girl from earlier, cementing her annoying face in his memory. He honestly thought her threats about an army of bodyguards were just a bluff, but now that they are turning out to be very real, he is suddenly bumping into these crazy fanboys at every corner. But instead of stressing, he gets pumped up. Since he has been starved for some good quests lately, Having an endless wave of these shameless targets throwing themselves at him sounds like the perfect warm-up. For a second, he toys with the idea of hunting that girl down to crush her all over again, but quickly waves it off, figuring that would just stir up way too much drama. Just like that, the system chimes, dropping some sweet loot in his lap, another unowned watch, a fat stack of 5,000 gold coins, some neat goblin leather boots, and a shiny rare teardrop called the Promised Necklace. Gazing at his new prize, Hirken's eyes widen as he wonders if this Promised Necklace might just be that insanely rare treasure that sells for a massive 800,000 won on the market. He gets completely hyped, shouting about how beautiful love is. He sarcastically thanks those clueless fanboys already dreaming about the fancy dinner he's finally going to treat himself to. Out of nowhere, a guy jumps out, screaming that our main character is standing right there in plain sight. Harken spins around with a massive grin, yelling that the guy who took down Ilya has arrived, but that smile instantly drops when he realizes he's staring down a whole squad of armed warriors. Panic mode activated. He immediately books it in the opposite direction, totally caught off guard by their massive numbers. While sprinting for his life, he looks back mind blown. He can't help but wonder just how many there are, and if it's even possible for this many dudes to be completely obsessed with one single girl. Realizing he can't outrun them, he slams on the brakes and calls upon his undead crew. Spotting the magic, one of the rival players points out that these must be the famous skeleton summons they were. He steps back, telling his buddy to handle business just like they planned. The friend takes a deep breath, channels his energy, and unleashes a ridiculous skill called Love Power. With one massive swing, he completely shreds through all of Harken's skeletons. Harken just screams in absolute disbelief, swearing that a skill like that shouldn't even exist in the game. A system alert flashes before his eyes, confirming his summons are completely wiped out. Sweating a bit, Harken quickly calculates that these guys are definitely way above his current level, and with their overwhelming numbers, taking them head-on would be pure unaliving himself. So he cranks his movement speed to the absolute max, leaving them eating his dust, vowing that the second he levels up, he is coming back to hunt down every single one of them. After a marathon sprint, Harken finally stops completely out of breath. He figures that shaking off higher-level players is a total nightmare right now, so for the time being, he just has to keep his feet moving. But suddenly, a massive chill runs down his spine as the atmosphere around him instantly shifts. He glances around, totally lost. The terrain here looks nothing like the rest of the zone, and he realizes he definitely doesn't remember a spot like this anywhere inside the lizard swamp. He's been grinding in this exact region for days, yet he has never stumbled across a dark pitch black bog like this one. Putting the pieces together, a wild realization hits him. Meanwhile, the angry mob of players is still aggressively hunting for our boy, frustrated and wondering where the heck he vanished to. Suddenly, a heavier-set player shouts that the target must be up ahead, pointing straight at a skeleton. But when they get a closer look, it's just Harken's undead minions literally breaking it down and dancing like they're at a nightclub on top of some weird mound. The whole group just freezes, completely speechless. The heavy-set guy's face turns bright red with pure rage, spitting curses at Harken. He screams that hurting their precious lady Ilya was bad enough, but openly mocking them with dancing skeletons is a step too far. Blinded by his anger, he recklessly charges straight toward the dancing bones. But right at that very second, the murky swamp erupts. A colossal beast explodes from the mud, snatching the angry guy mid-air and dragging him straight into its terrifying jaws. His buddies are instantly paralyzed, shaking in absolute terror at the sheer size of the monster. This right here is the level 40 lizard dragon, the absolute apex predator and boss of the lizard swamp who just swallowed their friend like a light snack. Harken, on the other hand, is smartly hiding in the shadows, happily watching these poor players deal with the giant threat. He smirks, thinking to himself that he never actually expected this spot to be the main boss's literal living room. He knows this beast is an absolute tank with insane defense, massive health, and brutal damage. It normally takes a highly coordinated raid party of 20 level 40 players just to barely survive fighting it. He also remembers hearing that the server already cleared the lizard dragon raid a while ago, meaning this massive boss honestly shouldn't even have respawned yet. But then it clicks. If a player holding a very specific related mission enters the zone like, oh, I don't know, his personal quest to steal a rare egg from a nest, the game system forces the monster to appear. Basically, if this terrifying dragon is crashing the party, this is 100% the exact spot for Hembry's crazy mission. Now his mind is racing. He seriously starts questioning if Hembry actually expected him to solo this monstrous boss just to snatch a single egg, fully knowing he is only sitting at level 20. His blood boils as he curses that totally scummy NPC, but then a wicked smile forms. Luckily for him, he unknowingly brought along some extremely helpful high-leveled bait, so everything is working out perfectly. Down below, one of Ilya's devoted fanboys screams at the top of his lungs that the boss is way too strong, ordering a full retreat. But suddenly, Harken steps out of the shadows, shaking his head and saying, "Oh no, you guys aren't going anywhere." With a flick of his wrist, he activates his bone fragment skill, raising a fresh wall of skeleton warriors all around them. The trapped players look wildly at the undead army, realizing in pure horror that they are completely boxed in. One guy tries to keep the morale up, shouting that they just need to break the line and push forward. But before he can even take a step, the colossal lizard dragon blindsides him with a devastating tail whip, launching him straight into the stratosphere. Taking full advantage of the chaos, Harkin slips away while the monster is busy having a buffet. Sprinting as fast as his legs can carry him, he cheerfully calls back, thanking the mob, promising to always remember their beautiful noble sacrifice. As he runs, he realizes that with the angry giant fully distracted, a golden opportunity has just opened up. He makes a mad dash straight for the center of the nest to secure the prize, completely confident that the coast is clear, leaping dramatically into the giant crater. He's absolutely hyped, thinking this is an easy grab and dash mission. But he freezes in his tracks, dropping his jaw in total shock. The massive nest is completely empty. Panic sets in, and he starts frantically digging through the dirt like a maniac until his hands brush against something. He pulls it out, staring at the prize with deep confusion. The item looks super sketchy. He squints at it, tilting his head and thinking, does this seriously not look way more like a random boulder than a magical dragon egg? Suddenly, a cold sweat breaks out on his forehead. The system blinks red, warning him that his last skeleton warrior has just been wiped out. He slowly turns his head, gulping hard as he realizes the massive beast definitely caught his scent and is heading back to defend its home. And just like clockwork, the earth begins to shake as the towering boss stomps back into the nest, absolutely foaming at the mouth with pure rage. Harkin scrambles to hide behind the rocks, realizing with absolute dread that he is completely 100% cooked. He knew that with the boss back on the prowl, poking around the nest was out of the question. Staring at the weird egg-shaped object, he figured he had no choice but to grab it and run, hoping it was the real deal. Circling back to the boss arena, he stepped into a scene of utter chaos. Harkin walked right up to one of the downed players, letting out a dark chuckle. Snatching the guy's watch, he casually mentioned how Wild Warlord was completely packed with absolute lunatics. The downed player snapped, screaming curses at him. But Harkin just slammed his blade into the dirt, barely an inch from the guy's face. As pure panic washed over the guy's eyes, Harkin leaned in low, telling him to listen very, very closely. He made it crystal clear. He had just been messing around earlier, but he had way too much on the line here. If their paths ever crossed again, they wouldn't be walking away so easily. He told the guy to pass that warning to his crew and that woman before turning on his heel and sprinting off. Once he was clear, he made a promise to himself. If those pests ignored his final warning, he was going to unleash an all-out war. Shaking off the anger, he decided it was time to cash in on all the juicy intel he gathered from the swamp dungeon. He jumped straight onto the game forums, posting that he had spotted a lizard dragon. He put the exact coordinates up for sale for a cool 100,001. Back at Ahimbri's hideout, he carefully dropped the mysterious egg on the table, awkwardly telling the old mage that his delivery was here. He silently prayed it was the right drop, absolutely dreading the thought of grinding that map all over again. The old man leaned in, inspecting it in dead silence. Harkin started sweating bullets, until Ahimbri finally nodded, confirming it was exactly what he needed. Harkin's eyes lit up, thrilled that his wild guess had actually paid off. But then Ahimbri threw shade, saying he really expected a weakling like him to take way longer. Harkin flinched. The guy knew he was underleveled and still threw him to the wolves. What kind of twisted NPC was this? Swallowing his pride, he proudly stated he gave it his all, eagerly asking for the next quest. Ahimbri just looked at him, asking if he even knew what he was holding. He explained that this bizarre object was dug up right where those mutant monsters were roaming. Because of that, he had dubbed the egg-like rock the Stone of Corruption. Harkin's jaw dropped. It hit him like a truck. That was exactly why that psycho crew tried to jump him. The Stone of Corruption wasn't just random loot. It was a massive core item, tied directly to the game's main storyline. Those guys were just trying to wipe out the competition so they could hoard the item and control the main quest progress. Harkin felt like an idiot. He totally thought this NPC was scamming him earlier, never dreaming he had stumbled right into the main story. Ahimbri gave a soft apology, admitting he knew the task would be absolute hell for him. But with a mysterious god-level threat looming, he had to push Harkin to his absolute limit to test his spirit. The old mage's eyes turned deadly serious, asking if Harkin was truly ready to battle this corruption. Harkin gripped his fists, his blood pumping. He had willpower for days. If this was the main quest, this was his golden ticket to the top. He screamed out that he would risk his very soul for the cause, but Ahimbri just flatly replied, "Not right now." Harkin froze, totally lost. Blinking in pure confusion, he asked the old man what he meant. Ahimbri sighed, pointing out that Harkin saw firsthand how insane those monsters were. So handing a suicide mission to a total rookie would be crazy. Harkin just stood there completely shell-shocked. Was he seriously getting locked out of the quest because he was too weak? But right then, a sly smile crept across the NPC's face. He playfully teased that if Hyrule groveled and begged the great mage Ahembre to take him under his wing, he just might be generous enough to train him. Cut to Hyrule, storming out of the room in dead, humiliated silence. Moments later, a system ping popped up. Quest complete. He had officially earned the humiliating title of Ahembre's disciple. A new quest, Ahembre's Teachings Part 2, immediately triggered. The catch, he had to grind all the way to level 40 before he could even show his face again. The prize was a corrupted tracker ring skill book, but then the painful memory of his pathetic groveling hit him. He had literally begged like a dog just because the NPC told him to, boiling with rage. He cursed Ahembre for being an absolute scam artist. Meanwhile, deep in another dungeon, a massive boss shattered into pixels. The raid team cheered, calling the battle a massive win, and shouting for the injured to group up for heals. A hyped-up player ran to his captain, shouting that their guild had finally hit the big leagues. The captain grinned, telling his warrior to get the squad together once they caught their breath. He then jogged over to a quiet player, deeply thanking him and admitting the guy's power was completely off the charts. Turns out it was the exact same knight who had hunted our hero earlier. The knight just played it cool, humbly saying it was no big deal and giving all the credit to the team's solid backup. But the captain wasn't having it. He shook his head straight up, admitting that without him at least 5 of his guys would be dead right now. He knew for a fact that this guy was the only reason they cleared the boss flawlessly. He even confessed that he used to think paying mercenaries for boss runs was a scam, but now he was beyond thrilled that he dropped the cash to hire him. He tosses over a coin pouch, admitting it's everything they can scrape together, but the knight instantly spots that this isn't the agreed-upon payout. The captain rubs his neck sheepishly, admitting he knows, but clarifies it's just a little extra cash outside their original contract. But the knight's vibe turns ice cold. He firmly rejects the money, stating he never bends the rules. The guild captain is left totally caught off guard and blushing with embarrassment. He scrambles to apologize genuinely, believing the knight only stepped in for a quick payday. While the captain stands there puzzled, wondering why a high-tier ranker would even bother with such a low-level raid, the knight simply turns his back. He casually mentions he's heading out to loot the nest, exactly as they agreed. The captain shouts after him, warning that the lair is probably totally picked clean. Meanwhile, the other player is practically doing a happy dance. He can't believe his insane luck, never dreaming he'd actually get a free shot at grabbing the Stone of Corruption. He recalls breaking into a cold sweat when the lizard dragon aggroed, terrified that Haho Mask was already speed-running the quest. But seeing the beast still breathing, he smugly assumes our hero totally choked. Without a second thought, he dives right into the lair. He scoffs, thinking that taking down a boss requires way more than just fancy footwork. His heart pounds with hype, knowing his only job right now is to snatch up that Stone of Corruption and completely ruin Haho Mask's quest line. But reality hits him like a truck. The stone is completely gone. His hands shake with pure, unfiltered rage as he screams at the top of his lungs, throwing nasty curses at our boy. Cut to our protagonist in the real world. He is completely logged out, glaring holes into his phone screen. He takes a long, shaky breath and mutters, "It's time." Through all those miserable instant noodle days, he kept promising himself that if he just held on a little longer, life would finally turn around. His hands get a little clammy, but he decides the struggle ends today. Hyping himself up, he boldly declares he's actually gonna do it. He is ordering a massive steak. He snatches up his phone, literally jumping around his room like a kid. He admits he's been freezing and starving himself, just to stretch his pennies. But hey, he just cleared a major main quest. He figures he totally deserves a thick, juicy steak, especially with that sweet extra payout. It feels like the ultimate reward, so he hits the button to convert his game gold into cold hard cash. The second the transfer goes through, he stares at that beautifully bloated bank balance and cheers for meat time, but ding, ding, ding. He helplessly watches a brutal wave of auto-deductions drain his account. Loan payments, electricity, and rent. Poof. His balance plummets down to a pathetic 8,561, leaving him absolutely frozen. Because that's not even enough to buy a cheap cup of ramen. He collapses, slamming his fists against the floor, crying out to the universe about why he grinds so hard just to stay broke. Right on cue, his phone buzzes. It's a text from Romany, jokingly asking if he kicked the bucket or if he just quit WTube forever. He scoops up his phone, facepalming, because he totally forgot to give Romany a life update. He wants to explain that his video-making days are on pause, because a bunch of psycho players are actively hunting him down. But then he pauses, chewing his lip. Does he really need to lay this low, when he is literally starving to death in real life? Besides, what crime did he commit? He's just a normal gamer trying to enjoy the ride. Fueled by pure frustration, he jumps to his feet. Screw it, he doesn't care anymore, he is going to play exactly how he wants. So he straps in and logs right back online, fast-traveling to a deeply unsettling area that looks straight out of a horror movie graveyard. A system chime pops up, announcing he has officially entered the Forest of the Dead. As he trudges through the fog, he looks at his skeletal crew and admits that no matter how many times he visits, this place gives him the major creeps. Still, he brushes it off, figuring these haunted woods are easily the best spot to power grind some heavy experience points. Plus, let's be real, the creepy dark aesthetic is absolute clickbait gold for his channel. Smirking, he spins around and orders his bony squad to start the hunt. Hold up though, he announces, introducing their brand new teammate who will be calling the tactical shots from here on out. He claps his hands, telling the boys to play nice. The rookie is a slick skeleton mage, spawned from a skill that sketchy con artist Ahimbri handed over. He smirks, knowing that as his skill mastery levels up, these bony casters will unlock some seriously overpowered spells. It's an insanely good skill to have in his pocket even if it completely drains his mana bar. Suddenly, the dirt shifts ahead. A rotting hand bursts out of the soil and he points at it grinning. All right, boys, there's your first target. A whole pack of level 33 skeletons claw their way to the surface. But his own summons just stand there, scratching their skulls, completely thrown off because the enemies look exactly like them. Harkin glances over his shoulder, throwing his hands up. What are they doing? They are supposed to be out there, shredding monsters to pieces. Instead, his fierce undead squad is totally freaked out by the idea of fighting their own mirror images. But honestly, our guy could not care less about their identity crisis. He loudly declares that once the fists start flying, his squad will figure out that wild undead monsters operate on completely different rules than normal mobs. Yet he looks over and sees his bony boys literally cowering in fear. His jaw drops and he barks. What the hell are you guys doing? Losing his patience, he violently snaps his fingers, ordering them to knock off the nonsense and get moving. We are on a tight schedule here. Taking the hint, Boney finally sprints forward, awkwardly slapping one of the enemy skeletons like he feels sorry for it. The enemy skeleton barely flinches. It just pauses for a second before marching right back forward, leaving poor Boney completely baffled. Harkin chuckles, pointing out that, yep, that's the catch. Basic attacks are totally useless here. With a slick motion, he pulls a heavy warhammer out of his inventory, a bad boy that boosts his strength by 35 points. He winds up and delivers a casual massive strike to the enemy, completely shattering its bones into dust. Without missing a beat, he follows through, aiming right for its skull, and launches that cranium into the sky like a baseball. Home run, he cheers in his head. Smug as ever, he turns back to his quivering summons and asks, all right, did you guys take notes? The goal is simple, crush the enemy's skull. But instead of fighting his skeletal, minions are gripping their own heads, shivering in absolute terror of their boss. Scared, he might shatter their skulls. Next, they listen as Hyrule announces the challenge. The mission, wipe out 100 skeletons in exactly 100 minutes for a speedrun video. Flashing a wicked grin, he gives them a chilling ultimatum: if they mess this up, nobody is making it out alive. That threat is all it takes. The minions instantly scatter like roaches, sprinting off to hunt down their targets. A little while later, the system chimes in, confirming Hyrule just wiped out a massive wave of enemies and scored a sweet level up. He pats his squad on the back for a solid job. Honestly, he figured they would struggle a lot more with weapons they had never even touched before. But surprisingly, they are crushing it. With footage this good, the video is bound to blow up, though he really needs to have a chat with Romani first. Suddenly, a chilling aura fills the air. Right out of nowhere, a towering level 35 skeleton warrior drops down right in front of him. Harkin breaks a sweat. He knows exactly what this is, a super rare random spawn monster. Knowing there is a decent chance it might respawn as a giant cow, he doesn't hesitate. He and his minions charge full speed right at the beast. All he can think about is juicy steak. While sprinting headfirst into danger, his only real struggle is deciding between grilled or roasted beef. His dinner fantasies vanish instantly when the warrior swings a gigantic axe. Harkin barely dives backward in time to dodge a strike that would have easily crushed him into dust. Falling back behind his minions, his heart is pounding. That was way too close. He almost got one-shotted before he could even blink. Luckily, he managed to target the monster's arm, but that just pissed it off. Roaring in anger, the beast instantly winds up for a brutal second swing. But Harkin reads it perfectly. Coordinating with his crew, they unleash a heavy strike straight to the warrior's pelvis, sending the giant crashing hard into the dirt. Dusting himself off, he checks on his squad, bragging that the fight was an absolute joke, completely oblivious to the fact that the enraged monster is already lunging right back at him. Seconds before the blade connects, Harkin just smirks, muttering that this guy seriously needs to chill out. Because he was never caught off guard, he screams out that his squad still has one final trick up their sleeves. Right on cue, the skeleton mage unleashes a blazing fireball. It blasts the warrior point blank, engulfing its entire skeleton in a raging inferno. The system flashes a victory message. Harkin has officially crushed the skeleton warrior, scoring a massive chunk of sweet experience points. Harkin lets out a huge sigh of relief. Man, that was way too close for comfort. Staring down at the charred pile of bones, he runs the numbers. This insane footage is guaranteed to pull at least 10,000 views. Still, his stomach is growling. Video, or no video, He is absolutely grilling a steak tonight. But the celebration is cut short. A red alert pops up. The field boss has sensed the death of its subordinate, leaving Hyrule completely lost. The warnings keep flashing. The boss is locked onto the intruders, and now, the true nightmare of the forest is waking up. The ground trembles as a gigantic magic circle glows right beside them. Slowly, a massive, terrifying skull breaks through the earth, dragging its colossal body out of the dirt. As the towering giant completely materializes, casting a huge shadow over the squad, Harkan's jaw hits the floor. He cannot believe his own eyes. It is the level 40 golden skeleton, the absolute ruler and final boss of the Forest of the Dead. This thing is a nightmare, the very first mage-class boss infamous among players as the ultimate rookie killer. Then it hits him. Wiping out all those normal skeletons is what triggered this crazy spawn. He totally didn't plan for this, and honestly taking it down seems absolutely impossible. But if by some miracle he actually pulls this off, it is going to be the jackpot of a lifetime. His gamer brain kicks into overdrive. If he pumps all his buffs into his undead squad, they might just stand a chance against this giant. Hyped up, he screams for his minions to attack, only to realize he is standing completely alone. They are gone. A cold sweat drips down his face as the system calmly explains his mana hit 0, dismissing all his summons. Total panic sets in. It is just him against a giant boss. It makes total sense though. Keeping 4 summons active and spamming high-tier fire magic totally drained his energy pool. His mana bar is completely dry. Staring up at the towering monster of gold, Hyrule realizes running is not an option anymore. He grips his smartwatch, cracking a confident smile. It is time to stop playing around and finally warm up. For the first time in ages, he taps his gear slot, instantly equipping his heavy battle armor. Fully geared up, he points right at the towering boss and yells for it to bring it on. No hesitation, he explodes off the ground, charging straight at the monster. In response, the golden skeleton starts charging up a massive glowing spell. The boss unleashes a barrage of magical blasts, forcing Hyrule into a frantic dance as he desperately dodges the deadly explosions. Just one stray hit will instantly send him to the grave, and this thing is spamming spells like crazy. It completely lives up to its title as the Rookie Killer. Pinned down by the endless magical crossfire, Hyrule's mind races. If he lets this giant keep rapid-firing spells, he is completely screwed. Leaping high into the air, he spots the weak point. He just needs to shut down its casting. With a fierce battle cry, he smashes his weapon right into the monster's glowing palm. The heavy impact shatters the spell's flow, buying him a precious second. That is when it clicks. The creature's magic is directly linked to its hand movements. The strategy is simple. Smash the hands, stop the magic, but right as he forms a plan, the massive skeleton starts acting extremely weird. A new system alert pops up, warning that the field boss has locked its deadly gaze squarely onto him. Hyrule freezes, totally confused about what is coming next. Suddenly, a system alert flashes. The boss has completely read his moves, sizing up his actual combat power. The golden skeleton weaves its hands together, unleashing a massive shockwave of pitch-black energy. Hyrule freezes in panic. What in the world is going on? Before he can even process it, he is running for his life, desperately dodging a barrage of dark blasts. His mind races to figure out the attack pattern, but one blast locks right onto him. In a split second, he dives hard to the side. The dark blast slams into the earth, and the sheer force throws his body flying across the battlefield. Hitting the dirt, he gasps for air. This crazy attack pattern makes 0 sense. He stares at the monster, wondering if his memory is playing tricks on him. Did this golden skeleton always have a hidden phase, or did the developers sneak in a crazy buff during a patch, just like they did with the tutorial Minotaur? His heart sinks. Honestly, his memory is completely blurry right now. It has literally been years since he fought a boss like this one. Shaking it off, he grips his weapon tight. This is so annoying. He does not have a single skeleton left to summon. And worse, he is flying totally blind against these attacks. Glaring up at the towering monster, he racks his brain for a way to survive. No time to think. The giant skeleton fires off another massive strike, forcing him to scramble out of the way. He stays on the move, barely escaping every single blast the monster throws at him. Inch by inch, he closes the distance, realizing he can actually weave through the attacks, as long as he predicts where they will land. But there is a huge problem. Dodging takes all his focus, leaving absolutely 0 window to strike back. He desperately needs to find a blind spot right now. Suddenly, panic hits him. A massive bony hand snatches him right out of the air. The boss yanks him close, unleashing an ear-piercing roar straight into his face. Hyrule thinks he is completely done for. He watches helplessly as the monster charges up a deadly blast at point-blank range. Seriously, how many moves does this crazy boss have? But a smirk crosses his face. He has a hidden trick ready too. Without hesitation, he blasts the monster with his demonic curse skill. A system window pops up. The dark magic instantly slashes 13% of the creature's overall stats. Feeling the grip loosen, he breaks free and lunges straight at the enemy. He was just worrying about how to find an opening. But this giant skeleton practically left itself wide open. Focusing all his strength, he winds up a devastating punch. Smash! His fist connects right in the center of the monster's face. A massive shockwave explodes outward and the heavy golden bones shatter into countless pieces. Hirkin gets insanely hyped as the giant creature crumbles and fades into dust. Seconds later, the system floods his vision with alerts. He has successfully crushed the boss, scoring a massive mountain of experience points. Not only that, he bags a fortune in gold coins, unlocks the Skeleton Slayer title, and hits the next level. Deactivating his combat stance, he lets out a huge sigh of relief. That was way too close. If the fight had dragged on for even 10 more minutes, he definitely would have died. Opening his character window, he checks his growth. He is now sitting at level 36, carrying 9 distinct titles. His base power is at 109 strength, 35 stamina, 101 intelligence, and 141 mana. Hitting level 36 feels amazing, but a dark thought creeps in. The game is only going to get harder from now on. Sure, 141 mana is pretty good for someone who barely put any points into it, but he knows it is nowhere near enough. Up until now, he has been surviving purely off raw level ups and bonus stats from titles. Now that his skill tree is expanding, his energy pool drains way too fast. He only pumped his strength stat to support his undead army. But what good is that if he cannot even keep his warriors on the field? He drops his head in defeat. He has already squeezed out every possible mana boost from titles. He desperately needs better gear right now, but his wallet is completely empty. Suddenly, a bright smile flashes across his face. Who cares? Why stress over it now? Walking away with a bounce in his step, he decides to just send the raw combat footage over to his editor, Romani. For now, his only goal is grinding to level 40. And after that, a massive, delicious bowl of beef ramen is definitely on the menu. Later on, Romani sits at her desk, booting up the fresh recording he just sent from the deep monster forest dungeon. Halfway through, she slams the pause button. Taking a deep breath, she violently punches her innocent teddy bear. Anger boils over as she unleashes a flurry of punches on the plushie. Is this guy completely out of his mind? She screams. But in the blink of an eye, her rage vanishes. Her eyes sparkle with pure excitement. She literally jumps around her room, screaming in joy. Harkin just shredded a massively overpowered boss without taking a single scratch. And he pulled off that flawless run completely blind, proving his pure gaming genius. Dropping back into her computer chair, she lets out a heavy sigh of relief. The gameplay is so perfect, she barely has to touch the editing software. The final cut will be ready in no time. Now comes the hardest part. What should she name this epic upload? Brainstorming, something super catchy. A brilliant spark hits her. With a huge grin, she locks in the perfect title, The Solo Emperor. Meanwhile, back inside the virtual world, Hirkin strolls into the local Adventurers Association over at Banks Castle. Walking straight up to Ahembry, he proudly announces his return. He is back and way stronger, just like the old man wanted. The NPC squints at him, totally confused as to why the hero is covered in dirt and looking like a complete street beggar. Hirkin just bursts out laughing. He waves off the question and tells the NPC to just hand over the loot already. Nodding with a smile, the NPC prepares to deliver the promised reward. A system prompt pops up confirming our guy just cleared Ahembry's Teachings Part 2. His reward? The Osteology Skill Book. He is totally blown away knowing this is a super rare Necromancer ability you cannot even buy on the market. This bad boy boosts all summoned skeletons' stats by 5%, cuts down the mana needed to summon, and keep them active by 10%. Plus, it lets him summon an extra bone warrior. But honestly, what he is hyping over the most is that sweet mana reduction. He starts bowing and thanking the NPC like a madman. Ahembry then flashes the corrupted tracker ring, telling Hirkin he needs to use that corrupted stone he brought to unlock its full potential. This ring is a one-of-a-kind artifact in game history, giving a 2-point boost to class-specific stats, and slamming an extra 9 points into all attributes. And if you pair it with the corrupted tracker necklace, boom, 21 more points to everything. Hirkin is practically foaming at the mouth with joy. He knows this legendary ring is only handed out to the first players, who actually finish the main storyline. He leaps forward to snatch it, pouring out thank yous, but Ahembry just snaps his hand shut and smirks. The old man says he is having second thoughts about just giving it away, turning his back and leaving our hero completely dumbfounded. Suddenly, Ahembry spins around laughing like a maniac, telling him if he wants the ring so bad he is going to have to fight for it. Hirkin just grins and yells, "You are on." Without missing a beat, he triggers his inventory slot, suits up in his battle armor, and charges headfirst at the NPC. Fast forward a bit outside the Scavengers Association, Hirkin finally has the ring in his hand. But man, he is completely drained, wondering what the heck is wrong with that crazy old geezer. He swears he would have totally wrecked him if he wasn't an NPC. Still, a win is a win. He got the loot, and the next quest Ahembry had mentioned losing contact with an undercover agent named Miggy, hinting that our guy should head over to Suryu Castle to check it out. Remembering the objective, Hurricane decides to let the old man's crazy tests slide for now, but he is well aware that the Suryu Castle zone is crawling with high-level mobs, so he better grind some levels on the way there. Just then, his smartwatch lights up with frantic messages from Romani. She says she just dropped the golden skeleton video on YouTube, and he seriously needs to look at it right now. He taps the link and his jaw drops. The video is already sitting at over 2 million views. The comment section is exploding, begging for more content. And the crazy part, fans are throwing massive donations at the channel. He is completely shell-shocked, wondering what on earth is happening. He collapses onto the dirt, completely stunned, and starts counting the zeros piling up in his bank account. Almost instantly, his mind drifts to food. Tomahawk steaks, juicy ribeyes, filet mignon top sirloin. Oh man, the feast he is going to have. Drool starts pooling in his mouth, realizing he can finally eat whatever fancy meal he wants. He is trying to wrap his head around this massive jackpot. He knew the video would do well, but this is absolute insanity. Just as he is thinking about logging off, his watch goes crazy with another notification. It is a massive donation alert attached to a message from someone, claiming they have been trying to reach him everywhere. The sender turns out to be the head recruiter for the Thunder Hunters Guild, explaining they tried messaging him multiple times with zero luck, so they resorted to dropping a comment here. The guy says the Thunder Hunters want to officially bring him on board, and begs for just a few minutes of his time to talk terms. Hyrekane's blood boils instantly. He knows damn well that the Thunder Hunters is run by Choi Seol-yeon, the exact same woman who completely ruined his life and kicked him out of the game in his past life. He suddenly gets flashbacks to how relentlessly annoying they were back then, and it looks like they have not changed one bit. Furious, he flips off the screen, swearing he would rather die than ever join the Thunder Hunters. But as the anger fades a little, a weird sense of déjà vu hits him. He remembers being this exact same kind of angry in his past life, venting about how insanely annoying this was. Back then, he couldn't figure out why Choi Seol-yeon wouldn't take no for an answer after being rejected over and over, especially since she was already running her own crew. One of his old buddies had told him he was incredibly lucky, pointing out that the Thunder Hunters were a top 30 powerhouse, backed by a guild leader with crazy rich family money. They hyped him up, saying if he signed with them, he would easily be pulling in a 6-figure salary. Another friend chimed in saying it made total sense why they wanted Hyreken so bad. The guy grinned, hyping up our hero's insane gaming skills, mentioning that in every single raid video their guild posted, the entire comment section was only talking about Hyreken. He wrapped it up by saying straight up, Hyreken was just way too talented to be stuck with them. Back then, Hyreken just took a deep breath, telling them to cut the crap. He made it crystal clear he didn't care about a 6-figure paycheck because he wanted nothing to do with the Thunder Hunters. He believed the big bucks would roll in once their own guild climbed to the top. He genuinely loved playing with his current squad. His friend just forced a little laugh and agreed with him. Snapping back to the present, the memory just makes him even more pissed off. But he reminds himself those guys don't have the chance to stab him in the back this time. He slaps his cheeks to snap out of it and gets back into focus. But there is no time to celebrate his sudden wealth. He has a lot of work ahead, so he tosses out the skeleton pieces. Once his bony minions appear, he makes sure they know that he did all the heavy lifting during the Golden Skeleton raid, and they were completely useless. He tells them it is time to train again so they can move faster on the battlefield, and never repeat their past mistakes. Then he asks if they are ready for the grind. Suddenly, he sees the faces of his old friends on his summons, but quickly shakes off the illusion, bringing a relieved smile to his face. Promising himself that things will be different this time, he pushes his squad to become the very best and announces their next stop is Suryu Castle. He asks if they should train on the road. The skeletons nod eagerly. With a grin, Harken pulls out his weapon and announces, their training is going to be simple. They will sprint the entire way, and anyone who falls behind gets a beating. Terrified of his threat, the bony crew instantly dashes forward at top speed, racing straight toward the castle. Somewhere else, Syl stands quietly over a pile of dead monsters. A mage walks up and asks what is on her mind. The mage named Hatch from the Thunder Hunters Guild reminds her boss that the big meeting is about to start. Syl leaps down from her spot and immediately demands an update on the Corrupted Count mission. Hatch admits they have no progress at all and they still cannot find a single clue for the next quest. Syl boils with anger, furious that they actually let the Hydra Guild snatch the main quest right from under their noses. Hatch tries to calm her down, hoping they will find a lead at the upcoming meeting with all 30 top guild leaders. But Syl snaps back, insisting that sitting down with those losers will be a complete waste of time. Still, Hatch warns her guildmaster to be careful as she storms off. Alright guys, let us do a quick recap of the recent chapters. To get you caught up, our main character had a massive viral hit on WeTube, bringing in a ton of cash overnight. He almost lost his grip on reality, but remembering the very person who ruined his life changed everything. It sparked his thirst for revenge, once again pushing him to walk the dark path of a hungry beast. His very first move was visiting the shady loan shark who held his debts. The moment he walked in, He slammed a heavy bag of cash on the table, declaring he was paying off every single cent, principal and interest included, all in cash. The loan shark was completely stunned. After handing over the stacks, Jihan, his real-life name, casually asked if they were finally even. After that, our hero went shopping for some rare skill books, putting a huge smile on his face. But the moment he logged back into the game, reality hit him. His bank account was sitting at zero. Standing among his bony crew, Harkin sighed heavily. He thought he was prepared for this, but seeing that empty balance still stung. He quickly shook off the sad feeling to focus on his new skills. Without wasting a single second, he absorbed the books. A system screen popped up, telling him he unlocked the skin grafting skill. It is an F-rank passive ability that boosts his defense by binding dead monster parts to his own body. If the shield takes too much damage, he just has to replace the parts. Eager to try it out, he activated the skill. The system asked if he wanted to consume the horns of a skeleton warrior. He hit yes, and a new message confirmed he had absorbed the essence of a skeleton warrior, giving him a solid 5 defense points. Curious to see how tough it was, he grabbed a sword and slashed his own arm. A wide grin spread across his face. He was completely unharmed, proving this new armor was way better than he ever imagined. Moving right along, he checked his next power. The system announced he had learned the Curse of Sloth, a dark spell that heavily slows down an enemy. However, if the target is massive, lightning fast, or incredibly strong, it will drain a ton of his mana and wear off much quicker. Harkan found this pretty interesting. He glanced sideways, spotted his clueless skeletons, and tested the curse on them. Seeing them move in slow motion, he knew this would be a game changer. Finally, he cracked open his last book. The screen flashed, revealing he had mastered the golem summoning skill. Harkin smirked, knowing this was one of the rarest powers out there. The skill he had been dying to use. He fired it up right then and there, and even his own skeleton crew jumped in shock. A huge grin spread across his face as he looked up at his massive clay giant. Finally, he yelled, totally hyped. A necromancer without a golem is just a guy with bones. Just looking at how huge this beast was, he knew it could tank hits, way better than any player. Smirking, he snapped his fingers and turned on his copy skill. He linked right up with his giant buddy, knowing this exact move would force the monster to mirror his every step. If he could mash up his own slick combat moves with that insane brute strength, it would be game over for everyone. But the giant just stood there like a rock, leaving the skeletons totally confused. Our guy started losing his mind, screaming internally. Why isn't this working? Is the game glitching? But then out of nowhere, the beast finally threw a punch, copying his exact move from seconds ago. Total silence. Everyone just stared. Harkin blinked, realizing the lag was actually way faster than his skeleton's reaction time. He burst out laughing. Oh man, what should we break first? Cut to a dark room somewhere else. A voice broke the heavy silence. Looks like everyone is here. Shall we get this started? It was Nurgle, the boss of the Ares Guild, thanking the heavy hitters for dropping everything to show up. Shev the Slayer, the head of the Red Bulls, let out a deep chuckle, scanning the room. Well, I definitely see some familiar mugs in here. Berg, leading the Big Smile Guild, just let out a heavy sigh, annoyed. Meanwhile, Sil from the Thunder Hunters Guild did not say a single word. Berg crossed his arms. You invited 29 of us and only 4 actually showed. Shev just laughed. Honestly, that is more than I expected. We are the top 30 guilds in the game after all. Nurgle nodded, admitting it was a super last-minute call. He explained that, usually, the heavy hitters and Warlord are constantly at each other's throats, making sit-downs like this almost impossible. But then his face turned dead serious. He dropped the bomb. The Hydra Guild found out who the corrupted count really is, and they are launching the final boss raid in exactly 1 month. Shev cracked up. That is crazy. Nobody else was even close to finding a clue. If the rumors were real, Hydra had pulled off a massive flex. Bam! A fist smashed into the table, cutting off the laughs. Berg was seeing red. He screamed that if Hydra took down the corrupted count, it was game over for everyone else. If they steal this kill, they are going to hog every single main story quest going forward. The sponsors, the ad money, all the crazy video content. Sil shot him a cold glare. Shut it. A heavy aura exploded from her body. If you are too scared to handle this, then sit in the corner and stop whining. Berg lost it. In a flash, he popped out his deadly claws. You want to go right now? Shev threw his hands up. Whoa, chill out, we are not here to kill each other. Nurgle backed up the blonde player, warning them that a bloodbath in this room would just hand Hydra a free win. Nurgle leaned in, his voice tight. Listen, this is exactly why I called you. We need an anti-Hydra squad. He laid down the rules. The 4 guilds in the room would hold off on fighting each other until the corrupted count was dead, and they would share every single piece of intel. Anyone got a problem with that? Shev sighed. I hate teaming up, honestly. But right now we have 0 options. Berg growled, completely agreeing that if Hydra wins, they are all dead meat. Nurgle wrapped things up, but Sil just sat there in stone-cold silence. You could tell she hated every second of this. Fast forward to the real world. Water splashed down in a hot shower. It was Syl. She punched the wall, feeling totally humiliated. The fact that her top-tier guild could not even take down a Chapter 1 boss without holding hands with rivals, it made her sick, but she forced herself to swallow her pride. If Hydra grabbed that boss kill first, her guild was toast. For the time being, she knew they had to play nice and wait for the perfect moment to strike. Grabbing her phone, she dialed her right-hand man. Listen up. Tell everyone in the guild to stalk Hydra like a hawk. Any weird moves, I want to know immediately. That boss is ours, no matter what it takes. Back inside the game, over at the Tsuru Castle Adventurers Hub, Harkin was staring wide-eyed at an NPC. Wait, what are you talking about? The guy behind the desk sighed. I already told you. You need to head out to the Babaru Forest. He explained that one of their top agents, Miggy, vanished without a trace out there. It was now on our guy to dig up some clues. Harkin's jaw dropped. Are you crazy? That whole forest is crawling with level 70 monsters. It is a total death trap. He knew he would get wiped out in 2 seconds if he walked in there right now. The NPC just shook his head. Look, that is exactly why I gave this job to you. You are the great Ahimbre's student, right? The guy leaned in, turning deadly serious. If you back out now, you will be stripped of your corruption tracker title. That threat hit him like a truck. A few minutes later, Harkin slumped down by a fountain outside holding his head. He did the math and realized he was utterly screwed. He pulled up his floating menu. The screen flashed, find Agent Miggy, who was tracking down the corrupted stones. Pushing through this nightmare would score him 500 gold pieces and a bunch of mystery loot. But the fail state, losing his special tracker title forever. And he was on a hard timer. 29 days, 9 hours, and 33 minutes left. Harkin wanted to punch a wall. If that title vanished, he would be permanently locked out of the main story questline. Pure panic set in. He realized his habit of blindly clicking accept on every crazy high-level mission had finally come back to bite him hard. Normally a player, his level could not even survive those, but he had somehow faked it and kept pushing forward. Now his dumb luck had trapped him into a nightmare quest designed for players at level 60 or way higher. He's totally stuck at a crossroads, racking his brain. Giving up on the main quest just isn't an option, but stepping foot in Bover Forest is a literal death wish. Right then he catches some chatter nearby. A random player asking a mage if she thinks the Hydra Guild can actually pull off the main quest. He's convinced. A win would crown them the undisputed kings of the game. The mage points out that the rest of the top 30 guilds haven't even triggered it yet. The guy then wonders out loud. What happens to all the other quests? Once the corrupted count bites the dust, a chill runs right down Harkin's spine, but a sly grin quickly spreads across his face. He checks his watch, realizing maybe he doesn't have to risk his neck in Bover Forest after all. Cut to a massive, gloomy castle in the distance. A scout is keeping watch, reporting back that it's dead quiet. He sighs, glad this stakeout is finally wrapping up, because staring at a stone wall for hours on end is driving him absolutely bonkers. He nudges his buddy for backup but gets nothing but crickets. He calls out, trying to get the attention of Nadal, the 8th in command of Hydra. The scout is itching to know what kind of loot drops from the boss, and if this is their ticket to being the #1 guild. Nadal shuts him down fast, telling him to stop counting his chickens. The mission isn't over. Their job is to keep this castle under strict surveillance, totally off the radar. He lectures the guy, saying they can't afford a single slip-up or leak, preaching about how real pros keep their cool. But out of nowhere, some random guy comes, sprinting up yelling that he finally found Natal. Natal absolutely loses it, demanding to know what the heck is happening. The newcomer, it's Kim, the rank 3 powerhouse from the Red Bull Guild. He flashes a cocky smile, saying it's been a minute. Natal, literally shaking with anger, snaps at him, demanding to know why a Red Bull is snooping around here. Kim plays dumb, claiming he just came to farm the high-level boss on the mountain. He tilts his head, asking if Hydra isn't here to do the exact same thing. Natal shoots a panicked glare at his scout. They absolutely cannot blow their cover, and forces a nod, insisting that yeah, that's exactly why they're here. Kim steps right up to his face, teasing him about looking like he desperately needs a bathroom break. That pushes Natal right over the edge, and he screams that he's perfectly fine. Kim just turns around, tossing a lazy goodbye over his shoulder, and tells Natal to go take care of his business. Natal practically blows a gasket, screaming at the top of his lungs that he doesn't need to go. Kim casually strolls off as Natal continues to yell like a maniac in the background. Once he's a safe distance away, Kim taps his smartwatch, patching through to his team. He confirms that Hydra's number 8 is on site, meaning their tip was completely legit. Back at base, Shev and Yell are soaking in every word. The boss is honestly blown away that some anonymous tip about the corrupted count was actually spot on. Yell admits she was 99% sure they were being trolled, but they sent Kim anyway, just to be safe. She narrows her eyes, getting intel this massive this easily. It feels way too good to be true. She questions what the real motive is here. Shev shrugs it off, guessing it's probably just a salty Hydra member. trying to stab their own guild in the back. Kim chimes in over the comms, reminding them that beggars can't be choosers, especially since Hydra was literally about to sweep the board and leave them with absolutely nothing. He cracks his knuckles, asking if he should just start a brawl right now to stall for time. Yell sharply tells him to stand down and retreat. If that's truly the Count's hideout, Hydra's entire heavy-hitting army is lurking nearby and Red Bull can't afford to lose their star player. Kim scoffs, teasing that she worries too much, since the guild isn't going to just crumble without him. But mid-sentence, a blurry figure lunges at him, followed by an earth-shattering explosion. Shev and Yell instantly panic, screaming his name through the static. The smoke slowly clears, revealing Kim with a razor-sharp blade pressed right against his throat. He smirks, realizing they definitely weren't the only ones to get that anonymous tip. He bursts out laughing, loudly announcing that the Princess of the Thunder Hunters has joined the party. She doesn't miss a beat, fiercely ordering Kim to spill every single thing he knows or she's sending him straight to the respawn screen. This fierce warrior is the Thunder Princess herself, Hawi, the pride of the Thunder Hunters. Cut back to our hero, where a massive angry bear roars as Hyrcan's golem readies for a showdown. The beast charges in without hesitation, throwing heavy strikes that the golem easily blocks like a brick wall. Waiting for the perfect opening, the golem finally strikes back, as Hyrcan's undead army just chills on the sidelines. The brawl is intense, but the skeleton crew is practically treating it like a movie night, munching on imaginary popcorn. Hyrcan, though, is stressing out. He keeps refreshing his interface, frustrated by the dead silence. He fired off those anonymous messages ages ago. His inbox should be blowing up by now. He knows the only way out of this mess, without setting foot in Bover Forest, is to trigger a forced quest completion. In the world of Warlord, the main storyline is broken down into massive chapters. Right now, they're sitting squarely in Chapter 1, The Corrupted Count. And the moment that Count takes his final breath, the chapter ends and every single related side quest instantly auto-completes. He lets out a heavy sigh. Even if he wanted to solo the boss, he'd never clear it before the clock ran out. So his master plan is to let someone else do the dirty work while he coasts into Chapter 2. Losing his patience, he screams out that he doesn't care who gets it done. The guy just wants someone else to take down the corrupted Count. That is exactly why he is leaking the boss's location to a bunch of different guilds, keeping Choi Sulian completely in the dark. But why is nobody biting the bait? Right as he starts wondering, something flashes on his screen. A system alert pops up. The Hydra Guild just went live. Back in the game, his poor golem is getting absolutely trashed, with both arms snapped off. The massive bear rears up for a finishing strike, but Hyrcan swoops in out of nowhere, slamming a brutal punch right into the beast's skull. "Shut up and sit down," he snaps. He makes it crystal clear to the monster that he has a stream to catch, so he needs absolute silence. Hyrcan kicks back to watch the broadcast, where an announcer welcomes the massive audience. The host proudly reveals that Hydra is the very first guild to uncover the corrupted Count's true identity, and they are officially gearing up for a raid. Hyrcan crosses his fingers, hoping they launch the attack sometime this month. The hunt begins in exactly 3 days, the host declares, catching our guy totally off guard. The screen goes black. "Well, that was fast," he mutters, though he isn't totally shocked. Everything is falling right into place. A wicked, maniacal laugh escapes him. This is just too perfect. Without missing a beat, he commands his battered golem to get back in the ring with the bear. As the brawl kicks off again, he figures Hydra must have panicked when he leaked the intel to their rivals. Still, he knows that with a powerhouse like Hydra on the job, he can just sit back and relax. They are leagues ahead of everyone else when it comes to the main storyline, and their roster is packed with heavy hitters. Once they clear this boss, his biggest headache disappears forever. In just 3 short days, his easy streak begins. Fast forward 72 hours and it is an absolute bloodbath. Players are dropping like flies. The system flashes a grim alert: the entire Hydra Guild has been wiped out. Mission failed. Hyrcan just stares at the screen, totally paralyzed with shock. He violently slams his phone into the dirt. "Are you freaking kidding me?" he screams at the top of his lungs. "If you idiots were going to rush in this early, you could have at least brought a solid plan. Why even bother showing up if you're just going to wipe in under an hour?" he groans, realizing he gave them way too much credit. Now he desperately needs a plan B. Right on cue, a notification pops up. The Red Bulls Guild is broadcasting live. He snatches his phone off the ground and realizes this is the exact same guild run by Shev the Slayer. Cutting to the game, the mighty Shev himself looks out at the resetting battlefield. Looks like Hydra totally blew it. He smirks. He turns to his men, asking if they caught the slaughter on camera. He reminds his crew that the corrupted Count is no joke, an absolute monster capable of butchering a top-tier guild like Hydra. Worse yet, they have 0 backup supplies for this run. The odds are stacked heavily against them and victory looks incredibly slim. But Shev doesn't care. He drives his massive sword deep into the earth, roaring to the crowd that the Red Bulls are officially taking on the beast. His warriors instantly erupt into wild cheers, their blood pumping for the ultimate showdown. Glued to the screen, Jaehyun honestly doubts if the Red Bulls are truly ready to face the corrupted Count. They are definitely a strong crew, but against a boss like this, it is just not enough firepower. But then Shev drops a massive bombshell. He announces they aren't fighting alone, they are teaming up with the Master of the Thunder Hunters. The Queen of Thunder herself. Still Jaehyun's jaw hits the floor. Wait, that is Choi Sulian. Flashing back to earlier at the Red Bulls camp, Shev is sitting across from Sil, clearly amused. He mentions how crazy it is that the Queen of Thunder actually reached out first. Are you here to start a war? He asks. Sil just brushes it off. Relax. For now we are playing on the same team. Shev shoots a glance at Kim, pointing out that one of his guys recently took a serious beating from her crew. Sil barely blinks. Oh, that. Just our friendly little way of saying hello. Standing behind her, Hui playfully sticks her tongue out at Kim, mocking him right to his face. Shev drops the smile and cuts straight to business. Word on the street is she has the dirt on the corrupted Count. Shev tries to play dumb but Sil rolls her eyes. She is not here to play games. She already knows for a fact that a bunch of the top 30 guilds just got their hands on the boss's location. And honestly, she adds for a guy like him, who had zero clue where to look yesterday to suddenly start tracking the Count today. Even a total idiot could connect the dots. Shev bursts into laughter, throwing his hands up. Okay, you caught me, he admits, though he still has no idea who leaked the intel. Sil lets out a dark, mocking chuckle. Do you honestly believe Hydra can pull this off? She asks. Shev shrugs, saying it is a toss-up. Sil leans in. They are going to fail hard. She knows Hydra just bumped up their schedule to steal the spotlight. But this is the very first major boss of the game, so there is no way it goes down that easy. The smart move is to let the eager idiots die first while everyone else studies the monster's attack patterns. Shev narrows his eyes. You didn't march in here just to gossip about Hydra. What do you really want? A smirk creeps across Sil's face. Without warning, she slams her heavy sword right into the table. The crash makes even the Red Bull's leader jump, while Kim instantly reaches for his weapon, bracing for a fight. Shev raises a hand, signaling his guy to stand down. Sil stares him dead in the eye. Let's team up for the corrupted Count, she offers. And as a bonus, I will even let you take the final hit. Shev is totally caught off guard. He thought she was just full of hot air. But now right in the middle of the raid against the corrupted Count, he sees that she actually backs it up. Watching her tear through the raid monsters with ease, he realizes she is the real deal. But the corrupted Count is still an absolute nightmare. The boss just chuckles darkly. He looks down at them and sneers that they are doing pretty well for a bunch of trash. This guy is the real deal, the main quest target, and the final boss of Chapter 1. He orders his monsters to attack without stopping, vowing to completely break their spirits. The battlefield explodes as the Red Bulls and Thunder Hunters team up to take down the Count. But as the bloody fight drags on, Shev can tell his people are hitting their limit. Sil mutters that the monsters are endless. Stepping up to the front lines, Shev lets out a roar, unleashing his massive power. He yells to the Queen of Thunder, telling her he will open a path. He blasts forward with a heavy strike and she charges in right by his side. Shev's massive blow barrels toward the Count with the Queen of Thunder riding the momentum. Furious, the boss lashes out in a counterattack, screaming at them for daring to challenge him. Sil pushes herself to the absolute limit, desperately dodging a storm of blows from the Count. Finally, she leaps high into the air with total confidence and readies her finishing move. Bam! She takes a massive unexpected hit. Stunned and hurt, she looks around totally lost as to where that strike came from. The sneaky Count had actually hidden his attacks underground, sending them shooting up right at her blind spot, catching her right in the middle of her jump. Panicking, Shev screams her name to see if she is okay. Sil just takes a deep breath, smirks, and fires back with a rapid barrage of attacks. She breaks out of the trap and charges at the boss, her eyes burning with pure confidence. Smash! Her heavy blow connects perfectly with the boss. Shev lets out a huge sigh of relief, muttering that this girl is way scarier than he thought. Standing over the Count's defeated body, Sil watches the glowing system screen pop up. It officially confirms that the Red Bulls and Thunder Hunters have taken down the boss. Meanwhile, our main guy is totally shocked when he hears that Chae Yan actually got the kill for Chapter 1. Frustrated, he slams his phone onto the floor and grumbles that whatever it is, fine. The boss just needed to die and it did not really matter who did the dirty work. He smirks, hoping Sil enjoys her little moment of fame, because that boss is the last one she will ever get. After all, the final winner of this game is going to be him. A little later, deep in the Balkus Mountains dungeon, our guy is standing with his summoned monsters. He reminds himself of who he really is. His real name is Jae-hun, but right now inside this game he goes by Herkin. He is a warlord-class player who magically reincarnated. His ultimate goal, become the absolute strongest and crush the backstabbers who ruined his life. While lost in his dramatic thoughts, a massive rumble suddenly shakes the ground. Before he can even react, a huge stampede of angry wild boars is barreling right at him. He sprints for his life to avoid getting flattened. Rewind a few hours. Hurricane reached the entrance of the Bulkus Mountains only to find a giant invisible wall blocking the area. Little Bone pokes the barrier, completely confused. Hurricane explains that this zone stays locked until someone triggers a specific condition. Since that had not happened yet, nobody could go in, but he knew a little secret. The Bulkus Mountains are the core area for Chapter 2. The moment Chapter 1's main quest is cleared, these gates swing wide open automatically. Walking right through the fading barrier, a system alert pops up. It welcomes him to the area and hands him a shiny new title for being the very first player to step foot inside. This bumps up all his core stats by 2 and his class stats by 1. Pumped up, he grins, knowing his plan worked perfectly. Nobody else was even close yet. He calls out his crew, yelling that it is finally his time to shine. But his hype dies instantly when he bumps into a nasty mob of monsters. They are huge wild boars. Level 60 aggressive beasts that hunt in giant packs. Hurricane, sitting at a measly level 41, starts sweating bullets at the sight. Snapping back to now, those exact boars are out for blood. He sprints away in sheer panic, cursing his awful luck. Why did he have to spawn right on top of them? He also realizes that other players have definitely noticed the map is open by now. He cannot afford to waste any more time running. Even though the level gap is insane, he has no choice but to fight. He orders his skeletons to gear up and rush the giant pigs. But sadly, these boars are absolute tanks. They crush his minions without even breaking a sweat, backing away. Hurricane is shocked that his guys got one-shotted. The screen coldly states his skeleton warrior was destroyed from massive damage. Suddenly, Hurricane cracks a huge grin. Gotcha. That was just bait, he laughs. He fires off his sloth curse right at the beastly horde. Stepping up, he mocks them, saying they are basically glued to the floor now. Drawing his sword, he rushes in, screaming that it is payback time for his bony friends, until his foot hits a random banana peel. Smack, he faceplants right at the monster's hooves, and to make it even worse, a second peel just flops right onto his head. Hurricane completely loses it, screaming to know what the heck just happened and who tossed that random banana peel. High up in the branches, a monkey is just laughing its head off. It's a level 50 armored monkey, a notorious troll that loves messing with players. Furious, Hurricane snaps to his feet and yells at the monkey to stay right there because he's about to wreck it. But right then, a system alert pops up. His sloth curse has officially worn off. He spins around, totally panicking, realizing he's in massive trouble. Suddenly, a blinding flash shoots past him, absolutely obliterating the wild boar's head. Hurricane flinches, totally stunned, trying to process the crazy save. Hidden up in the trees, a sniper with a crossbow is letting loose, firing off a massive volley of arrows that instantly tears through the pack of boars like wet paper. Hurricane, completely mind-blown by how easily they got wiped, can't believe they were one-shotted. The mysterious lifesaver jumps down, walking over, and checks to see if our guy took any damage. Hurricane turns to see an old man and his jaw drops as he realizes who this might actually be. Cut to Siryu Castle, where a couple of adventurers are shocked by what they spot up ahead. One of them points out a knight chilling against the wall, asking if that's seriously the White Mamba armor set. The other guy nods, wondering out loud if they're actually looking at a top-tier ranker. Looking super annoyed, the knight pushes up his glasses and asks his buddy if they've tracked down the snitch yet. A mage steps out of the shadows, shaking his head, saying that every single guild is completely clueless about the leaker. He shrugs, adding that it totally makes sense. I mean, we're talking about some mystery player who actually knew the corrupted count's true identity and just dropped that massive intel for free. Tracking a ghost like that is nearly impossible. The knight then demands info on the Haho masked player, asking if there's any new dirt. The mage sighs, saying the guy is just uploading normal hunting clips, mostly dealing with giant bears right now. The knight starts boiling with rage, but the mage keeps talking, pointing out that there is zero chance a total noob who just entered the main questline could be pulling these crazy strings. He then asks where the knight is heading for his next support gig. The knight mutters that he's linking up with the Sweepers Guild. Groaning in frustration, the mage complains that it sounds like they're about to be slammed with work again. The knight tells him to chill, saying he'll carry the support run, and orders his friend to put all his focus into hunting down that leaker. He clenches his fist, swearing that whoever this shadow player is, he's going to make them bleed for ruining the delicate balance of their entire world. A bit later, inside a rundown cabin up in the Bulkus Mountains, the badass grandpa who saved our guy asks if he's seriously a student of the legendary mage A. Himbri, trying to play it cool. Hurricane confirms it while internally screaming about his insane luck. He never expected to bump into Maong right off the bat, the absolute core NPC for the Chapter 2 questline. The old man chuckles, saying it's a good thing he happened to be patrolling and found him before things got ugly. Hurricane knows perfectly well that Maong is an absolute beast, who used to be the royal prince's personal swordmaster until some tragic drama got him kicked out. Now he rusted as the guard captain, defending the Bulkus Mountains. That's exactly why Hurricane knew this was the one guy he absolutely had to track down in Chapter 2, making this random encounter a massive win. Malum then ruins the vibe, telling our boy to pack up and go home. Confused, Hyrcan asks what he means. The veteran explains that he has no clue why Hyrcan came all the way out here, but this zone is an absolute death trap filled with monsters. He strongly warns him to turn back before he ends up as Monster Chow. But Hyrcan just smirks, dropping the bomb that the corrupted Count is already dead. He thinks to himself that there's zero reason to let this old-timer play hard to get, especially since he already knows the cheat codes to trigger the Chapter 2 quests. Hyrcan pushes further, saying that even with the Count gone, those corrupted freaks are still roaming around. He claims he was tracking their toxic source, and it led him straight here, asking if the veteran has any clues. Maung rubs his chin, admitting he has a solid theory, but totally lacks the proof, so he asks if our hero is up for a little scouting mission. Just like that, the system chimes in. Hyrcan unlocks the super rare title of First to Contact a Bulka's Watchman plus the Initiator title, handing him a sweet bonus of 14 stat points. Hyrcan gets totally hyped about bagging 2 rare achievements so easily, and instantly tells the old man he's fully on board. Maung tells the kid to cool his jets first, then sends him out to scout the local monster population. Boom, a new quest pops up, the Bulka's Watchman's request. Now, Hyrcan needs to grind out 50 monster kills in the mountains. The payout, 500 gold coins and a huge trust boost with Maung. Not wasting a single second, Hyrcan storms out of the cabin totally hyped about the setup. He was already planning to grind for levels anyway, so this is a double win. He figures he'll avoid the heavyweight mobs, like those insane boars and warrior bears for now, and stick to the low-tier trash mobs. But then a thought hits him. Remembering that smug armored monkey laughing at him earlier, he grins. That troll is going to be his first victim, and he starts planning exactly how he'll make it suffer. Meanwhile, deep in the mountain dungeon, some random player hilariously wipes out on a banana peel. Then another guy eats dirt. The monkeys are definitely having a field day. The armored monkey chuckles at the players, but as a random player strolls past the beast instantly, locks onto its new target. It crouches to pounce, but Hyrcan warps right behind it and mutters that he finally tracked it down. The monkey spins around in a panic. Our guy flashes a twisted grin and vows to wipe it out. Zero hesitation, he grips his blade and rushes the monster. But the armored ape is too quick, effortlessly sidestepping every single strike. Hyrcan throws everything he has at it, but the monkey slips away every time. Then the beast hits the gas and bolts into the woods. Hyrcan sprints after it, absolutely furious. As he hunts the creature down, he curses how insanely annoying this thing is. Its speed is wild, and the thick trees keep blocking his swings, so he halts on a sturdy branch, winds up and hurls his sword straight at the ape. The monster spots the flying blade and freaks out. The weapon crashes down, but it strikes the dirt right next to it, giving the beast a massive jump scare. The creature immediately starts mocking him, but Hyrcan just smirks. That flying sword, just a little decoy. Right on cue, his massive golem crashes in, delivering a brutal haymaker that obliterates the ground. Hyrcan watches the dust settle from a distance, and seconds later, a system prompt pops up. He just unlocked the exclusive title for being the very first player to hunt down and crush an armored monkey. Hyrcan smiles, thinking it is the perfect time to farm a whole lot more of these guys. Meanwhile, camera flashes light up the area. Shev the Slayer and Syl, the Queen of Thunder, are taking center stage. The crowd goes wild, cheering for the Red Bulls Guild, Red Bull himself and Syl from the Thunder Hunters. For officially clearing the Chapter 1 boss raid, a player reporter shoves a mic toward the Thunder Queen, asking for a quick quote. She flashes a modest smile, saying they got super lucky this run, but they will keep grinding to deliver amazing results moving forward. But the second the cameras cut away, her smile vanishes. Howie, trailing behind her, hypes her up as the absolute best. He admits he thought it was game over when that final monster wave hit, but then she swooped in solo and completely wrecked the corrupted Count. Syl brushes it off as pure luck, stressing that the Red Bulls made it all possible. Deep down, though, she knows they need a specific player to secure a flawless victory. Haho Mask. Looking annoyed, she tells Howie to contact Hatch. Howie loses it, yelling and demanding to know why the elite Queen of Thunder would ever need a scrub like him. Syl shoots him a deadpan look, making it crystal clear that there is a certain target they absolutely have to hunt down. Back to our guy, a loud shattering sound echoes. The system pops up his weapons. Durability just hit 0, completely destroying it. Hyrcan stares at the broken hilt, totally frustrated. He sighs, realizing it is time for a gear upgrade. The catch, he is broke, so his only real play here is to farm for gems. He knows they have incredibly low drop rates, but they are vital for crafting top-tier items. Take the Green Goblin gem, for instance. It gives a flat +1 to dexterity. A Werewolf gem that boosts your attack power by 2 whole points. Plus, they pack extra perks depending on the specific monster. He figures that the gems from these armored monkeys would be absolutely perfect for crafting new gear. With his mind made up, he calls out his summons and loudly declares, that they are going to wipe out every single armored monkey in sight. 9 brutal hours later, Hyrule looks dead inside. 0 gem drops. Staring at a massive mountain of defeated monkeys, he seriously questions the game's drop rates. Then, wearing a manic grin, he tells his crew they are doing just one more run. He is convinced the next one is the jackpot, but suddenly, a random voice calls out to him. A warrior decked in edgy dark armor walks up and assumes Hyrule is Haho Mask. Harkin tilts his head, wondering who this random guy interrupting his grind could possibly be. Looking a bit closer, he spots the crazy expensive full fire lizard armor set and a massive hero orc sword, which means this guy has to be at least level 70. Harkin guesses he might be one of those hardcore pro players. The armored dude introduces himself as Coyote. He then goes into a series of flashy, super awkward poses, freezing in a dramatic stance, and officially challenges our guy to a one-on-one duel. Hyrule just blinks, totally confused by this weirdo's behavior. Coyote smirks, mentioning he heard Haho Mask is blowing up on YouTube lately. So, his logic is that beating a famous player will make him famous too. Hyrule rolls his eyes, pegging him as just another desperate clout chaser. Not having it, he turns his back, mutters that he is super busy, and tells the guy to beat it. Coyote panics and shouts for him to wait. Annoyed, Hyrule grumbles about his terrible drop rates, and now he has to deal with this clown. Desperate Coyote screams that he will pay out a whopping 5,000 gold for a single match. Hearing that sweet number, Hyrule freezes. He immediately spins around, rushes over, and enthusiastically accepts the duel, warmly welcoming this new VIP customer. A few hours ago, Coyote was hyping himself up. In his own mind, he was this epic hero of justice. He seriously believed that with his mad skills, the spotlight would always be on him, no matter what game he was playing. But reality hit him hard, and Warlord. Nobody cared about him. All he ever heard was players talking about how awesome it was to watch Haho Mask. Every time he looked around, he was completely ignored. People were just buzzing, asking if anyone caught Haho Mask's latest video. It drove him crazy. Slamming his fist into the ground, he obsessed over his rival, screaming that this guy was stealing his thunder. They started the game on the exact same day, and Coyote knew his level was way higher. The guy didn't even have decent gear, so why was everyone so obsessed? Suddenly snapping out of his rage, he looked around, totally lost. He had just been running blind with anger, but as he peered through the trees, he spotted a player fighting off a pack of small monsters. Squinting closer, he gasped. It was Haho Mask. But wait, this zone was totally off limits. What was he doing hunting out here? Then a light bulb went off in Coyote's head. If he recorded himself crushing Haho Mask in a fight and posted it online, he could steal all that sweet fame. Jumping back to right now, Coyote strips off all his armor, keeping only his helmet. He glares at our hero, offering 5,000 gold if Harkin can beat him in a one-on-one duel. Harkin just stares in pure shock and yells, asking why the heck he is getting naked for a battle. Coyote smirks, claiming he wants to keep things totally fair. He points out that he heard Harkin's armor just shattered. Harkin flinches. That hits a nerve. He had no clue this random guy knew about that. Coyote stands tall, insisting he only wants a pure equal fight. He refuses to let haters say he won just because he had better items. That is exactly why he demands Harkin to bring his absolute best. Shaking his head, Harkin asks if this dude seriously expects to be treated as a real threat, while standing there half naked. But Coyote doesn't waste another second. He dashes forward, screaming to shut up and just throw hands. Harkin easily sidesteps the first punch, telling Coyote it is rude to interrupt. But Coyote ignores him, unleashing a wild combo of strikes. Harkin weaves through every single move, getting super frustrated. Coyote yells at him to actually fight back instead of just running away. Still dodging effortlessly, Harkin taunts him to make him. That pushes Coyote over the edge. Boiling with rage, he pops his booster skill and swings a massive punch. Harkin realizes too late that he cannot dodge. Bam! He takes the hit and goes flying. Groaning in the dirt, he quickly figures out that the guy just used a warrior booster, a quick skill that gives a sudden burst of crazy speed. Eyeing Coyote's glowing aura from afar, Harkin thinks to himself, the guy acts like a total clown, but his level is clearly higher. Trading raw punches is a trap. Then a sneaky plan forms in his mind. As Harkin dusts himself off, Coyote laughs, saying our hero finally looks ready to brawl. He dares Harkin to go wild, bragging that he will crush his best moves. Sprinting in again, he screams that the whole world will see he is way better than Haho Mask. He triggers his booster again, but Harkin kicks a huge cloud of dirt right into his eyes. Blinded and confused, Coyote leaves himself wide open. Harkin sweeps his legs, sending him crashing hard into the dirt. Looming over him, Harkin coldly states that raw stats mean nothing if you lack the actual skill to back them up. Boom! He lands a brutal kick straight to Coyote's face, then follows up with a fierce uppercut, blasting Coyote right into a heavy tree trunk. Shaking with pure anger, the guy calls Harkin a dirty coward, screaming that throwing dirt is not a real skill. Harkin just shrugs. In a real fight for survival, nobody cares about playing fair. Chuckling, Hyrcan tells Coyote he lost because he cared more about showing off his pride than actually securing the win. Then he activates his skin grafting skill using the armored monkey hide. The system flashes, showing his body surging with the monkey's heavy defensive stats. Coyote's face goes pale. He realizes instantly that if he takes a hit from that, it is instantly game over. Leaking a dark, terrifying aura, Hyrcan reminds the trembling player that he picked this fight, so he better be ready to pay the price. As Hyrcan lunges in for the kill, Coyote panics, screaming for him to stop. Tears streaming down his face, he begs to surrender. But Hyrcan is already moving too fast. A massive shockwave explodes outward. By pure luck, Hyrcan shifts his fist at the very last millisecond, smashing the ground right next to Coyote's ear. The giant tree and everything behind it are blown to pieces. Coyote shakes like a leaf, completely frozen by the terror, a feeling like he was actually about to die in real life. Hyrcan just laughs, telling him to cough up the 5,000 gold right now. After all, paying up is way better than getting smashed and locked out of the game for 2 whole days. So he pitches the idea of keeping things totally chill from here on out. Quixote rips off his helmet and yells. That Haho mask is an absolute legend. He keeps hyping up how insanely strong and awesome our guy is, which honestly creeps him out. He's standing there wondering what on earth is wrong with this dude. The blonde guy makes a huge dramatic scene, declaring that he, Quixote, totally takes the L. He forks over the 5,000 gold he promised, plus his own sword. Hyrcan stares down at the blade in his hands, realizing it is the hero orc sword. Drooling over the stats, he notes that this bad boy gives a massive boost of plus 66 to strength, plus 66 to vitality, and straight up ignores 9% of enemy armor. He does the math and figures it has to fetch at least 15,000 gold at the auction house. Still, he plays it cool. He looks up and asks why the blonde is just handing over such top-tier loot. Quixote flashes a grin and tells our guy to view it as a thank you gift. He opens up, admitting he was totally blinded by fame this whole time and slacked off instead of actually leveling up his own skills. He says Hyrcan was the exact wake-up call he needed. Throwing up a super cringy pose, he begs the protagonist to please take the sword, claiming Hyrcan is 100% worthy of being his sworn brother. Hyrcan just stands there speechless, totally weirded out by the whole display, trying to figure out if that is the actual reason he gave up the weapon. But then he thinks, sure, Quixote acts like a total goofball, but maybe there is a solid dude deep down. Yeah, right. He suddenly kicks the blonde to the dirt, mocking him and asking if he actually thought they were having a touching moment. He tells him to screw off and take a hike. Without missing a beat, he sicks his skeleton summons right on him. Cut to later, Quixote's face is completely puffed up, after taking an absolute beating. Even bruised up, he tries to introduce himself properly, stating his full name is Don Quixote, and promising to come back only when he is tough enough to call him brother, as Hyrcan just casually strolls away with his undead crew. Quixote keeps screaming in the background that he cannot wait for their epic reunion. Our guy just cracks a smile, muttering that at least the guy is out there genuinely enjoying the game, but then flipping the switch completely. He starts cackling like a total maniac while admiring his shiny new blade. He hypes himself up, saying that with this bad boy equipped, his days of grinding armor monkeys are finally over. He thinks to himself that he is more than ready to tackle the next quest line, but then stops dead in his tracks. With a totally straight face, he looks at his skeletons and asks if maybe, just maybe, they should farm exactly 100 more monkeys, just in case a super rare item drops this time around. His skeletons absolutely despise this idea and immediately start grabbing onto him, dragging him away to stop the madness. Fast forward to him, heading back and turning in his loot. NPC Ma Wong tallies it up: 950 armor monkeys, 104 fang wolves, and 76 venomous lizards. The NPC gives him major props, saying he absolutely crushed it out there. He notes that their whole investigation is moving along perfectly because of his hard work, but then he pauses, asking why our guy is making such a weird face. Hyrcan instantly blushes, stammering out an apology. He admits he was completely zoned out, daydreaming about blowing all of his hard-earned cash. Getting down to business, Wong stands up. He warns that the upcoming mission is going to be insanely risky. Tapping a spot on the map, he explains that a massive warrior bear has spawned right near the mountain peak. He hypes up the danger, saying these beasts are roughly 4 meters tall and rock heavy armor, just like human soldiers. He makes it super clear if our guy can track down exactly where these bears are scoring their gear, it will be a massive clue in hunting down the corrupted one. Hyrcan pushes back his chair, stands up, and plainly says, basically, Wong just wants him to beat them to a pulp and steal one of their weapons. The NPC looks worried, asking if he is seriously okay doing this solo, pointing out that even fully trained guards get wrecked in a one-on-one fight. He strongly hints that Hyrcan should party up with someone, but Hyrcan waves off the concern. He confidently states he will be perfectly fine and already has the ultimate strategy for taking down warrior bears. A short trip later, Hyrcan rolls up to the base of the mountain, looking around and figuring this is definitely the spawn zone. He calls out his skeleton crew. Practically vibrating with excitement, he declares it is officially shopping time. As he pops open the auction interface, a system prompt pops up letting him know he is finally unlocked to trade with other real players. Hyrcan already knows exactly what he wants. The absolute best gear for his current level is the skeleton snake armor set. Without hesitating, he snags the shoulder guards, and quickly follows up by buying the boots, gloves, and helmet to match. The system flashes green, showing a defense boost of 70 points, plus 34 to mana, and another solid 34 to strength. On top of that is mana drain. Gets a sweet 10% reduction now that the full set bonus is active. The receipt window pops up showing he just blew 37,196 gold. Hyrcan tries to play it cool but completely loses it, literally breakdancing on his head in the dirt, screaming that it feels insanely good to be rich. Riding the high, he decides to dump his leftover gold into buying every single skill book available for his level. Moments later, the system dings confirming his purchase of the tomes for Corrosive Ghost Blind, Muscle Modification, Fake Heart, Bone, Bomb, and Hardening. The grand total for his shopping spree rings up at 17,593 gold. Absolutely buzzing with power, Hyrcan admits he is technically still underleveled for a warrior bear, but with this crazy new loadout, he knows he is going to wreck it. Just then, one of his skeleton bros taps him on the shoulder. As he turns around to see what is up, he catches his summons glaring at him, deadpan, practically begging with their eyes. "Oh, where is our cut?" Hyrcan rubs his neck, admitting he completely forgot. He promises to dig up some shiny new gear for them, but a big red insufficient funds alert pops up. Panic instantly sets in. Is his wallet totally empty again? He turns back to his crew with an awkward laugh. "Yeah, looks like I am flat broke." The air instantly drops 10 degrees. His minions shoot him, killer stares making Hyrcan sweat bullets. Just as he waves his hands, swearing it was not on purpose, a pack of monsters sneaks up behind him. Without waiting for a command, his furious undead launch themselves at the beasts. Hyrcan cheers them on, yelling that maybe these guys will drop some cash. He wipes his brow, watching his squad absolutely wreck the wild boars. Talk about perfect timing to blow off some steam. Soon, the very last boar is tied up looking utterly miserable. Meanwhile, Boney licks his sword like a total psycho. Hyrcan claps his hands, telling them to wrap it up and finish the pig off. He promises to buy their gear on the road. Suddenly, bam, a massive blast wipes out the giant boar. Hyrcan snaps his head around to see who stole his kill. 3 flashy players step out of the shadows, barking at him. Who the heck does he think he is hunting on their turf without asking? They boast that this zone is property of the Apollo Guild. Hyrcan just stares at the loudmouths in front of him. Yep, just another pack of low-level bullies. The guys strike a pose. The first one calls himself Ajong, the next is Wangjong, and the last is Iljong. Together, they proudly announce themselves as the mighty Apollo Trio. Hyrcan chuckles, nodding like he cares. Then with zero hesitation, he blitzes forward and unleashes a brutal combo on all 3 of them. He stands over them, making it crystal clear they are nothing but annoying gnats. Turning his back, he sighs. Why does he keep acting like a magnet for weirdos lately? He mutters that he seriously needs to get his aura cleansed. He strolls off with his skeleton crew, complaining about wasted time. The 3 bullies are left groaning in the dirt, but Wangjong grits his teeth. Shaking from the pain, he cannot believe this random guy dared to mess with their guild. Oh, he is going to pay for this coughing. He taps his smartwatch and cries to his boss about the beating they just took. Cut to a fierce-looking guy petting a massive tiger. Listening to the report, his eyes narrow. Did this punk really attack his men? Even after hearing his legendary name, the terrified lackey nods fast. He swears that is exactly what Wangjong said. The guild boss snorts. He tosses a solid gold bar to the lackey, ordering a full manhunt. Bring that guy in whatever it takes. Nobody disrespects his name and lives. Meanwhile, completely clueless to the bounty on his head, Hyrcan takes in the breathtaking view. He has finally made it to the warrior bear spawn zone. Ready for action, he turns around to rally his undead squad, only to find them striking the most goofy dramatic poses ever. Hyrcan facepalms, yelling, "What the heck are you guys doing?" He passes out a quick round of smacks to their bony heads, telling them to snap out of it. It is boss time. They are hunting a warrior bear. This beast is level 70 with 3 deadly phases. They have to be on their absolute A-game. Taking this monster down means they will blow past the top 30 guilds in the main quest. He glares at them, zero room for screw-ups. The skeletons snap a crisp military salute. Message received. Just then, an earth-shattering roar echoes through the trees. Hyrcan takes a slow breath. Speak of the devil. A towering muscle-packed bear crashes into the clearing. Hyrcan taps his watch, and his combat armor flashes over his body. Smirking behind his mask, he vows to steal this main quest reward. all for himself. Elsewhere, in the snowy woods, a new guy steps into the Balkas Mountains. He really hopes that Haho Mask Player is still around here. He rushed all the way out here after seeing that viral armored monkey video. He sighs heavily, and literally starts banging his head against a thick tree. Why the heck did he get sent to the absolute middle of nowhere? He is a VIP, a top-tier player. But here he is, running errands to recruit some noob. Just as he screams at the sky, whining about how unfair his life is, a massive wild boar king charges right at his blind spot. He barely even flinches at the noise. Without breaking a sweat, he casually flicks his wrist, summoning a glowing magic circle. Boom! A massive pillar of hellfire erupts, instantly turning the giant beast into extra crispy bacon. Meet Ballista Hatch from the Thunder Hunters Guild. He is the number 5 mage in all of Warlord, and he is losing his patience, waiting for this Haho Mask guy. Cutting back to the main event, the giant armored bear roars, shaking the ground. Harkin remembers his past life. Back then, he and a full guild wiped 6 painful times before, barely scraping out a win. But if he dies today, he can kiss his massive quest lead goodbye. His eyes lock onto the beast. To deal any real damage, he has to strike the tiny gaps in those thick armor plates and rip them off. He grips his sword tight. I got this. Fully locked and loaded with his fresh skills, Harkin braces himself as the massive bear charges straight at him, roaring with pure rage. A cocky grin spreads across Harkin's face. He tells his undead crew to wait for his signal, then sprints head first toward the giant beast. He's betting everything on his brand new passive skill leg strength modification, expecting a massive power boost. But his speed goes way off the charts and he completely overshoots his target. He literally goes flying right past the bear in a blur. Harkin skids to a halt, totally confused, trying to process what the heck just happened. Both the monster and his own summons just stand there, blinking as he launches through the air like a rocket. But the beast doesn't wait around. It instantly pivots and unleashes its fury on Hyrcan's poor skeleton crew. The system chimes in with bad news. The warrior bear just smashed his skeletons into dust in one hit. Seeing his squad get wiped out makes Hyrcan absolutely furious. Our guy quickly checks the details of his leg strength modification skill, a buff designed to crank up his lower body power. It's supposed to make his movements sharper and heavier, but the outcome is way too extreme. Boiling with frustration, he screams that there has to be a limit to how fast and strong a skill can make you. Spotting a large rock nearby, he uses it as a launching pad. He triggers his crazy acceleration one more time, rocketing full speed right at the hulking bear. But again, he's just way too fast. He violently slams face first into the monster's chest. Even the bear looks totally bewildered, probably wondering what on earth this crazy human is trying to pull. For a split second, Hyrcan actually marvels at how incredibly soft the beast's fur is. That peaceful thought ends instantly when a massive paw swat sends him crashing brutally into a boulder. Groaning in the dirt, he realizes this new leg strength is just too overwhelming. It's totally out of his control right now. But looking at his hand, he notices he actually managed to tear off a chunk of the beast's armor during the crash. Still, he heavily doubts if that even matters. If his body keeps glitching out like this, how is he ever going to land a solid deadly strike? Before he can figure it out, the massive creature barrels toward him for round 2. The beast brings down a terrifying smash, and Hyrcan barely rolls out of the way, missing death by a hair. Desperate, he starts gathering his dark mana, firing up his signature bone bomb skill. He shapes the concentrated magical energy into an explosive projectile and chucks it point blank into the bear's ugly mug, triggering a massive fiery blast. But when the smoke clears, the monster is still standing, looking even more ticked off. Hyrcan starts sweating bullets, realizing this boss fight is way above his current pay grade. Going toe-to-toe is officially a bust. So he pumps his mana reserves and brings his bony squad right back from the dead, filling the battlefield with his skeletal warriors once more. He confidently declares that he's got no choice left but to fight like a true traditional necromancer from the backlines. But as he strikes a cool pose, he clearly sees the side-eye and pure doubt on his little minions' skull faces. Blushing with embarrassment, he shouts at them to shut up and trust him this time. To back up his words, he calls out his heavy hitter, the mighty golem. The giant construct drops into the fight and immediately throws hands with the hulking boss. But the beast isn't about to just take a beating. It fiercely swings back, landing a bone-crushing hit on the golem's stony body. Harkin just smirks from the sidelines, knowing he still holds the ultimate trump card. He quickly casts his hardened buff on his stony tank, making its defenses practically unbreakable. With a sharp snap of his fingers, he commands the rest of his undead crew to swarm the boss. The skeleton squad charges in without fear. While the golem locks down the giant bear's massive blade in a heavy struggle, the bony warriors successfully hack and slash at its exposed flanks. But these tiny cuts just crank up the monster's anger to a boiling point. Harkin, though, just laughs it off, warning the beast that it hasn't seen anything yet. The grand finale is coming right up. He screams at his skeletal mage to unleash hell and finish the job. A massive fireball erupts, but things go horribly wrong. Both the giant monster and Hairken get completely swallowed up in the blazing explosion. Coughing out black smoke, our hero is absolutely stunned that his own minion roasted him. He fiercely turns around and starts screaming at the skeletal mage, calling it a total idiot, and yelling that it was supposed to wait until he was clear of the blast zone. Right in the middle of his epic rant, a deafening roar shakes the battlefield. The system flashes a red warning. The beast just triggered its deadly battle cry skill. A blinding aura surrounds the monster, instantly healing 50% of the damage it just took. With renewed rage, it zeroes in on our hero, charging at full speed while he's still busy yelling at his own minion. Seeing the beast rush him, Hyrule just takes a deep breath, turns back around, and starts laughing like a total maniac. He loudly declares that careful strategies are totally overrated anyway. Pure chaotic brute force and sheer numbers are always the golden ticket. Without hesitating, he rapidly chucks a barrage of bone bombs straight into the charging bear. The impact sets off a catastrophic, towering explosion that lights up the entire mountain range. Even his undead summons stand there with their jaws dropped, terrified of their own master's madness. But Hyrule doesn't care at all, ruthlessly spamming explosives onto the creature without a single pause. When the smoke finally clears, our exhausted hero is seen sitting triumphantly on top of the charred monster. The system window pops up, officially confirming the boss kill and a massive spike in his experience points. He also pockets a sweet bounty of 104 gold pieces, wrapping up NPC Wong's intense judgment quest. Catching his breath, Harkin stares down at his own trembling hands. A wave of nostalgia hits him. He remembers perfectly well that this exact boss was an absolute nightmare for his entire fully armed guild in his past life. He slowly clenches his fists, a proud smile forming on his face. He actually soloed the very beast that once crushed them all, proving his new path as a lone wolf is absolutely the right choice. Feeling on top of the world, he walks back over to his bony squad, tossing them some rare praise for a job well done. Now it's time to head back to the guard post cash-in and unlock the next stage of his epic journey. Striking a totally goofy over-the-top superhero pose in the middle of the wilderness, he proudly shouts that the mighty warrior bear has been utterly exterminated, but his glory moment is ruined when he overhears his own skeletons, whispering in the background harshly, judging him for just spamming bombs instead of fighting with real skill. Harkin's face turns completely red. He absolutely loses his mind, screaming at the bony peanut gallery to shut their traps. Meanwhile, miles away in a smoky tavern at the western Bulka's base, the atmosphere is loud with laughing mercenaries. But hidden in a dark corner, the powerful mage Ballista sits alone, looking like a total wreck. He takes a long, heavy sigh, visibly on the very edge of a mental breakdown. His mind spirals as he obsesses over his total failure to track down the infamous Haho mask. He's been dragging his boots through these rugged mountains for days, yet the target is completely off the grid, like a ghost. And to make his splitting headache even worse, Haho Mask's combat video just blew up all over the internet. Thanks to that viral hit, every player and their mom is going to swarm the Bulka's mountains by tomorrow, turning his quiet manhunt into an absolute nightmare. He slams his head against the table, fully aware that going back empty-handed means Lady Syl is going to end him. He starts venting, wondering if it's completely crazy for his boss to make him comb through a whole mountain, all by himself just to find one single guy. The mage totally loses it and starts trash-talking the Thunder Hunters Guild, completely missing the beep from his smartwatch. Then it hits him, he's on a live call with Syl. He shoots up from his chair, shaking like a leaf, and scrambles to apologize, swearing he didn't mean it. But she just casually says he's working hard, which instantly creeps him out. Syl then admits that the job she handed him was probably way too much. Since he's scouting a massive mountain all alone, she gets how tough it must be even for a guy like him. The mage is absolutely speechless. He forces an awkward laugh, swearing he's totally fine, and it's no big deal, then begs to get back to work. Syl then drops the bomb that she sent Howie to back him up. Out of nowhere, a massive explosion rips through the tavern, blowing a giant hole right through the wall. Hatch spins around in absolute shock, while Syl firmly states they need to team up to catch Haho Mask. A figure steps through the dust and screams at the mage, calling him a total loser. It's the Princess of Thunder herself, Howie from the Thunder Hunters Guild. She is blindingly mad and blames Hatch for making her drag herself all the way out there. Hatch freezes, knowing she absolutely despises him. He literally screams to the sky that he hates this garbage world. Sometime later, a voice from up high notes that the Bulka's area is getting super packed, even turning into a mini village. It's our main guy. He guesses most gamers have finally figured out this is the primary hotspot to search. He blasts off at top speed, jumping across the branches, knowing he really needs to rush over to NPC Maung. But then he spots 3 dudes sprinting his way. Looking closer, he realizes their outfits perfectly match the 3 guys from before, making him think they want serious payback for their buddies. He shuts his eyes and dares them to just attack already since he is in a huge rush. But what he completely misses is they blow right past him, ignoring him entirely. He spins around totally lost. The guys are just desperately screaming for help. Harkin is so confused, mumbling that he didn't even do anything, totally blind to the danger rushing in. In a flash, the three guys get violently wiped out, leaving Harkin with a nasty scratch across his face. He turns to face the chaos and spots two figures. It's Howie, the Princess of Thunder, and Hatch the Mage. Spotting the logo on their gear, Harkin instantly knows they belong to the massive Thunder Hunters Guild, but he jumps back when a blade is shoved right in his face. Howie barks at him, demanding to know if he's the player known as Haho Mask from the viral clips. Harkin remembers she is the vice captain of the Thunder Hunters and an absolute fanatic, who would march straight into hell if Syl said so. The other guy is the level 3 mage of the guild, known as Ballista, a magic prodigy who always gets his mark. He also recalls that back in his past life, these two were massive headaches, and he never expected to bump into them this early. Still, he quickly figures out, if they want Haho Mask, they just want to recruit him. Part of him really wants to wipe them both out right now, even though he knows he's way too weak for that right now. So he hops down from the tree and asks if they are actually searching for Haho Mask. He goes full actor mode, playing the clueless newbie and asking who that even is with a super goofy expression. He chuckles on the inside, planning to milk this naive act because they cannot touch him without hard proof. But Howie steps right up to him, glaring darkly and screams that he's full of it. The Thunder Princess's eyes turn deadly cold, as she growls that nobody could wander through the Bulkas Mountains without knowing about Haho Mask, especially since that loser's video racked up 20 million views. She aggressively points out that the hood our guy is rocking looks exactly like Haho Mask's signature gear. That is exactly why. She is dying to know if he is their target. Harkin sweats a bit, seeing she is way too sharp. Thankfully, the mage jumps in and tells her to knock it off, saying they have way bigger problems. He literally pokes the Thunder Princess in the head and shouts that she is the real problem. He goes on a massive rant, screaming about how she completely wrecked the inn and murdered players just for looking sketchy. Now he demands to know how she's going to clean up this mess, since the whole server knows their guild and they can't even play dumb. Hatch screams at the top of his lungs, ordering her to say sorry right now before their guild's image goes down the drain, thanks to her. Howie loses her cool and snaps back, demanding to know why the heck she should be the one apologizing. Harkin just stares in pure disbelief, wondering if these top-tier players are always this childish. Finally, a super annoyed Howie angrily mumbles a weak apology. Hatch watches her stomp away and asks out loud what kind of childish tantrum that was. He then spins back to our hero, says sorry for his crazy partner and tells him to have a good game, leaving Harkin to breathe a massive sigh of relief. He breathes a sigh of relief, thinking he's totally in the clear, completely missing the blur of motion charging right at him. By the time he spots the fist, zooming straight for his face, pure panic sets in. Bam. Before he can even blink, the Thunder Princess lands a brutal hook, sending him crashing hard into a massive boulder. Hatch absolutely loses his mind. He grabs Howie, screaming at the top of his lungs, demanding to know why on earth she just randomly punched someone. Again. I mean, did he call her a mad dog, or has she actually gone completely crazy? She just casually shrugs, claiming she fully expected him to dodge it. But Harkin isn't having it. He asks if they seriously just assaulted a helpless player who had his guard down, so he steps right up to call them out. Slowly sliding on his glasses for that cinematic effect, he boldly announces that he is officially filing a formal complaint against the entire Thunder Hunters Guild. He pulls up the forum window, threatening to expose them online. His headline, "The Thunder Hunters are a toxic guild that slaughters noobs." The mage panics and quickly apologizes, promising to compensate him, and begging him to just sweep this whole mess under the rug. With shaking hands, Hatch slides the MC a handful of gold coins. Harkin smirks, deciding that since the mage is offering 1,000 gold coins as an apology fee, he will let it slide. Hatch exhales a massive sigh of relief and thanks him. He then grabs Hui by the arm and, dragging her away, screams that he absolutely cannot stand her. Harkin knows taking the payoff looks a bit weak, but right now, it is his best move. Starting a war with them right here would be a total disaster. He just has to bite his tongue and endure it a little longer. As they stomp off, Hatch snaps at Hui, asking why she has to be a walking disaster every single time and if she realizes that public image is everything for a major guild. Slightly confused, Hui wonders out loud why people do not just instinctively dodge her attacks. Hatch glares, asking if she is seriously blaming him for not dodging her reckless punch. She shrugs it off, saying it is not about him. It is about that guy. He did not even look scared, just annoyed, like taking the hit was his only option. Hatch groans, begging her to just keep her mouth shut for once. She rolls her eyes, tells him to shut up, and calls him a total loser. Meanwhile, Harkin heads back to NPC Wong's house and hands over a piece of warrior bear armor. Wong nods, saying this was totally expected, and that something shady is definitely going on. He thanks the MC again, insisting that without his help, the body count would have been massive. But Wong pauses, noticing the MC shaking, and asks if he is alright. Harkin forces a smile and says he is fine, though inside he is screaming for the old man to just hurry up and move on. If he wastes any more time here, the top 30 guilds are going to leave him in the dust. With that, Wong pulls out a heavy chest and sets it on the table. Opening the lid, he tells our hero to pick just one item. He explains that, back in his prime at the Bulkus Mountains, he charted out maps of monster dens. Harkin's eyes light up realizing those are treasure maps. His mind races with all the insane, rare loot hiding inside those uncharted dungeons. But right as his fingers brush a map, Wong drops the bomb. He has another favor to ask. Harkin mentally flips a table knowing there was no way this cheap NPC was handing out treasure for free. Wong explains that heavily armed monsters are now spawning way past the mountains and he needs the MC to go investigate those areas just like last time. Gritting his teeth, Harkin snatches the map, says yes, and asks for the location. Wong replies that it is the Paring Forest. The MC's face instantly twists up like he just sucked on a lemon, and Wong, catching that nasty glare, asks if he has a problem with it. Harkin fakes a no, but the second he steps outside, he takes a deep breath and lets out a furious groan. Paring Forest is a brutal level 90 zone. That means he has to grind like crazy on the side, just to survive the trip there. He figures his best bet for fast XP is Sura Canyon, since it is packed with level 75 demon worshippers. His confidence slowly returns as he hypes himself up thinking that since he already soloed a warrior bear a demon, goat should be an absolute joke. But after taking a few steps, he freezes in his tracks. Standing right in front of him is none other than Shev the Slayer. What the heck is that guy doing here? Shev looks just as shocked to bump into the MC. Meanwhile, Hatch is practically sobbing over a remote call with Lady Syl. He cries that he absolutely refuses to work with that violent maniac anymore. Syl just laughs, saying it looks like they are struggling with the mission. Hatch desperately explains that it is not that he wants to quit, but he got intel that the Red Bulls Guild has already locked down Sura Canyon. He begs her to let them ditch this side hustle and focus on the main quest instead. He whines asking why they are even begging a guy who clearly has zero interest in joining the Thunder Hunters anyway. Syl goes silent for a second. Then she officially calls off the manhunt for Haho Mask and orders the Thunder Hunters to shift their focus straight to the main mission. Tears of joy stream down Hatch's face as he praises Lady Syl's genius decision. As the remote call drops, Syl leans back in her chair with a wicked smirk. She knows the strong are always drawn to the strong, and because of that, she cannot wait to see exactly how long Haho Mask can keep running. Flashing back to right before the MC met Shev, he was actually already hunting in the Paring field. He bumped into his first level 75 mob and shredded it with ease, while his summons kept attacking without missing a beat. The grind paid off, pushing him up 2 whole ranks. Pumping his fist, he hyped himself up for finally hitting level 62. Stoked that everything was going perfectly according to plan. But while he was chatting with his skeleton squad about grinding a bit more, before heading straight into Paring Forest, a group of players spotted him from the shadows. Their jaws dropped when they realized they were staring right at the infamous Haho Mask, and in the blink of an eye, the mob completely surrounded Harkin. Getting swarmed with hugs, kisses, and fanboys screaming how much they loved him, his blood started to boil. He instantly bailed, recalling his summons to make a clean getaway. Sprinting away, he couldn't wrap his head around why this nightmare was happening. It all boiled down to his insane video fighting the furious warrior bear. It went totally viral, hitting the absolute jackpot. But honestly, this newfound fame was a massive double-edged sword, because now he had stalkers trailing his every move. Stacking bodies and farming was impossible with a literal mob breathing down his neck all day. So he rallied his skeletons for a heavy change of plans. Their new target, pushing straight into the dead center of Sura Canyon, where the level cap was way too brutal for any of those basic fans to survive, let alone follow him. But mid-sprint, he slammed the brakes. Standing right in his path was Shev, just like old times. Shev flashed a huge grin, hyped to finally bump into our boy again. Meanwhile, Harkin's face instantly twisted into pure agony, like he just bit into a raw lemon. Smacking Harkin on the back, Shev laughed, asking if he was that same rookie from the starter town. He joked about how awkward it felt when Harkin just vanished back then, without dropping a single goodbye. But man, he had to admit, Harkin's leveling speed was absolutely out of this world. He never would have guessed that some random guy hanging out in the beginner zone just a few months back would already be grinding all the way out here in Sura Canyon. Panting heavily, Harkin flipped the question, asking what Shev was doing here, knowing full well this canyon wasn't exactly the kind of playground a top-tier ranker would ever waste time on. Shev just chuckled, asking if our guy was living under a rock. Just 24 hours ago, his massive guild, the Red Bulls, officially locked down Sura Canyon. They desperately needed a forward base to push through the main scenario questline. Hearing that, it clicked in Harkin's head. So at the end of the day, even a powerhouse like the Red Bulls was chasing after the main quest. Shev's eyes suddenly lit up, admitting the real reason he came down here was on the off chance he might bump into the legendary Haho Mask himself. Harkin and his skeleton crew froze in sheer panic, while Shev kept rambling, asking if he'd seen that insane viral clip of the Haho mask destroying the warrior bear. He heard whispers that the masked legend was roaming this exact area, and he was dying to meet him in person. Getting way too hyped, Shev leaned in asking if our guy wasn't dying to know who this monster rookie really was. Throwing a fist in the air, Shev hyped him up, shouting that they should totally go hunt down the Haho mask together. Not wasting a single second, Hirkan hit the gas, sprinting for his life with his undead crew right behind him. He screamed, a quick apology over his shoulder, loudly lying that he didn't have a single clue who this Haho mask guy even was. After putting some serious distance between them, Hirkan finally stopped to catch his breath. Boiling with rage, he cursed, wondering why every single person in this game was suddenly obsessed with him. First it was Shir from the Thunderous Hunters and now Shev from the Red Bulls. Two massive top-tier guilds were literally hunting him down. He desperately tried to figure out how he ended up in this absolute nightmare. Pulling his hair out, he felt like he was legitimately losing his mind. Stressed beyond belief, he realized that if this kept up, the main quest was completely off the table. Forget quests, he wouldn't even be able to grind a single level. He debated just packing up and finding a brand new spot to farm. But deep down, he knew this was the only decent hunting ground left for his level. That's when a light bulb went off. He remembered the maps he scored from Mr. Wong. Whipping one out, he muttered that there had to be a rare hidden dungeon somewhere nearby. Sure enough, it barely took a second before his eyes locked onto a secret dungeon marker glowing right on the parchment. Following the path, he soon hit a roaring waterfall. It made perfect sense. These ultra-rare dungeons were always stashed in the most insane, unreachable spots. And while scoring top-tier loot was never a walk in the park, you had to bet big if you wanted to win big. So sucking in a massive breath, he took a literal leap of faith, plunging deep into the lake with his skeletons. Instantly, system alerts flashed, warning him that underwater breathing was heavily restricted. He only had a brutal 20 seconds of oxygen before he'd start taking massive damage. Kicking his legs, Hirkan prayed that Mr. Wong's intel was legit, totally convinced the secret entrance had to be buried down here somewhere. Swimming deeper and deeper, as his oxygen bar rapidly drained, the real panic set in. It was a terrifying race against the clock to find the hidden door before he drowned. With single digits left on his timer, the gap still looked way too massive. His heart hammered in his chest, terrified he was going to wipe. Then, with literally 1 second left on the clock, he pushed past his limits, reaching into the darkness. He finally broke the surface, gasping for air as the system chimed, confirming he had breached the hidden dungeon. A wave of notifications rolled in, crowning him with 2 brand new titles: the one who discovered the secret and Dungeon Explorer. Dragging himself onto land, Hirkan was totally blown away by the massive cavern around him. Dripping wet, he smirked, realizing his gamble totally paid off. If annoying players were ruining his grind, the fix was simple: just hunt where the players literally couldn't go. Pushing deeper into the dark ruins, he stayed on high alert, wondering what kind of nightmare fuel spawned down here. Since it was a secret zone, he knew some seriously overpowered bosses had to be waiting. Suddenly, a chilling noise echoed through the cave. A shadow crept forward, its eyes burning with an intense, eerie glow. Hirkan jumped back, startled, but as he locked eyes with the beast stepping into the light, his jaw absolutely dropped. He couldn't believe what was standing right in front of him. They just stared at each other in total silence for a second until Hirkan's shock turned into pure rage. He started shouting at it, demanding to know if this thing was playing a joke on him and if it seriously thought it stood a chance. But mid-rant, he froze in shock. The creature's body suddenly erupted, engulfing itself in roaring, blazing flames. Hirkan's eyes went wide as he realized this secret dungeon was a spawning ground for elemental monsters, and anyone who played the game knew those were easily some of the rarest, most highly prized targets in the entire world. In Warlord, these monsters are walking gold mines because they drop incredibly popular materials used for elemental gear. Hirkan's eyes light up. Basically, this means he can make an absolute fortune just by farming them. The tiny monster freezes, totally creeped out by the greedy grin on his face. Without wasting a single second, Hirkan orders his undead squad to wipe out every elemental monster in the area. Terrified, the little guy lets out a piercing shriek. Right on cue, the ground starts shaking violently. Hirkan tenses up, wondering what's coming. Suddenly, a massive level 70 fire salamander bursts out of nowhere to protect its baby. Hirkan can hardly believe this beast showed up here. But the monster doesn't wait, sucking in a huge breath to unleash its fire. It blasts a massive wave of flames right at him, forcing Hirkan to dive out of the way. As he studies the fiery assault, he's caught completely off guard by that crazy opening move. Dusting himself off, he realizes things will get seriously bad if he holds back. Time to test out his new toy. He focuses his magic and activates the Helm of Madness ability on Little Bone. Next up, Bone Armor. And for the grand finale, he equips the Black Orc Skull, an incredibly expensive item he bought just to buff his undead. With a surge of dark energy, the Skeleton Knight is fully summoned, and its intimidating aura instantly terrifies both the giant beast and the baby. The knight marches forward, leveling its huge blade, and in a flash it slices the giant fire salamander clean in half. Hyrule pumps his fist, thrilled that his new knight is an absolute beast in combat. It doesn't take long before a whole horde of angry wild salamanders swarms the area. Hyrule knows it's go time. As the monsters charge up their fire breath, he just smirks. Knowing this is the perfect warm-up, he yells out the attack order, sending his knight straight into the chaos. Without breaking a sweat, his summon effortlessly cuts down the entire mob. A system alert pops up announcing his latest kills, and rewarding him with a sweet chunk of experience points. Hyrule chuckles as he watches his knight totally flexing on the other skeletons, but he honestly doesn't mind the showboating. He shouts that auto-hunting is the greatest thing ever, thrilled that his supercharged skeleton can just grind away on autopilot. Plus, the raw essence from these beasts is worth way more than he thought, easily covering the massive cost of the upgrade. Grinning, he tells himself he just needs to keep this up, until every single skeleton is fully maxed out. He rallies his undead crew, shouting that they aren't stopping until the area boss is dead, so they can finally head to Perong Forest. But flash forward 1 hour and Hyrule is absolutely losing his mind. He should have known his luck wouldn't last. A system alert flashes, warning him that he just stumbled into an instant dungeon called the Throne Room. Staring at the entrance, Hyrule sighs. There's literally no way to know what's waiting inside. And once he crosses that line, there's no turning back. If he goes in and gets wiped out, his character will be locked out for 2 whole days. That 48-hour penalty is brutal. It would give rival guilds like the Storm Hunters and the Red Bulls way too much time to steal his lead in the main quest. But looking around, he realizes he doesn't have anywhere else to go in this area. It looks like the choice has been made for him. Bracing himself, he steps through the portal. Once inside, he mutters to his skeletons that they're going to need a miracle to pull this off. Just a few steps down the dark hall, the system pings, confirming he has officially reached the throne room. As they cautiously move forward, Hyrule spots rows of silent knight statues. The creepy atmosphere makes it feel like some kind of ruined, forgotten temple. Getting a closer look at the stone knights, he notices deep sword gashes covering their armor. His gut twists. Something is definitely wrong here. Suddenly, he freezes in his tracks. Looming in the shadows right in front of him is a massive, menacing figure seated on a giant throne. Before he can even step back, the entity awakens, unleashing a suffocating wave of dark energy. Hyrule panics, realizing he just triggered a boss fight. He screams at his skeletons to form a defensive wall immediately, but he's a second too late. The creature moves like lightning, blasting his entire squad in one hit. Red system alerts flood his vision, confirming his skeleton warriors were completely destroyed by the overwhelming damage. Hyrule scrambles backward, his heart pounding in his chest. He is in serious trouble. He never expected to run into this specific nightmare so soon. Standing before him is a level 80 Spirit Knight, a terrifying boss programmed with the most ruthless high-tier combat AI in the game. Memories flash in his mind. He fought this exact same monster in his past life right around this very same level. Back then, he had the entire Haho Mask Guild backing him up, and they still got totally wiped out, forcing him to just swallow his pride and give up. But there's no way he's letting history repeat itself. Clenching his jaw, he instantly summons his skeleton warriors back to the field, and they rush the Spirit Knight together. The boss readies its massive sword and unleashes a crushing swing right at the summons. But Hyrule and the rest leap over the blast. Spotting a split-second opening, Hyrule dives in, teaming up with his skeleton knight for a fierce combo strike, but the boss effortlessly blocks the dual assault, buying time for a skeleton warrior to sneak up while the giant is distracted. It slips right behind the boss and lands a direct stab, but the skeleton just stands there totally confused, because the strike did absolutely 0 damage. Hyrule screams, calling the minion an idiot, and frantically orders it to back off right away. But it is way too late, and the monster brutally smashes the summon to pieces. A system prompt instantly pops up, confirming the skeleton warrior has been completely wiped out. Hyrule and the knight quickly jump back. The MC realizes a stab to the heart does not even count as a critical hit against this monster. Studying the giant closely, he racks his brain on what to do next, knowing full well his basic skeletons and the golem are completely useless here. Suddenly, a memory from his past life flashes through his mind. He remembers an old buddy, asking why he charged headfirst at a beast 4 times his size. Hyrule did not have a deep answer back then, so he just shrugged and said he would not get to eat dinner if he did not kill the thing. His friend was absolutely dumbfounded by that crazy logic. Snapping back to reality, Hyrule rushes the Spirit Knight with a grin. Since when did he overthink things in a video game? Landing a solid hit, he figures if he cannot trigger criticals, he just needs to stack up raw damage. Dodging a wild swing, he sees the health bar dropping. It is working, he just needs to keep the pressure up, but the Spirit Knight suddenly speeds up. Hyrule takes a brutal hit, coughing up blood. He freezes for a split second, but then, gripping the enemy blade with his bare hands, he bursts out laughing. It was all an act. Right on cue, the skeleton knight pops up behind the boss and slices clean through the arm holding the giant sword. The knight lands right next to Hyrule. Staring down the crippled boss, Hyrule firmly tells his summon that there is absolutely no dinner tonight if they do not win this fight. Meanwhile, over in Sura Canyon Village, Shev and Yell are strolling around the lively streets. Shev notes the town is doing way better than he expected. Yell says that is obvious since the Red Bulls Guild runs the place. They lock down a solid supply route, so the town never runs out of goods. Suddenly, Shev cracks a wide smile and excitedly says, maybe the famous Haho mask might actually show up here. Hearing this makes Yell furious, totally unable to believe what her idiot friend is spouting now. She snaps at him saying he has been obsessing over this Haho mask guy nonstop, and she just does not get the hype. After all, this guy just hunted a few weak low-level mobs. Shev corrects her. Sure, those mobs are weak to them, but for the Haho mask level, those monsters were deadly. In a hyper-realistic game where you actually feel real physical pain, there are only two types of players who dare to fight enemies way stronger than themselves. His face turns dead serious as he says they are either total psychos or natural-born warriors. And thinking about the Haho mask, Shev is convinced the guy is definitely both. Cutting back to Hyrule's fight, the boss's severed shoulder starts glowing with a strange energy. In seconds, a glowing spirit blade forms right out of the stump. Hyrule just chuckles, asking if losing an arm literally means nothing to this guy calling the boss a huge pain. He takes a deep breath to center himself, staying totally focused. He and his knight charge right back in. The creature winds up for a heavy strike and unleashes a massive slash that literally shatters the earth. Hyrule and his skeleton are forced to desperately leap back. Landing safely on a boulder, Hyrule smirks, noting the guy is really trying to bury him alive out here. But whatever. Bouncing swiftly from rock to rock, he and his summon close the distance once again. Hyrule lands a heavy strike from the left, while the skeleton hits hard from the right. They start circling the boss, raining down a flurry of rapid hits. Hyrule is totally hyped, seeing the strategy actually working. If they just keep chipping away at its health like this, they will easily take down the Spirit Knight. But suddenly, the boss glows with a terrifying dark energy. It blasts a massive ring of fire, forcing the duo to retreat immediately. Shocked, Hyrule wonders if this monster just hit phase 2. Before he can react, the boss leaps high and swings right at him. Terrified by the raw explosive power, Hyrule desperately braces his sword to block the fatal hit. He realizes the boss's attack pattern has totally changed. Getting seriously pissed off, he goes on the offensive and swings at the Spirit Knight. He yells out, ordering one of his summons to join him for a combo attack. But the words barely leave his mouth before the Spirit Knight lands a brutal counterattack, sending him flying across the room. Flat on his back, Hyrule realizes he was way too focused on micromanaging his minions, leaving his own defense wide open. Right then, the Spirit Knight lunges in for a massive finishing blow, but a blur of motion cuts in. It is his skeleton knight throwing itself right in front of the blade to shield him. While Hyrule stares in shock at his summoned sacrifice, a system alert chimes, announcing that the skeleton knight has been completely destroyed. Right before turning to dust, the skeleton glances back and shoots a thumbs up to its master. As soon as the knight fades away, Hyrule shakes with absolute rage and launches himself straight at the boss. He spams his bone bomb skill, blasting the creature from all sides, but the knight still manages to block the onslaught. Gritting his teeth, Hyrule knows he just needs one final push. Dozens more bone bombs swarm around the Spirit Knight, triggering a massive blinding explosion. But Hyrule knows that is not enough. He is going to have to repeat this a few more times. Suddenly, the Spirit Knight bursts right through the thick smoke, looming directly over our guy. Caught off guard, Hyrule gets a quick scare, but then a sly smirk creeps across his face, and he asks if the boss really thought he forgot that Spirit-type monsters resist magic damage. He taunts the knight, asking, "Did you seriously think I was just blindly throwing bone bombs?" He reveals his trap, explaining that he secretly hid skeleton fragments inside those earlier explosions. With a snap of his fingers, he triggers his ultimate skill, Summon Skeleton Fragment. Instantly, multiple skeletons burst out of the ground and pin the Spirit Knight down. Seizing the perfect opening, Hyrule dashes in, declaring it is game over, and unleashes a lightning-fast barrage of strikes. The system finally chimes, confirming he has defeated the Spirit Knight. He scores 455,663 gold bags, the chivalrous spirit title. Loots a piece of the boss's armor and racks up a massive chunk of experience points, leveling him up once again. Staring at his victory screen, a bittersweet memory flashes in Hyrule's mind. He remembers how in his past life, his old guildmates whined that beating a Spirit Knight was impossible, blaming him for leading them straight to their deaths. But as he watches, his skeletons gather around him now. He spots his skeleton knight tossing him another thumbs up. He smiles, realizing that this time, things are completely different from those miserable days. He proudly tells his crew they did an awesome job. But the moment they start goofing off and acting totally ridiculous, He ignores them and wonders out loud why the game is not kicking him out of the instant dungeon yet. As his minions swarm around him, he starts stressing that there might be a hidden second boss, completely missing the wall, shifting right behind him. Hearing a sudden grinding noise, he spins around in a panic only to see a hidden door sliding open. His eyes widen as he realizes it might be a super rare random reward room. He sprints inside like a kid on Christmas, praising every god he can think of. Walking up to the pedestal, he starts daydreaming about the epic loot, hoping for piles of gold, an overpowered weapon, or a secret skill book. But his jaw drops in total disappointment when he picks up a dusty old journal and realizes it is just a research log about some ancient power. Sure, it is a crucial main quest item, but he read this damn thing so many times in his past life that he basically has it memorized. While he throws a massive tantrum, screaming about getting trash loot from a secret room, a blinding light starts glowing right behind his back. He turns around and his eyes completely light up at the actual reward. Cut to him leaving the dungeon, heading straight to the Pairing Forest. He figures his level is high enough now, so it is finally time to get back on track with the main storyline. He summons his undead crew, and this time they are all decked out in shiny heavy-duty armor. Watching them dance around like absolute goose, Harkin shakes his head at their hyper-energy. But honestly, he cannot blame them, because he never expected that the real reward room prize would be a wildly overpowered skill. This ability lets him put actual player gear right onto his summons. Thanks to this, he can now boost their stats into the stratosphere, completely bypassing their level limits. Of course, gearing them all up is going to cost an absolute fortune. As he yells at his skeletons, warning them they better pull their weight, a strange group watches him from the shadows. Suddenly, one of them steps up and starts slow clapping, praising his impressive skills, and calls our guy by his alias Haho Mask. Emerging from the trees, they smirk, noting that the rumors about him are totally true. A hairy, shirtless dude steps forward, declaring that if Hyrcan is wondering who they are. The guy in glasses chimes in saying they live for romance. The skinny dude with the weird hair finishes the catchphrase, shouting that they die for romance. Striking a dramatic pose, the trio proudly announces they are the Outlaw Romantics, the R2 family. Hyrcan just stares, cringing into another dimension. Convinced this game is packed with nothing but creeps, he spins around and walks off with his skeleton crew. But that R2 family squad keeps tailing him. The hairy-chested dude whines that the Haho Mask guy is just moving way too fast. He mutters that it makes sense for a pro of his level. Hearing this, Hyrcan starts boiling with rage. The weirdos keep complaining they can hardly keep up with him and beg him to slow down. Finally, our MC snaps and yells, telling them to back the hell off and beat it. Looking a bit shy, the hairy-chested guy points out that they still have not gotten a straight answer. So they beg Hyrcan to team up with them again. He screams back, asking if they honestly believed he would ever say yes. The hairy-chested guy asks for a chance to properly introduce his crew. He proudly announces they are the R2 family, and they are grinding to hit level 100 here in the Pairing Forest. But the beasts around here are just way too tough. So sadly, their squad lacks the firepower to actually hunt anything in this zone. That is exactly why they have been roaming around hunting for recruits. But somehow, absolutely nobody wants to join their party. Hyrcan thinks to himself that the reason is painfully obvious. Suddenly, one of the guys grabs his hand, begging him once more to team up. Startled by the sudden touch, Hyrcan instantly tells him to go to hell. Cut to a little later. The entire R2 family is groaning on the dirt, covered in nasty bruises and cuts. Hyrcan glares down at them, making it crystal clear that he gives zero crap about their weird brotherhood vibes. He refuses to party up with anyone, period, and demands to know if they get it. One of the bruised guys nods, promising they will stop bothering him. Hyrcan gives them one final warning, swearing that if they tail him one more time he will wipe them out for good. Dropping that threat, he walks away with his skeletons. The hairy-chested guy lets out a heavy sigh, whining that they got dumped yet again, and the Haho Mask was their final hope. The dude with the mustache and glasses asks if they should just quit the Pairing Forest entirely. Right then, the skinny guy with the tuft of hair checks a beep on his watch. He looks up and asks the captain if he remembers that musical family they met earlier. The captain asks if he means the same guys who literally tied them to a tree because they acted too creepy. His buddy nods, warning that those same guys are now begging for backup. Meanwhile, our MC is staring down a massive ogre alongside his skeletons. He orders his crew to get ready, shouting that they are rushing in all at once. Hyrcan launches himself forward, and together with his undead army they absolutely demolish the beast. Ding. The system pops up announcing he just crushed a black ogre and scored a sweet chunk of experience points. Hyrcan powers down his combat armor. Staring at the dead monster, he notes that this makes 55 black ogres wiped out today. He figures that after surviving the deadly spirit night, normal monsters like this are basically a walk in the park, since their attack patterns are way too easy to read. He taps his smartwatch, feeling pretty satisfied with his progress, since he is leveling up like crazy. He pulls up the quest from the gamekeeper Ma Wong. The task is to track down signs of armored monsters deep inside the Pairing Forest and report back. If he does, Mr. Wong will hand over a special reward personally. But Harkin shakes his head in disbelief. He wonders how the hell he has not found a single clue about these armored beasts anywhere in this forest. It is frustrating because he has not even started making real progress on the main storyline. He realizes he cannot afford to waste any more time. He is absolutely sure the top 30 guilds are already speeding through the main quest, and it is only a matter of time before those powerhouses catch up to his lead. For a split second, he wonders if he should have pumped that R2 family for clues, but remembering how insanely creepy they acted, he knows he made the perfect call. He would honestly rather die than ever team up with those weirdos. Suddenly, boom, a massive explosion rocks the very center of the forest. Hurkan spins around, shocked, wondering, who on earth is blowing things up and what kind of crazy monster is causing this much chaos? Then it hits him. A wild grin spreads across his face as he instantly summons his undead. Cut back to the R2 family. The captain is desperately blocking a brutal strike, shaking with fear as he tries to figure out what these freaky monsters even are. He squints through the dust and realizes they are fully covered in thick armor. That is why his attacks keep bouncing off. Worse, they are marching in perfect military formation. There is absolutely no way to charge them head-on. But the craziest part, these things definitely do not belong in this zone, and he spots a terrifying figure lurking in the back, their boss. He realizes this boss monster is actually smart enough to command a whole army. Panic sets in as he knows there is zero chance the R2 family can survive this nightmare alone. Just then, the skinny guy rushes in and blasts a massive firewall, cutting off the black ogres from his captain. The mustache guy runs up right behind him, checking if their leader is still in one piece. Then, with a grim look, he delivers the bad news. The musical family they tried to save is basically wiped out. And honestly, he doubts their own squad can survive much longer out here either. Right then, the spiky-haired guy starts panicking, screaming that they need to make a run for it while they still have the chance. The captain actually agrees with him, realizing that staying here is basically a death sentence. He knows their odds of winning are basically zero. But then a bitter memory hits him. He remembers all those times he desperately begged for a hand, only for people to completely brush him off. It was always the same story. Whenever he reached out, he was met with cold shoulders. It had always been just the three of them against the world. Taking a heavy breath, he commands his crew to burn through the last of their mana. Their new mission, carve out an escape path for the musical family. His teammates are totally confused by this sudden shift, but the captain turns to them, his eyes serious. He reminds them that they know exactly how much it hurts to be left behind when you are desperate for a lifeline. His voice tightens as he declares they will not be the ones to walk away today. Seeing his fierce resolve, the mustache guy and the skinny, spiky-haired guy feel a surge of emotion. Without wasting another second, the captain rushes headfirst at the horde. He yells that he is going to buy them time, ordering the other two to get everyone else to safety. He unleashes a wild flurry of strikes, ending the combo by slamming a heavy charge attack right into the black ogre's gut. A spark of hope hits him. He actually thinks he is pushing it back. He pumps himself up, believing he just needs to maintain this momentum. But reality hits hard when a brutal counterattack sends him flying, crashing violently into the dirt. Agony shoots through his whole body, and as he forces his eyes open, he sees the massive black monster pulling its leg back for a lethal stomp. His body refuses to move. The beast swings its foot down. But out of nowhere, a blinding flash intercepts the blow. A voice cuts through the chaos, teasing the captain for trying to play the tragic hero. It is our main character. He dropped in right at the perfect moment to completely shut down the ogre's attack. The captain is absolutely stunned by his savior, but Hyrcan quickly waves off the awe, making it crystal clear that he shouldn't get the wrong idea. Throwing a sharp glance over his shoulder, the MC bluntly states that he did not come here to save anyone's life. He is only here for one reason: to make sure this scrub squad does not try to steal his prey. While the captain sits there totally lost, Hyrcan snaps his fingers and brings out his summons. He barks out an order, sending them straight at the mob, kicking off an absolutely insane brawl. The hairy-chested guy's jaw drops as he watches the skeleton crew dart around the battlefield. He cannot fathom how undead minions are moving with that kind of insane speed. Staring at Harkin's back, he realizes this guy is light years ahead of any normal necromancer. A chilling thought crosses his mind. Just who the hell is this? Ha-ho mask. In no time flat, the undead squad absolutely shreds through multiple black beasts. A sweet system chime rings out, announcing that the MC just racked up a massive chunk of experience from wiping out the armored brutes. Hyrcan lets out a relaxed sigh, casually remarking that the annoying little bugs are finally out of the way. He levels his blade straight at the massive boss and calls it out. Taunting the beast, he asks if it is feeling a little sad about losing its crew, but tells it not to worry too much. Why? Because it is about to join them in the dirt. That savage trash talk sends the boss into a blind, roaring frenzy. But right before things get messy, the MC glances back at the R2 family captain. He orders his skeletons to drag the guy to the sidelines, flat out saying he doesn't want any useless trash tripping him up. During the main event, suddenly the hulking boss slams its massive foot down, sending a violent shockwave tearing through the cavern. Looming over the MC, the giant beast unleashes an ear-splitting roar. This big boy is a level 80 helmet ogre. While getting patched up by his mustached teammate, the captain mutters that taking this monster down solo might be too much even for the Haho mask. But then, a voice from the side chimes in, nervously agreeing that fighting this thing one-on-one is basically suicide. The captain turns to see a guy from the musical family guild trembling nearby. The guy points out the boss's creepy swirled, black and red eyes. That means this isn't just a regular boss, it is a corrupted monster tied directly to the main storyline. And in this game, corrupted variants pack at least 3 times the raw power of a normal enemy. Back in the pit, Harkin tries to parry a crushing overhead strike, but is instantly forced to leap backward to dodge a lethal swipe of the boss's giant sword. The MC smirks, realizing this big guy is incredibly tanky and definitely hits harder than his skeleton crew. Suddenly, the musical family member screams out, desperately warning our guy to keep his distance, but the monstrous boss isn't giving him a choice as it erupts with a sickening corrupted aura and steamrolls straight toward the MC. The guild member watches in pure horror, gasping that there is no way the Haho mask survives. A direct hit from that, but instead of running, Hyrule just grips his blade tighter, pouring all his energy into the steel. He actually laughs out loud, daring the charging beast to try and block what's coming next. With a flash of devastating power, he unleashes a strike so fierce, it blasts a gaping hole right through the center of the giant. The massive creature crumples like paper crashing down, totally lifeless. The R2 squad and the musical guild guy are completely paralyzed with shock. Their brains literally cannot process the insane one-shot they just witnessed. Right on cue, the system window pops up officially, congratulating the MC on his brutal victory and rewarding him with a massive payout of gold and experience points. And leveled up Hyrule powers down his battle armor, scoffing that the fight was a total breeze. Suddenly, a system alert pops up, announcing he just snagged a fragment of the ogre's helmet. With this piece in hand, he has officially cleared the conditions to finish the quest. Checking his quest log, Hyrule notes that his next move is simple: head straight back to Mr. Wong's place and push forward with the main storyline. But hold on, before he leaves, there is one major issue to settle: how to split the loot. He glances around at the aftermath. 20 black ogres and 1 helmet ogre. Yeah, this stash is definitely worth an absolute fortune, considering how rare that boss is. Watching the other players walk up, he knows the standard rule: whoever lands the first hit gets to decide how the gear is divided. But irritation flares up inside him. Did he not just do all the heavy lifting completely by himself? His mind flashes back to just a few minutes ago. The R2 group was completely backed into a corner, and he was fully ready to sit back and watch them get wiped out. But then he heard their leader yelling that he would hold the line so his team could escape. That selfless shout caught him totally off guard, and before he even realized it, his body just moved on its own to save them. Snapping back to reality, the R2 group approaches him. Their captain bows his head in deep gratitude, admitting they only survived because he stepped in. Harkin takes a deep breath, figuring that at least these guys have some manners. But suddenly the captain's face turns dead serious, making it crystal clear that they absolutely cannot let him walk away so easily. Harkin's eyes narrow. He knew it. He should have guessed. That human greed always wins out when money is on the line. The R2 captain suddenly grabs his shoulder and pulls out a camera, excitedly asking for a selfie. But before he can snap the shot, the guy from the musical family guild jumps in, yelling that he was there first and deserves the picture. Harkan is completely dumbfounded, demanding to know what on earth these idiots are doing. The captain beams, explaining they just want some pictures as bragging rights to prove they fought alongside him during the raid. Still confused, Harkan asks the real question: do they not want a cut of the loot? The captain pauses, rubbing his chin in thought, then turns to the musical guild guy, asking if his team needs any of the gear. The guy opens his mouth to say yes, but the captain violently slaps a hand down on his shoulder, glaring with a dark, threatening aura. He coldly suggests that surely the man would not dare claim any loot after the Haho mask just saved all their lives, right? Sweating nervously, the guy instantly backs down, insisting the hero can keep every single item. With the matter settled, the R2 captain flashes Harkan a bright thumbs up, telling him the entire stash is all his. Harkan just stands there, totally lost for words, seriously wondering what the heck the word romance even means to these dramatic guys. A little while later, deep inside the misty Purong forest, our masked hero and his skeleton crew are sprinting straight back to Mr. Wong's cabin. Along the way, Harkin's mind drifts back to their sudden invitation for him to join their guild. He remembers the captain's honest words, admitting his team might never reach the top, but promising that with Harkan's crazy skills, they would always be right behind him, ready to back him up anytime he needed. Harkin cracks a small smile. Even though those guys are complete goofballs, He has to admit playing the game with a crew like that would actually be a blast. But a heavy truth weighs on his mind. If he settled down with them, he would never push his limits and become the absolute strongest player he could be. His smile sharpens into a fierce grin as he remembers his true goal. His war is against the legendary top 30 guilds. Shaking off the sentimentality, he barks an order to his skeletons to pick up the pace, shouting with sheer excitement that they are about to cash in this quest and dive straight into the next one. Meanwhile, far away on another battlefield, a massive warrior bear crashes to the ground completely defeated. Standing fiercely on top of its giant corpse is Syl, the beautiful and deadly leader of the Thunderous Hunters Guild. Her guild members watch her effortlessly wield her massive sword, screaming her praises in absolute awe. The cheering only stops when Hatch and Heiwi suddenly burst onto the scene, sprinting over and calling her name. Panting for breath, Heiwi immediately starts showering her master with compliments, praising her elegant and flawless combat moves. But Syl cuts right to the chase, demanding to know what the emergency is. Hatch quickly steps up, stating he has two massive pieces of intel to report right now. The first major scoop of full-blown war has just erupted between two heavyweights from the top 30 rankings. The factions locking horns are the Triple Wing Guild and the notorious Big Smile Guild. Hatch explains that this massive conflict all sparked from a single petty fight when Burke, an arrogant officer from Big Smile, picked a fight with a Triple Wing member right in the middle of a raid. Ever since that tiny spark, both massive organizations have been pouring insanely huge amounts of resources and manpower into crushing each other. However, rumor has it that Big Smile is the one taking the heaviest losses in this bloodbath. Listening to this, Syl scoffs. She coldly remarks that starting a guild war during such a crucial phase of the main scenario is completely brainless, and she honestly hopes one of those idiot guilds gets completely wiped off the map. Shifting gears, she narrows her eyes and asks for the second piece of news. Hatch suddenly looks super nervous, visibly swallowing hard. He awkwardly stammers out that the mysterious Haho mask just completely soloed the Helmet Ogre boss. And even crazier, it looks like this solo player is somehow constantly staying one massive step ahead of their entire elite guild in the main storyline. Hearing this impossible feat, Syl freezes in pure shock, but then a thrilling smile spreads across her face. Hatch's jaw drops, completely paralyzed as he watches his usually stone-cold lady actually laugh out loud. He was absolutely certain she was going to explode in anger. Instead, Syl's eyes burn with fierce excitement as she declares that their guild needs to kick things into high gear immediately. Without wasting another second, she orders her squad to instantly secure the next quest from Wong the Monster Hunter, because the Thunderous Hunters Guild absolutely refuses to be left behind. It is time to dive right into the second chapter of the main quest line. Walking back into Bang's castle, the NPC Ahembri is absolutely thrilled to see our boy. But Hyrcan, yeah, not so much. He lets out a heavy sigh, wondering why he even had to drag himself back to this guy. Flashing a huge smile, Ambry mentions he got word from Hunter Wong that our hero totally crushed his latest missions, and apparently the rugged hunter wanted to pass along a little something for his hard work. Reaching into his robes, the old man pulls out a shiny trinket. It is the Ring of the Secret Order. This bad boy boosts all stats by 77 points, ramps up health and mana regen by a solid 20%, and tacks on an extra 22 points to class-specific stats. But honestly, Harkin is sweating a bit, thinking about how insanely smooth this is all going. Just a bit ago, back in Mr. Wong's dusty cabin, he was practically vibrating with hype, claiming he would happily join the Secret Order in a heartbeat. But the fierce monster hunter had shot him down fast, warning our guy to seriously think it over. Joining the Order was not a game he would have to lay his life on the line every single day. Pumping his chest, Harkin swore he was not scared of dying to wipe out evil. But deep down, the dude was completely losing his mind over the insane stat boosts that sweet ring would give him. He was literally biting his tongue to stop himself from squealing like a kid on Christmas. Seeing his blazing determination, Wong nodded, saying he respected the hustle. If this was really what Harkin wanted, he would not stand in his way. But then, he dropped the bomb. Harkin had to go back and meet Professor Ambry. The MC's jaw basically hit the floor in total disbelief. Are you kidding me? He had to deal with that guy again. Gritting his teeth, he asked why he even needed to see him. Wong calmly explained that Ahembri was actually a high-ranking member of the Order, and he was the one who handed out the official emblem. Hyrcan felt a cold sweat drop, knowing exactly how that sneaky jerk operated. The professor never gave away anything for free. And boom, he was dead right in the end. Flashing the creepiest, smuggest grin ever, the NPC demands. Hyrcan literally say the magic word, please, if he wants the ring. Boiling with rage, Hyrcan slams his fist right into the dirt, making the old man jump. Glaring up, our MC snaps, asking if this twisted professor is going to pull this exact same stunt. Every single time, then doing a full 180 flips upside down on his head. His whole body shaking, and actually begs the guy, please just give me the ring. And Ahembri, he just bursts into roaring laughter right in Harkin's face. still slipping that ring on. Hyrcan admits the loot is just way too good to pass up. Now that the awkward initiation is over, the NPC gets serious, stating that as a brand new member of the Order, it is time for his first real mission. A glowing orb pops into his hand as he makes it very clear that to survive what is coming, our boy needs a hardcore quest that will force him to get stronger. And the best place for that, the absolute meat grinder known as the War Zone. Pulling up the quest window, Hykan's eyes go wide in pure shock. The hologram shows a total nightmare filled with twisted mutated freaks, tearing everything apart in a massive blood-soaked battlefield. It is pure, unfiltered chaos. Fast forward to him actually arriving at the drop point, and Hykan is just standing there totally in awe of the sheer scale of the war zone. He knows the brutal lore of this hellscape. A literal endless tsunami of monsters constantly swarms the outer castle walls, and instead of just clearing out a set number of mobs, these things just keep respawning endlessly until the timer runs out, making this raid way more deadly than your average dungeon. But the flip side, the crazy loot, you get paid strictly by your final body count, meaning a pro player can farm an absolute mountain of cash here. Checking his quest log again, the objective is straightforward: hold the line against the horde trying to breach the walls. The higher he climbs on the kill leaderboards, the crazier his final reward payout will be. So, looking out at the chaotic battlefield, Hykan smirks. Back in his past life, he always begged to farm this exact spot, but his old lame guildmates constantly chickened out. Strutting into the dead zone, he decides to gear up and set some traps first. But hold up, someone is creeping on him from the shadows. The mysterious stalker locks eyes on him, flashing an evil grin as they realize they finally tracked down the infamous Haho mask. Cut to a completely different spot and total mayhem is breaking out. A squad of players is getting absolutely wrecked as a massive enraged tiger roars so loud it shakes the ground. One of the survivors drops to his knees, ugly, crying and begging the guy standing over him for mercy. Enter Apollo, the heavy-hitting boss of the Apollo Guild. He looks down at his men in total disgust, calling them absolute fools for failing to handle one single rookie player, and actually having the nerve to come back completely empty-handed. The large man furiously rises from his throne, demanding to know exactly what went wrong. Shaking like a leaf, the grunt explains that the Thunder Hunters randomly crashed the party and there was absolutely nothing they could do, since rumor has it that Powerhouse Guild is actively trying to recruit Hykan into their ranks. Hearing that name drops Apollo's rage into the red zone. Ripping open a system window, he growls that this little Haho mask punk thinks he is untouchable just because the top 30 guilds might be backing him up. Well, if that is how he wants to play it. Apollo has a special little surprise ready to ruin his whole career. Smash cut to Heavy Bean, a high-ranking officer of the Big Smile Guild, one of the elite top 30 guilds. He gets a random ping from Apollo. Letting out a heavy sigh, he rolls his eyes, wondering what this annoying guy wants now, then clicks accept and flatly asks, "What is up?" Smirking through the screen, Apollo says he needs a little favor. He wants him to go teach a certain player a hard lesson. Teach Haho Mask a lesson, Heavy Bean asks, wondering if they mean the hot new rookie making waves lately, and why. The wealthy guy grinds his teeth, growling that the mask player beat up his guards without a single apology. He screams that, basically, the guy made him look like an absolute joke. Heavy Bean is caught off guard. Seething inside, he realizes this is just petty drama, but he forces an apology to Apollo. He explains his hands are tied since a massive group like the Big Smile Guild shouldn't stoop to street brawls. Apollo's face darkens. He coldly states that Heavy Bean has no choice, threatening to cut off all funding to the guild right now. He sneers, asking if they really forgot whose money pushed them into the top 30 rankings. Heavy Bean's blood starts boiling as Apollo pushes further, saying that if the guild can't handle one simple favor, his cash is going somewhere else. Bam, the guild officer slams his desk. His polite mask drops instantly as he calls out to Apollo. He smoothly backtracks, declaring that Haho Mask is just trash anyway, and he will gladly crush him. He promises to call back the second the job is done. But the moment the screen goes black, Heavy Bean loses his mind. He screams that turning down the rich guy would bankrupt them, but at the same time, hunting down a rising star like Haho Mask would completely trash the guild's public image. He groans, wondering why Apollo is making his life a living nightmare when a shadow suddenly steps into the room, asking if he needs a hand. It is Chu Warang, a backup fighter for the Big Smile Guild, offering to take down our main character. Heavy Bean's eyes light up. Since she isn't an official member yet, he can use her to do the dirty work without ruining the guild's name. He looks at her, asking if she can actually handle this guy. Chu Warang smirks, telling him to leave it all to her, reminding him that she owes him her life. Flashing a dark, twisted smile, she swears she will hunt down Haho Mask to repay her debt. Meanwhile, back in the war zone, loud drum beats echo through the air as a soldier barks orders, telling all players to rush to the castle gates. The crowd gathers. Bagley, the rough captain guarding the Turbo Castle walls, steps up. He yells that the gates are finally opening, warning everyone to brace themselves. Hryken squints, recognizing Bagley as a major story character. The fierce captain warns the crowd that the wasteland outside is packed with deadly monsters. He drops a bomb, the gates will stay locked for exactly 144 hours, and their final payout depends purely on their monster kill count. But he stresses that nobody gets back inside until the timer hits 0, so they better stay alive. On top of that, he announces a massive bonus quest, the Blue Giant Hunt. Players must track down and destroy a massive mutant beast roaming the battlefield, and the prize, a super rare, unique skill book. Ryken's eyes widen in shock. He cannot believe his ears, wondering if they are seriously giving away something that broken. He knows those books unlock top-tier powers, things he rarely saw, even in his past life. It blows his mind that such an insane item is just a quest reward. Feeling the tension shift, he glances over his shoulder. Seeing the absolute greed and desperation on the other players' faces, he realizes this prize is going to cause a bloodbath. The crowd erupts into whispers, everyone plotting to snatch the book for themselves. Slowly, every single pair of eyes turns toward our main character. They all know he is the biggest threat, silently agreeing they need to team up and wipe him out first. Hryken smirks, knowing full well that taking down the Blue Giant is the least of their worries now. As Hryken tightens his grip on his weapon, Bagley roars, ordering the guards to throw the massive doors wide open. The second the path clears, our boy blasts off like a rocket, leaving everyone in the dust. He knows he just has to strike first. The rest of the players stand there in pure shock, completely stunned by his insane speed. Panic sets in, and they start screaming to run after him before it is too late. But right in the middle of the chaos, Chu Waring steps up. She calmly raises her voice, pitching a simple idea. Why don't they all join forces right here, right now? A cocky player marches up to her, laughing at the fact that a random newbie is trying to give them orders. He aggressively pokes her right in the forehead, barking at her to get lost before she gets hurt. Bad move. In a single blur of motion, she absolutely crushes the guy. He drops to the dirt in agony as Chu Waring tilts her head, asking why everyone looks so tense. The crowd freezes in pure terror as she casually mentions that they must be stressing over the skill book. She shrugs, making it crystal clear that she does not care about the loot at all, as her only goal is taking Haho Mask out. She flashes a wicked smile and tells the terrified crowd that if they follow her lead, she will hand them the prize for free, because let's be real, they are way too weak to get it on their own anyway. And that's exactly why she pitches it as a total win-win. Sure, the guys are terrified of what's coming, but they eventually cave in and team up with her. Perched on a cliff, our MC watches the whole circus unfold. He gets pretty annoyed, wondering if they seriously just formed a mob to take him down. He sighs. He's already swamped enough with hunting down monsters, and now he has to deal with these pests on top of it. But a cocky smirk creeps onto his face. Oh well, it is what it is. Meanwhile, down below, Cho Wurong is busy patting herself on the back for rounding up such a massive squad. There's no way he can survive an army this size, she thinks. Honestly, she's already daydreaming about what to do after they wipe him out. She's convinced that once she pulls off this hit, Heavy Beam will finally see her true worth. That'll be her golden ticket to becoming an official member of the Big Smile Guild, and with that comes her very own fan club of lackeys singing her praises. She gets totally lost in her own little fantasy, picturing herself being pampered, waited on hand and foot, and finally buying all the fancy furniture she could ever want. Her daydream shatters when a frantic shout snaps her back to reality. Someone warns her that a massive wave of monsters is charging right at them. She immediately readies her weapons and screams at everyone to hold the line and pick them off one by one. But one of the guys starts panicking, yelling that something feels incredibly off. There are just way too many monsters. Cho grits her teeth, completely aware that their flimsy formation is about to collapse. That is, until she spots our MC casually chilling on top of his giant golem. He glares down, annoyed that they dared to interrupt his farming session. Then he straight up starts smashing a golden gong, loudly telling the whole mob to screw off. Her jaw drops. This crazy guy is deliberately pulling all the monster aggro to them. Right then, the horde of creatures violently crashes into the players. One of the frontline fighters, struggling desperately to hold his ground, screams out to Miss Cho, warning her that their defenses are crumbling against the sheer number of beasts. He desperately begs her to call for a full retreat. Cho violently slices through a beast, frustrated that her brilliant plan just went up in smoke. She was supposed to jump the MC while he was distracted, but the tables totally turned. Now they're the ones walking right into a trap. Suddenly, a new scheme pops into her head. She orders the meat shields to hold the line at all costs. Once the MC's aggro item wears off, the monster wave will finally calm down. She then boldly declares that she's going to handle the MC all by herself. With a massive burst of speed, she darts forward, agilely parkouring across the monsters' heads. Her logic is ice cold. Let the small fry act as living bait for the horde while she secures the real prize. Meanwhile, Hirkin is having a total blast drawing in the mobs alongside his summons. But suddenly something catches his eye. a lone player closing the distance ridiculously fast. Cho lands right in front of him, points her weapon, and boldly challenges him to a pure one-on-one fight. He gives a mocking grin, asking if she seriously expects him to just play along. Then, he casually asks if she's the ringleader of that pathetic little mob down there. Getting up on his feet, he draws his blade and asks if they've met, because honestly, he's racked his brain and he has absolutely no clue who she is. It's definitely weird for a total stranger to want his head on a platter this badly. Cho smirks internally, knowing full well that she absolutely cannot blow her cover with the Big Smile Guild. So she plays it off, claiming she just wants to wipe out a rival, who's also hunting for the unique skill book. Hirkin raises an eyebrow, asking if that's the real story, but before she can blink, he lunges forward as she blocks his fierce strike. He completely calls her bluff. He taunts that it's written all over her face, that the skill book is the absolute last thing she actually cares about. Annoyed, Cho grips her daggers tight and goes for a rapid counterattack, but our MC easily deflects it, secretly impressed by her crisp footwork. In a flash, he ducks low and detonates his bone bomb skill right in her face. A massive blast erupts, but she reacts just in time, smoothly flipping backward out of the blast zone. Hirkin's eyes widen, genuinely impressed that she managed to dodge a point-blank explosion. He points out that a player this good couldn't possibly be a nobody, so he straight up demands to know which major guild is backing her. Cho gives a cheeky smile, asking him to take a wild guess. Activating her cloak, she challenges him. If he's really that curious, why doesn't he beat the answer out of her? She instantly triggers her battle armor, and a crazy intense aura completely engulfs her body. Hirkin realizes playtime is officially over. The fact she's breaking out the heavy armor means she's absolutely out for blood. Sizing her up, he knows that killing her right here means losing his only lead on her guild, but he also knows he can't afford to hold back against a threat this dangerous. Sighing at this total headache of a situation, he readies his combat stance and dares her to show him everything she's got. Cho fiercely replies she planned on going all out from the very start. Meanwhile, in the background, the MC's skeleton crew is literally just sitting there, munching on popcorn as they watch the drama unfold. She glares at the peanut gallery, totally confused by what the hell they're doing. Hirkin chuckles, telling her to just ignore his guys, since he strictly ordered them to stay out of the fight. Cho is completely taken aback, asking why on earth he would do that. Hirkin just tilts his head and reminds her that she's the one who asked for a fair one-on-one duel. So why would he cheat by using summons? This brutally honest answer catches her completely off guard, making her realize she totally misjudged him. Based on his earlier trolling, she honestly thought he was just some cheap, superficial jerk. Yet beneath it all, she gives off a strangely innocent vibe. She is absolutely certain that this naive side of him will be his downfall. Throwing caution to the wind, she lunges forward with all her might. Boom! Her all-out strike hits a dead end. Hirkin just chuckles, casually asking what she is trying to pull since her moves are exactly the same as before. But in a flash, she vanishes, popping up right behind him for a surprise strike. Hirkin's eyes widen. Did she actually get faster? Before he can react, she glares at him with pure malice, growling that she is just getting started. A storm of lightning-fast blows rains down on him in mere seconds. Overwhelmed by the barrage from every angle, Hirkin crashes to his knees. Cho smirks, mocking how adorable he looks, slumped on the floor like a broken human chair. Her amusement fades fast as she launches herself at him once more, screaming that crossing heavy beam means certain death. The MC stays perfectly still, face down, until something suddenly sweeps Cho off her feet. It is one of his skeletal summons. She hits the dirt, completely stunned and scrambling to figure out what just went wrong. Hirkin flashes a knowing grin. As he charges up his counterattack, he casually drops that he knows she runs with the Big Smile Guild. Panic sets in as she sees his brutal strike closing in. Realizing there is zero chance she can block it in time, bam, she takes the hit head-on. Cut to a few moments later, and our guy has her firmly tied to a tree. Stepping right up to her face, he demands to know why the Big Smile crew is gunning for him. Cho just spits out a defiant laugh, asking if he seriously thinks she is going to snitch. Unfazed, the MC looks her in the eye and asks if she is Cho Warung, Heavy Bean's right-hand girl from the guild. Her face instantly flushes red and she stammers out a weak denial. Hirkin tells her to drop the act, making it crystal clear he already holds all the cards. Her jaw drops, completely baffled as to how he exposed her identity. Internally, Hirkin remembers from his past life that she was Heavy Bean's most notorious enforcer. But since they never actually crossed paths back then, it took him a hot minute to connect the dots. Out loud, he simply smirks and says he has his ways. Still, he presses her on why her guild is tracking him down, especially since he has completely minded his own business. Cho takes a shaky breath, insisting she has no clue before suddenly shrieking, begging him to just finish her off already. Hirkin casually brushes her off, saying he would not dream of doing that. He tells her straight up that killing someone with her skills would be a total waste. In his head, though, he knows the real reason. She would just respawn in 2 days anyway, so letting her rot against a tree is way more effective. Suddenly, a notification on his smartwatch grabs his attention. The blue giant actually spawned. Without missing a beat, he turns his back on her, dropping a cold warning as he walks away. If she tries anything stupid, he will send her straight to the grave for real. Cho drops her gaze, realizing this guy read her like an open book, staying 2 steps ahead the entire fight. Yet her mind keeps looping back to the part where he called killing her a total waste. She scoffs, wondering what kind of crazy fool he really is. But then a bizarre shiver runs down her spine. A strange, unfamiliar warmth bubbles up inside her, as she wildly misinterprets his mercy, blushing hard and wondering how Mask Haho had the nerve to flirt with her like that. Fast forward a bit, and Heavy Bean's phone is ringing. It is a deeply apologetic Cho Wurung delivering the bitter news that her mission to wipe out Mask Haho was a massive failure. Through gritted teeth, Heavy Bean tells her she did her best and to just get some rest. Cho quietly agrees, apologizing one last time. The second the call drops, Heavy Bean absolutely loses his mind. He trashes his room, roaring about how his most trusted weapon completely choked. Catching his breath, he tries to stay positive, hoping Apollo is still in the dark so they can plan another ambush. Speak of the devil, Apollo's name flashes on his screen. The guy immediately demands to know if Mask Haho's head has been delivered on a silver platter. Because rumors are already flying that big smile, a top 30 guild just got humiliated by a single player. Apollo, furious and sweating, threatens him, asking what Heavy Bean thinks will happen to their reputation if this leaks to the public. Heavy Bean shrinks back in pure shame, looking like his soul just left his body. He seethes with pure hatred, blaming this entire disaster on that annoying Mask Haho. And while he is busy plotting his revenge, screaming curses into the void. Cut back to our MC who rubs his ear, wondering why it is suddenly itching so badly. Right on cue, the MC rolls up to the blue giant's spawn point. Hyped up for a real fight, he snaps his fingers, calling out his undead army to take this massive boss down as fast as humanly possible. But things do not go exactly to plan. The raid drags on way longer than expected, leaving him completely drained. Sprawled out on the dirt, he looks over at his bony crew,